The sudden torrential rain heralded the onset of the apocalypse. The large vessels were commandeered by the authorities, leaving only a handful of small boats and skiffs. In such dire circumstances, civility unraveled, and as hunger set in, the fabric of civilization began to fray. Society regressed to a primitive state, adhering to the law of the jungle. Ding! You have earned 3 scavenging points by recycling a foam box. Su Lang inadvertently activated the Doomsday scavenging system. He won a lottery prize of 100 kilograms of fragrant pig meat, 10 AKs, a 100-kilogram vegetable combo pack, and 10 boxes of high-energy outdoor charcoal. He would embark on a journey of survival amidst the apocalyptic deluge, accompanied by the campus bell. While others sought to endure the apocalypse, he would salvage discarded items. However, the rain brought more than flooding. It sparked a mutation among the planet's creatures. Fish began to mutate violently, and mysterious marine beings emerged. Humanity gradually awakened, gaining various extraordinary abilities. Those endowed with such powers, would they become guardians, rulers, or instruments of fear? Chapter 1. Salvaging Refuse. Help! A piercing scream echoed from outside the door, causing Su Lang to startle and dart behind the security door. Peering through the peephole, he saw a woman pinned to the ground by 3 men at the stairwell's corner. Who the hell is going to save you? Ha ha ha! One man sneered, tearing the woman's clothing with a vicious rip. No, please. I have a little food left. I'll give it to you. Just let me go. The woman struggled desperately, but her wrists were firmly grasped, her writhing only igniting the perverse desires of her assailants. We're all going to starve anyway. What's wrong with having a little fun? Right, you never even glance at me today. I'm going to enjoy myself. The subsequent scene was unbearable, and Su Lang turned away, facing the murky window. The order of civilization was crumbling. This was the second atrocity he had witnessed. The dim sky appeared as though it had been slashed open. The torrential rain had persisted for an entire month without respite. The streets were already submerged, transportation paralyzed, and the power and water supply in residential buildings ceased. Su Lang resided on the 23rd floor of Building 11 in Lihua Community. As a 4th-year student, he rented this apartment near the school due to his internship. On the 3rd day of a downpour, the city's drainage system failed and water began to flow across the streets. Su Lang joined the throngs heading to the supermarket, stocking up on essential supplies while hunkering down at home, hoping for the rain to cease. On the 5th day of the deluge, the floodwaters breached the 1st floor and the city's electrical system faltered. Rescue boats began to appear, delivering relief supplies door to door. The officials bore grave expressions, but offered no concrete information. The situation was evidently deteriorating. Typically, such disastrous weather would prompt comprehensive alerts, yet this time, there had been no notifications. On the 8th day of the rain, the flood engulfed the 2nd floor, and the rescue boats vanished, yet the rain continued unabated. By the 20th day, the waters had reached the 6th floor. Gazing out the window, the towering buildings stood amidst a vast ocean, a haunting portrait of an impending apocalypse. Some residents' food supplies dwindled, prompting a few to wade through the water in search of provisions. Others, faced with survival's grim reality, succumbed to their darker instincts and resorted to looting. Today marked the 30th day of the rain. Through the window, Su Lang could clearly see that the flood had submerged the 9th floor and the water level continued to rise. Leaving the window, he tore open a bag of bread on the table. After chewing the stale toast into tiny pieces, he swallowed slowly. Having consumed the last of his food, he changed into a quick-drying athletic outfit. Outside, silence had descended. Su Lang donned the only pair of swim goggles he possessed and stepped outside. Su Lang was a proficient swimmer, confident in his skills. Rather than waiting idly for rescue, he decided to venture out and seek fortune. Upon reaching the stairwell, he caught a glimpse of a figure huddled in the shadows at the corner. In this apocalyptic predicament, if humanity forsook civility, beauty would become a sin. Descending the stairs, Su Lang encountered several individuals slumped against the walls, their expressions despondent. Most were residents from lower floors, forced to flee their submerged homes. A few days prior, Su Lang had heard knocking at his door, with someone claiming their home had flooded and requesting shelter. He had dismissed them in such a dire environment. How could he possibly open the door to a stranger? As he descended to the 10th floor, the murky water crept around the corner. 3 individuals stood by the stairwell window. Another one has arrived. One shouted, and all 3 turned their attention to him. Su Lang's pupils constricted slightly upon recognizing their faces. It was none other than the trio who had perpetrated violence outside his door not long ago. Ironically, they were the security guards of the community. "You planning to go out, kid?" one of the more affable men asked. Su Lang nodded. "There's no food left at home. I'm going out to try my luck." The man waved dismissively. More and more families were running out of provisions. The more people who ventured out, the more they could reap. At that moment, a splash sounded as a young man clambered through the window. He leaned against the wall, panting, and the three guards loomed over him. "Lucky you, kid. Hand over your belongings, or you'll get a beating. Don't even think about resisting, or I'll kill you." Indifferent to their threats, Su Lang swiftly climbed back to the window and, with a splash, plunged into the water. What was being taken was not his concern. Su Lang felt no attachment to the unfolding events. His immediate priority was to find supplies, or he would not survive. Adjusting to the water's temperature, Su Lang began to swim outward. The water was murky and tinged with a hint of red, littered with debris. He surveyed his surroundings but detected no other souls. Spotting a large foam box not far away, Su Lang's eyes brightened as he swam closer. This could serve as a makeshift swimming ring, saving him considerable effort. However, the moment he touched the foam, it inexplicably vanished. Ding! The Doomsday scavenging system has been activated. Recycling foam box grants 2 points. The unexpected delight caused Su Lang to freeze momentarily, choking on the water. Enduring the pain in his nose and mouth, he struggled to surface, taking some time to regain his senses. A system? Host. Su Lang attributes. 10 scavenging points, 2 abilities. None. A translucent panel materialized before Su Lang, and instinctively he reached out but found nothing to grasp. "Congratulations, host. You have received a novice gift package. Attribute 10, ability acquired, accelerated recovery." The numbers on the panel shifted, increasing the attribute to 20. A marvelous warmth coursed through Su Lang's body. He distinctly sensed a qualitative leap in his physical prowess, enhancing all aspects. If the physical attributes of an average adult were rated at 10, he had effectively doubled them: strength, stamina, and agility. Observing the ability section, he noted that accelerated recovery speed had increased by 100, a skill acquired through the scavenger's strenuous labor. Indeed, this was a product of the system, and it was remarkable. Suddenly, Su Lang's mind was flooded with information, and he grasped the system's purpose. In essence, it was a refuse recycling system. This encompassed 5 categories: waste paper, plastic, metal, textiles, and glass. By recycling these materials, one could earn varying points, which could then be used for lotteries. The rewards were diverse, limited only by one's imagination. There was nothing the system could not procure. Long live the system. 1,000 cheers. In this apocalyptic scene, is there a shortage of waste? At a glance, the surface of the water is littered with a dense array of discarded paper, broken planks, and plastic. How many points would these yield? Su Lang swallowed hard. Before the flood, who would bother picking up trash? Even a dog wouldn't. Pick it up. If a dog won't, I shall. What I collect is refuse. Chapter 2. Is it good or not? A plastic bottle floated before Su Lang, and with a gentle touch of his finger, he received a notification. Recycling plastic earns 1 point. Only 1 point? Never mind, it's effortless, just a second to recycle. After all, even the tiniest morsel is still nourishment. With this thought in mind, Su Lang hastened his actions. Recycling cardboard box earns 2 points. Recycling foam box earns 1 point. Can be muted? With a mere thought, silence enveloped the world. After a while, as the water before him cleared, he paused. Summoning the system. Host. Su Lang. Scavenging points. 237. Gazing at the numbers, Su Lang exhaled deeply. Taking a moment's respite, he decided to try his luck with a draw. Costing 1 point grants a chance to draw. Items received are random. Would you like to draw? Su Lang's eyes sparkled with enthusiasm, and he confirmed without hesitation. Receive a pack of toilet paper. Damn, I still have some at home. Can't you grant me some food? 10 consecutive draws. Received a pack of cigarettes. Not bad. The days without smoke are finally over. Received a box of instant noodles. What a relief. Received a box of lighters. Received a bag of tea leaves, 500g. Received a bottle of soy sauce. Received a pack of sanitary napkins. Received a bag of rice, 5 kilograms. A bit sparse. Received a pack of salt. Received a bag of flour, 2 kilograms. Received a box of mineral water. Perfect. I now have food and water. I won't go hungry today. Pausing to draw, Su Lang was surprised to find that his stamina had nearly fully replenished, and the fatigue that had enveloped him vanished. all thanks to the accelerated recovery ability, truly a powerful feature from the system. With plenty of time left in the day, Su Lang planned to seize the moment and gather more points. Thus, he waded further into the depths, collecting every piece of garbage he encountered. As if tireless, he touched, and recycled. Whenever fatigue set in, a brief rest restored his energy, allowing him to continue. He transformed into a relentless garbage-collecting machine. After several hours, a grumble from his stomach interrupted him. Hunger had finally struck, prompting him to cease his actions. Today's harvest was quite fruitful, and as dusk approached, it was time to head home. Orienting himself, Su Lang swiftly swam back. Before long, he arrived at the window where he had entered. To his astonishment, the window he had to climb to reach was now submerged by floodwaters. Whether it was just an illusion, the flood seemed to rise at an increasing rate. Looking up, the windows of the 10th floor towered too high above the water's surface to climb. Frowning, he took a deep breath and slipped through the 9th floor window. Skillfully navigating the water-filled stairwell, he ascended. Just as he stepped onto the stairs, a figure clad in a security uniform blocked his path. "Kid, hand over what you've collected from outside." Without needing to look up, Su Lang already knew who it was. Wiping the water from his face, he squinted to see the three individuals clearly. Su Lang shrugged and opened his palms to indicate he had nothing. He genuinely hadn't picked up anything, and his spirits were high. He was eager to return home to draw. Nothing? The tallest security guard sneered, clearly the leader. "Ayong, search him, if he dares to deceive us." Hith. No sooner had he finished speaking than the guard named Ayong reached for Su Lang's chest. In the blink of an eye, Su Lang sprang into action. With his enhanced attributes, his reaction speed and agility exceeded that of an ordinary person. He sidestepped, reached out, his movements swift as lightning as he seized Ayong's arm with a grip like a vice. With a swift motion, he twisted it back. Crack! A sharp sound echoed as bone shattered. Ayong let out a scream akin to a slaughtered pig, his arm contorted at an unnatural angle. Everything transpired too quickly for the other two to react. Su Lang wasted no time in lunging forward. The nearest security guard finally regained his senses and threw a punch, wild and uncoordinated. Su Lang, now at peak stamina, possessed strength and speed approximately twice that of an average person in that moment. The guard's movements appeared sluggish and feeble to Su Lang. Without evasion, he unleashed a powerful punch, arriving before the guard's attack could land, crashing violently into the guard's face. Thud! A spray of blood accompanied the loss of 2 teeth as the guard collapsed. The leader, witnessing this, dropped to his knees. "No, don't come any closer." The young man before him, with a handsome visage, had broken Ayong's hand without uttering a word. Su Lang approached him with cold indifference. Terrified, the leader trembled, incessantly bowing in supplication. "I'm sorry, we don't want the stuff anymore. Spare me. Please, I beg you." A shoe tip appeared before him, followed by the sound of slicing air. With a sudden, forceful step, Su Lang's left foot crashed down with the precision of a soccer kick against the leader's head. The guard didn't even have time to scream. His body flipped over, and he fell into unconsciousness. Plop! The sound echoed like a heavy object dropped into the water. Su Lang turned to see Ayong inching toward the stairwell window, while the guard who had lost his front teeth had vanished. Facing Su Lang's icy gaze, Ayong felt no inclination to resist. "I want dare again. I'm sorry. I want dare again. I'm sorry." Repeating his apology, he waded toward the stairwell window. Su Lang took a running leap, executing a flying knee strike that crashed into Ayong's face. Bang! A dull thud resounded, and Ayong's eyes bulged as he instantly lost all strength, collapsing limply into the water. Su Lang's expression remained unchanged as he ascended the stairs. Although the conflict had been brief, it had generated quite a commotion. As he climbed, several individuals sitting along the stairwell cast curious glances at him. A few men looked at him with eyes filled with gratitude, but Su Lang remained indifferent. He climbed to the 11th floor. At that moment, a bright voice rang out. "Su Lang?" He paused, turning in confusion. A charming face peeked through an open security door at the stairway entrance. "Su Lang, could I stay at your place for a bit? The flood is about to reach this floor." It was Tang Yao, Su Lang's university classmate and campus belle. Not only was she beautiful, but she also excelled academically. Su Lang had always been somewhat invisible at school, and their interactions had been minimal, limited to mere name recognition. "Are you alone?" Su Lang pondered before asking. "Just me. Please help me. The flood will soon submerge this floor, and without a home, I don't know what'll do." Tang Yao pushed the door open, her emotions heightened, even cracking into a sob. Su Lang's gaze fell upon her, momentarily captivated. Fitted jeans accentuated her long, slender legs, and a cartoon-patterned short sleeve highlighted her youthful vitality. Unable to resist, stealing a few more glances, Su Lang swallowed hard. Tang Yao, feeling his intense gaze, flushed crimson. Noticing Su Lang's silence, she grew anxious. Is it acceptable? Su Lang? Tang Yao chose to rent here solely in preparation for her graduation defense. However, within less than 6 months, an unforeseen deluge struck. Initially, like everyone else, she clung to hope, yearning for the rain to cease. Yet, reality proved to be merciless. The flood surged relentlessly, inundating each level, amplifying the anxiety within Tang Yao. Increasing numbers of people lost their homes, fleeing to higher floors for safety. The first time she witnessed a robbery for food, Tang Yao was rendered speechless by shock. Su Lang was the only person she knew in this building, and her hopes now rested entirely upon him. A profound sense of dread enveloped her. She could scarcely fathom the moment when the flood would rise, leaving her homeless, and what she would ultimately confront. Very well, but I have one condition. Chapter 3. A Murder. Su Lang was unperturbed by concerns for his safety. After all, the allure of the campus beauty was likely minimal, posing no threat to him. Moreover, in an apocalyptic environment, solitude was equally terrifying. The prospect of having such a lovely companion was one Su Lang did not wish to refuse. His only concern was the potential for complications. What are the terms? Tang Yao inquired hastily. The memory of Su Lang's earlier gaze made her apprehensive. What if he proposed something she found unacceptable? Her cheeks flushed with embarrassment. Everything will be dictated by me, Su Lang asserted decisively. Tang Yao nodded vigorously. I agree. I shall follow your lead. In her moment of despair, Su Lang was her only option. What other choice did she have? Su Lang nodded. Then I shall wait for you to gather your belongings, and we shall depart. I am ready. Everything is in this bag, Tang Yao replied, lifting the bag in her hand. Having made her decision, she no longer hesitated, locked the door, and approached Su Lang. He led the way, with Tang Yao following in silence. At the stairwell of the 22nd floor, Tang Yao noticed a woman huddled in the corner. Her tattered clothing revealed large patches of pale skin, marred by visible bruises. The woman's condition was dire. Without food, her fate was merely to await death. Tang Yao felt her legs weaken, leaning against the wall as she gasped for breath. If Su Lang rejected her, and the floodwaters reached the 11th floor, would her beauty be enough to escape such a grim fate? Are you all right? Su Lang noticed her distress and inquired. Tang Yao shook her head, striving to keep pace with him while stealing glances at his youthful profile. His features were strikingly handsome, and his expression resolute. He possessed the courage to venture out for supplies even in such dire circumstances. As this thought crossed her mind, her heart raced. If Su Lang were to make a particular request, perhaps it would not be entirely unacceptable. Upon returning to their residence on the 23rd floor, Su Lang carefully secured the door. You should rest for a moment, he suggested before eagerly retreating to the bedroom. Having been soaked by rain and immersed in water for so long, he needed to change into dry clothing. Falling ill under such circumstances would be catastrophic. After changing, he felt invigorated. His physical attributes were indeed commendable, and he felt no discomfort. He summoned the system. Host, Su Lang. Attributes, 20. Abilities, accelerated recovery. Scavenging points, 912. Let us do a 10-fold draw. Acquired. A bottle of Shangxi vinegar, a pack of sanitary napkins, a stainless steel bowl, a bag of flour, a bag of tea leaves, a pack of candles, a pack of toilet paper, a drum of cooking oil, a box of charcoal, a stainless steel bowl. With teacups and sufficient food procured, the charcoal was a pleasant surprise. Yet, what he truly desired were weapons. System. Are there no weapons in the draw? Kind reminder. Weapons are only available in the secondary prize pool. How does one access the secondary prize pool? Accumulate 1,000 points to unlock the secondary prize pool. Damn it. Why didn't you tell me sooner? With 902 points, he was not far off. Had he known, he would have scavenged a bit more. Wait a moment, Su Lang thought. Am I being foolish? Aren't there items at home that can be discarded? With a keen gaze, he surveyed the bedroom. The bed was not recyclable. He still needed to sleep. The air conditioner? Best to keep it, as it might yield a generator. The desk? Currently useless. Recycle. Books? Recycle. Scavenging points. 935. After his efforts, the bedroom was left with only a large bed. Even the wardrobe had vanished. Gazing at the few sets of clothes he had deliberately left on the bed, Su Lang pondered a question. The system space was vast, capable of accommodating numerous randomly drawn items. What if physical objects could also be stored within? With this thought, he concentrated, and the clothes instantly materialized in the system space. Impressive. Now, I need not fear others taking these items. Glancing at his points, he realized they were still insufficient. Su Lang left the bedroom. Night had fallen, and the living room was shrouded in darkness. He retrieved a candle and lit it, the flickering flame illuminating Tang Yao's figure as she huddled on the sofa. Su Lang placed the candle on the coffee table and took out a bottle of mineral water to quench his thirst. Tang Yao stared at him in surprise. She hadn't expected Su Lang to produce mineral water. With the water supply cut off for so long, she had scavenged for anything to boil water at the beginning. But now she had resorted to drinking rainwater for 2 days. Thank you, she exclaimed, only to realize Su Lang had vanished into the next room. He resumed his scavenging efforts, recycling everything unrelated to survival. Scavenging points, 966, still short of points. Su Lang dashed to the bathroom, collecting all the assorted bottles and miscellaneous items for recycling. Accumulate 1,000 points. Reward 20 attribute points. Ability, accelerated swimming. Congratulations. Host has unlocked the secondary prize pool for draws. Scavenging points, 982. A warm surge coursed through him once more. Su Lang felt his physical prowess ascend, brimming with vitality. There's also an ability reward. Let us see what it is. Accelerated swimming. Swim speed increased by 100. An ability acquired from the scavenger's prolonged work in water. Excellent. Tomorrow I shall scavenge again. My speed will surely soar. After contemplating, Su Lang closed the page, deciding to postpone the draw for now. He had heard that being well-fed and hydrated enhanced luck in draws. Thus, he ventured to the balcony, retrieving a barbecue grill. With a box of charcoal acquired today, he planned to boil some water and cook noodles. Whether he could draw gourmet food from the secondary prize pool was uncertain, but chewing on dry instant noodles had become a source of inner torment for him. He was determined to cook 2 packs today. Gathering a few sheets of toilet paper to ignite the charcoal, suddenly a piercing scream echoed from the hallway outside, shattering the silence of the night. A murder! A murder! A chill ran down Su Lang's spine as he swiftly approached the living room, pressing himself against the door. Tang Yao was startled, curling up on the sofa, trembling. Su Lang held his breath, peering through the peephole. There was no one in the hallway. Only the sound of frantic footsteps and desperate cries echoed. A murder! Help! The voices drew nearer, and a figure rushed out of the stairwell, coming into Su Lang's view. It was a woman. She stumbled to the door, pounding desperately against it. Help! A murder! A murder! Please save us! Almost simultaneously, a man scrambled out of the hallway, collapsing to the ground. Su Lang silently stepped back, choosing not to intervene. Tang Yao cautiously approached, unable to resist taking a glance. She gasped. But a warm hand quickly covered her mouth. The 2 individuals outside were familiar to her. They were a young couple living on the 11th floor. Her neighbors. The woman outside was disheveled, while the man on the ground was covered in blood. What had transpired? Chapter 4. I want to take a shower at that moment. Su Lang stood behind Tang Yao, closely observing the rapid rise and fall of her chest, the fragrance of youth wafting towards him, leaving him parched and restless. He gently turned her head, his resolute gaze locking onto hers as he slowly shook his head. The meaning was clear. Do not meddle. Tears welled up in her eyes, the warm liquid cascading onto Su Lang's hand. Tang Yao nodded vigorously, remaining silent. She did not blame Su Lang for his ruthlessness. Reason told her that to survive in the apocalypse, his actions were justified. She was merely afraid, terrified of encountering a similar fate. Outside, the chaotic sound of footsteps returned, accompanied by shouts of chase. They can't escape, hurry. The woman trembled in fear, unable to steady herself, as she observed Su Lang's door remaining unyielding. She immediately turned and dashed towards the staircase. The man on the ground struggled but could not rise. She's here, grab her. With mocking cries, a short man rushed up the stairs, reaching out to seize the woman. Startled, she lost her footing on the stairs and fell forward. The short man seized the opportunity to grasp her calf and forcefully pinned her to the ground. The sound of pounding footsteps echoed as 5 or 6 men surged into the hallway, among whom Su Lang recognized 3 security guards. Keep running. Why have you stopped? One of them stepped on the man's face, and Su Lang instantly recognized him as Liu Yaohua, a notorious thug from the nearby area. I've given you everything to eat. Please, don't harm my wife, the man on the ground stammered. When did I ever say I would hurt her? If she behaves well, I might even give her a bite to eat. Liu Yaohua crouched down, slamming the blade in his hand against the man's face. You ungrateful fool. You dare to harm my brothers. He scanned the crowd with a piercing gaze. Listen well, from today onward, my rules are law. Anyone who disobeys. With a swift motion, Liu Yaohua plunged the blade into the man's chest. This is your punishment. The man let out an inhuman wail, and moments later, He lay motionless, eyes closed. Su Lang felt a heavy weight in his heart. The sight before him sent chills down his spine. The worst had indeed come to pass. When faced with starvation and devoid of legal constraints, one could never predict the depths of human depravity. Murder signified the complete collapse of civil order. "Take that woman away," Lu Yaohua commanded, leading the way down the stairs. The others, momentarily stunned, grabbed the woman and departed. "Please, let me go." "No, please." Her pleas fell on deaf ears. Lu Yaohua laughed triumphantly, understanding that only through overwhelming force could one secure sufficient food and women in this dystopian world. In a brief moment, the hallway fell silent. Su Lang returned to the kitchen, retrieving a small pot, which he placed on the grill, pouring in 2 bottles of mineral water to boil noodles. Tang Yao stood by the window, gazing into the pitch-black night, lost in thought. She did not know the name of the female neighbor, but it was not difficult to imagine what was about to transpire. As this realization struck her, her body involuntarily shivered, and her mind conjured the image of the scantily clad woman around the corner. Would the rain ever cease? As the water boiled, Su Lang tossed in the noodles and seasoning packet, filling the room with a delightful aroma. Tang Yao, drawn by the scent, glanced over with evident envy. Lacking life experience, her stockpiled provisions consisted of biscuits, bread, and instant noodles. The instant noodles had been the first to vanish, and for over half a month. She had not tasted a warm meal. The last few pieces of bread were rationed. She had simply focused on ensuring she did not starve. Without the experience of hunger, one could not truly comprehend the allure of food. Tang Yao swallowed several times, ultimately unable to resist stepping forward. "Would you like some?" Su Lang glanced at her. "Is that all right?" Her eyes sparkled as she bit her lower lip. The innocent charm she exuded wielded a powerful allure over the naive young man. Yet Su Lang was not an unsuspecting youth. "Be my woman," he stated plainly. In the apocalypse, there was no time for romance, only mutual benefit. Tang Yao felt a pang in her heart, tears welling in her eyes. She remained silent, and the air grew still, the sound of rain pattering outside distinctly audible. After a long pause, she sighed softly, as if making a resolve. "I am willing to be your woman," she said, meeting Su Lang's gaze. "I hope you will treat me well." Su Lang smiled with satisfaction. He had initially thought the school beauty naive, expecting to expend considerable effort, but was surprised at how quickly she accepted reality. He retrieved 2 stainless steel bowls, portioned the noodles, and pushed one towards Tang Yao. She did not hesitate, eagerly taking the bowl and devouring the contents with abandon, her actions betraying not a trace of her former elegance. "Have you not eaten in days?" Su Lang asked. Cough. Choked by the noodles, Tang Yao blushed and murmured, "I haven't eaten anything for 2 days." Su Lang poured 2 more bottles of water into the pot, preparing to boil another 2 packs of instant noodles. Burp. After finishing his meal, Su Lang sighed contentedly. "Eat slowly, you'll clean up afterward." He took out a cigarette, savoring the moment. There was plenty of charcoal left. He could use hot water without worry. Understood. Su Lang returned to the bedroom, eagerly summoning the system. Level 2 prize pool lottery costs 10 points. Confirm the lottery? Absolutely, a 10 consecutive draw. Green peppers 10, a case of beer, rice 10, pork 10, a case of cola, bok choy 10, beef steak 10 boxes, a tang dao, a family medical kit, a military dagger. A tang dao? A cold weapon? Couldn't it be something more formidable? Let's do another 10 consecutive draws. 10 boxes of chocolate, 10 bags of whole wheat bread, 10 boxes of ultra-thin touch, rice 10, chicken wings 10, yellow beans 10, tomatoes 10, 10 flying spears, dried tofu 10, a barrel of cooking oil. Flying spears? With a thought, Su Lang found a flying spear in his hand. Made entirely of metal, it felt pleasantly cool to the touch. Its ancient design, about 60 centimeters long, featured a sharp tip and horizontal branches, glistening with a deadly gleam. A throwing weapon, this could prove quite useful. With his current strength, he wondered how effective it would be when thrown. He would have to find an opportunity to test it tomorrow. He decided against further draws for now, opting to save his points, knowing that better items would become available as time progressed. Exiting the bedroom, he did not find Tang Yao and followed the trail to the kitchen. There, he discovered her had found an iron bucket, on top of which sat a pot. Heating water. Are there any candles? I'd like to take a bath. It's too dark. Chapter 5. What happened to Lu Yao while the kitchen was dim? Illuminated only by a glimmer of light seeping through the gaps of the iron bucket, obscuring Tang Yao's face. Yet, her alluring words stirred something deep within Su Lang. He took out a bag of candles and placed them on the stove. There are plenty of candles. Feel free to use them. He then returned to the balcony. He had set out all the containers in the house to collect rainwater. With water, electricity, and gas having been cut off for over 20 days, Su Lang prepared for the worst, striving to conserve water resources. In case the rain persisted and the floods did not recede, he would still have something to drink. However, with the lottery now available, he no longer feared running out of water. Grabbing a bucket of rainwater, he made his way to the bathroom, ready to enjoy a satisfying wash. It had been many days since he last bathed, as he had been reluctant to waste water. At this moment, his body was enveloped in a soothing foam, washing away both physical and mental fatigue, even alleviating the weight of the impending apocalypse. After his bath, Su Lang entered the living room, lit a cigarette, and contemplated the events of the following day. The harrowing scene of Liu Yaohua committing murder lingered in his mind. Despite being mentally prepared, he still felt an instinctual fear. Su Lang understood that this was merely the beginning. The world would descend further into chaos. Having watched movies before, he was aware that the first act of killing often evokes repulsion and nausea. Thus, he continuously reassured himself that should anyone attempt to harm him, he would retaliate without mercy. The sound of footsteps interrupted his thoughts. Tang Yao emerged from the bathroom, her face glowing with a delicate blush after a warm shower. She wore a loose-fitting short-sleeved top that modestly covered her hips, revealing her long, fair legs. Su Lang rose, lifted her effortlessly, and carried her to the bedroom to sleep. Tang Yao gasped in surprise, then buried her face in his chest, her ears flushed with a hint of shyness. In the midst of their heavy breaths, as the clouds of desire swirled, Su Lang heard her whisper, "You must treat me well." Upon waking, the sound of rain pattered incessantly outside. Su Lang glanced at the woman asleep against his chest, her long eyelashes and delicate features framed by a rosy glow akin to that of a newborn. What should he eat? He reached out to pat a certain curvaceous area, but received no response. Gently, he pushed her aside and got out of bed. Last night, he had barely managed to satisfy his desires, while Tang Yao had pleaded for mercy long before. He had come to fully appreciate the terrifying potency of his 40 attribute points. It was almost inhuman. Opening his inventory, Su Lang browsed through his items and retrieved 2 boxes of steak. He made his way to the kitchen, retrieving a frying pan to prepare a meal. It had been a long time since he had eaten meat, and considering he had to venture out today, he needed to replenish his protein supply. After a flurry of activity, the steaks were served on the dining table. At that moment, Tang Yao emerged from the bedroom, still drowsy, lazily tossing her hair. "Why are you up so early?" Upon catching sight of the steaks, she froze in disbelief, her sleepiness evaporating, eyes wide and mouth agape. In that instant, her innocent charm made Su Lang feel a wave of drowsiness wash over him again. "Steak? Am I dreaming?" Su Lang playfully pinched her chest. "Ah, be gentle. Does it hurt?" Tang Yao nodded, a hint of realization dawning upon her. "I'm not dreaming. It's really steak." "Su Lang, how do you have steak?" "Give it a try. From now on, you'll be the one cooking." Su Lang chose not to elaborate further and focused on his breakfast. Her words made Tang Yao feel slightly embarrassed, realizing she had indeed been too exhausted the previous night. As she took a bite of steak, the familiar flavor of black pepper danced on her tongue, stirring emotions that brought her to the brink of tears. It was so delicious, far more exquisite than any steak she had tasted before the flood. In that moment, she felt like the happiest woman in this apocalyptic world. After quickly finishing her meal, Su Lang headed back to the kitchen to prepare some vegetables and meat, ensuring he had enough rice and oil to accompany them. "I'm heading out soon. You stay at home and don't answer the door for anyone, understood?" Tang Yao nodded earnestly. Once he opened the door, she refrained from asking why. She understood that Su Lang had his reasons for going out. After getting dressed, Su Lang added, "There's food in the kitchen. You can cook for yourself at noon." Tang Yao stepped closer and gently embraced him. "Be careful." Memories of the previous night's violence flooded her mind, and fear once again filled her heart. "Don't worry. I'll be fine." Su Lang patted her back reassuringly before stepping out the door. The corridor was eerily quiet as Su Lang retrieved the tang knife from his inventory, testing its weight in his hand before cautiously descending the stairs. Upon reaching the corner of the 22nd floor, his brow furrowed slightly. The woman from yesterday was nowhere to be seen. Had she left on her own? Or had Liu Yaohua taken her? Continuing downward, Su Lang heard the sounds of men cheering and women screaming by the 15th floor. He chose to ignore it and quickened his pace. Upon reaching the 13th floor, he faintly heard hushed voices. As he rounded the corner, he spotted 2 men sitting against the wall in the shadows. Both men noticed Su Lang and stood up, wary, gripping their kitchen knives tightly. Su Lang inquired, "Which floor are you from? Are you not one of Liu Yaohua's men?" The brawnier man spoke up. Seeing Su Lang shake his head, the man visibly relaxed. "I'm Li Tai. My apartment on the 9th floor was flooded. This is my neighbor, Zhou." Su Lang understood and then asked the question that had been nagging at him. "You asked if I was one of Liu Yaohua's men. What happened to him?" Li Tai replied, "A significant event transpired last night. Liu Yaohua gathered a group and committed murder." "Indeed, that Liu Yaohua is a beast," Zhou interjected, both men exchanging details about the previous night's incident. A young couple living on the 11th floor had witnessed the flood reach their floor and knocked on doors, seeking refuge, but none would open for them. When they reached Liu Yaohua's door on the 15th floor, they were met with malevolence. Liu Yaohua, a notorious thug, had sinister intentions upon seeing the woman. Without the law to restrain him in these dire times, he threatened the man for food and women, but the couple adamantly refused. During the ensuing confrontation, 3 security guards led by Ah Yong had also arrived, resulting in a chase where Liu Yaohua murdered to establish his dominance. Following that, he and his gang pillaged the 10th floor, robbing the residents of their remaining food and abducting the women, ultimately gathering in Liu Yaohua's apartment on the 15th floor. "Were you also robbed?" Su Lang asked. Li Tai shook his head. "We didn't have any food to begin with." Su Lang chose not to speak further and continued down the stairs. "Little brother, are you planning to go out in search of supplies?" Li Tai's voice halted Su Lang's steps once more. The neighbor named Zhou cautioned him, "Don't go. There are a few of Liu Yaohua's men guarding the water source downstairs. Even if you find supplies, you won't be able to bring them back." Touched by the stranger's kindness, Su Lang replied, "Thank you," before descending the stairs without looking back. How could he not go out? There was so much refuse waiting to be scavenged. As he continued downward, he encountered 7 or 8 individuals sitting on the stairs in corners, their faces devoid of spirit. Upon reaching the 11th floor, Su Lang spotted the security guard named Ah Yong. "It's you. Do you dare to show your face again?" Ah Yong recognized Su Lang instantly, his eyes ablaze with vengeful fury. With his shout, 2 figures approached, brandishing gleaming metal pipes and knives. "Get out of the way," Su Lang barked. "Haven't you had enough from yesterday?" Overwhelmed by Su Lang's imposing presence, Ah Yong recalled the previous day's events, his expression shifting. "So you're the brat who ran off with that beauty from the 11th floor?" A fierce-looking man stepped forward, his knife aimed at Su Lang. "Yes, it's him. A college student," Ah Yong confirmed. Hearing this, Su Lang's expression darkened. "Young man, as long as you hand over the lovely maiden to honor our brother Hua, I shall allow you to leave. What do you say?" The man advanced without restraint, regarding Su Lang as merely an inexperienced youth. He could not fathom how the 3 foolish security guards, led by Ah Yong, could have been bested by a university student. Not a chance. A cold smirk curled at the corners of Su Lang's mouth as he tightened his grip on the tang knife. Unaware of his own folly, wielding a mere decorative knife, he thought himself formidable. "While I was slaughtering, you were still playing in the mud." The man signaled to his companions and bellowed, "Get him." A flash of bright steel cut through the air, but Su Lang moved first. Having no skill with the tang knife, he aimed to avoid the awkwardness of being disarmed, gripping the knife with both hands and thrusting with all his might. This technique was inspired by an elderly man from his childhood village, who advised that when a vicious dog comes to bite, it is better to jab than to strike. A single blow would rarely kill a beast. It might endure the pain and still bite you. With a physical attribute of 40, the force and speed of his thrust were fully unleashed. Thud! The sound of the blade piercing a sack of rags resonated, and the foul-mouthed man had not even blinked before the tang knife pierced through his chest. He gasped, blood spewing forth, his face contorted in agony. Su Lang kicked the corpse aside and swung the tang knife at Ah Yong. In his heart, Su Lang felt no revulsion at taking a life. Instead, he experienced a perverse thrill. Given the state of the world, if they sought to end me, then I shall first end them. Ah Yong was once again left in shock. He had assumed that with 3 men armed, they could easily overpower the university student. Yet, in a single encounter, one had been slain. Was this young man truly human? The icy blade sliced from his shoulder down to his abdomen, a gaping wound nearly cleaving him in 2. Ah Yong fell. Blood gushed forth, mingling with his innards, causing Su Lang's stomach to churn. A wave of nausea washing over him. Just then, a glint of cold steel appeared as a cleaver swung towards Su Lang's head. With his right hand gripping the knife, he rose from beneath, executing a diagonal counterstrike. A piercing scream followed as the man's arm holding the cleaver was severed at the shoulder, falling to the ground. Stepping forward, Su Lang drove the tang knife into the man's heart. He withdrew the blade, meticulously cleaning it. As the adrenaline faded, a surreal dreamlike sensation enveloped him. The floodwaters had completely submerged the 10th floor, and water began to seep onto the 11th. Su Lang realized the flood's rise was accelerating. Previously, it had taken days to submerge a floor. Yesterday, it had risen by an entire floor in a single day. Without hesitation, he stowed the tang knife away, descended the stairs step by step into the water, and dove through the 10th floor window. Breaking the surface, Su Lang gasped for air. As he surveyed his surroundings, he noted an increase in floating debris. Whether it was an illusion or not, the water seemed to flow more fiercely today compared to the stagnant currents of yesterday. Without further contemplation, Su Lang seized the moment to commence his work. The most pressing concern was to earn points and enhance his strength. Meanwhile, in room 1501, Liu Yaohua's abode was a chaotic scene. Clothing strewn haphazardly across the floor, the bed, the sofa, and even the table, amidst the presence of pale, exposed bodies. An unbearable stench permeated the air, the previous night's revelry igniting the darkness within certain individuals, as if they were inexhaustibly indulging until dawn. Liu Yaohua stood by the window, smoking, as a man approached him, heedless of his disheveled state. What a thrill! What a delight, Brother Hua! Ah Fei, go summon the 3 brothers downstairs. Liu Yaohua replied with a light chuckle, tossing his cigarette out the window. Wake the others too. I have matters to arrange. Ah Fei acknowledged and turned to leave. A few minutes later, he burst back in, breathless and panicked. Not good, Brother Hua. Not good. What is it? Liu Yaohua snapped, slapping Ah Fei on the back of the head. The 3 brothers downstairs, they're all dead. What? Liu Yaohua paused, his expression shifting to one of anger as Ah Fei gasped for breath. The 3 brothers downstairs are all dead, killed by someone with a knife. Liu Yaohua leaped to his feet, fury evident on his face. Who did this? Ah Fei shook his head. I asked those in the corridor. They said it was a student, but they don't know which floor he lives on. Damn, Liu Yaohua cursed. Whoever dares to touch my people must pay with their life. I will gather my men and search floor by floor until we find that brat. Ah Fei called out to his comrades and prepared to head outside. Wait. The 3 halted, looking back at their leader in confusion. That kid who killed someone must have escaped. Searching upstairs now would be futile. Liu Yaohua furrowed his brow, lighting a cigarette. The thought of a student capable of killing 3 men instilled fear within him. With only 4 of them in the room, what could they possibly achieve by confronting him? At present, the resources at hand were supplies and women. It was paramount to first strengthen their power. Revenge could wait. With this thought, Liu Yaohua devised a plan and called for his companions to follow. Su Lang continued to collect debris, swimming to the outskirts of the community. Today, he deliberately removed his shoes and stowed them away. Coupled with his enhanced swimming ability, his speed in scavenging increased dramatically. In 3 hours, he had amassed 2,000 points. He grabbed a wooden plank and lay down, pulling out a bag of bread and chocolate. As he bit into the bread, Su Lang suddenly recalled a recycling station not far from the community. Chapter 7. It's this kid. Lihua community comprised a total of 20 buildings. With only one recycling station nearby, it was easy to imagine the staggering amount of waste accumulated there. Metal scraps were not worth considering, as they were submerged underwater. However, lightweight items such as plastic bottles and scrap paper would surely be washed to the surface by the floodwaters. Fueled by this thought, Su Lang felt a surge of excitement. He stuffed his mouth with bread, relying on memory to navigate swiftly, ignoring the scattered debris along the way. After about 10 minutes, Su Lang halted, eyes wide as he focused ahead, momentarily stunned, before erupting into a joyful laugh. Before him, the water's surface was densely littered with debris. Dozens, if not hundreds, of plastic bottles were bundled together into a spherical mass. Roughly counting, there were at least 20 or 30 of these plastic balls. The surface also floated with many old textiles, worn clothes, tattered curtains, old sheets, mingling with various other refuse, creating an endless expanse at first glance. This was a gold mine. Su Lang swiftly swam over, and with a single motion, one plastic ball vanished, gained 96 scavenging points. A single plastic bottle was worth only 1 or 2 points. But this bundle amounted to nearly 100. What was even better was that he didn't have to exert effort to collect them one by one. They were all neatly bundled. Without pause, Su Lang lunged toward the next target, using both hands to gather any scatterings of debris within reach. Viewed from above, this dense mass of garbage appeared like a murky oil paint splattered across the surface of the floodwaters. Assumed the role of a diligent cleaner, meticulously wiping away the vibrant paint wherever he went. Despite the abundance of scattered debris, his focus remained solely on the large plastic spheres. One by one, he inspected them with a clear objective. Half an hour elapsed, and the plastic spheres within his view had vanished entirely. The vast expanse of refuse was now crisscrossed by dozens of clean waterways. Grasping a floating piece of wood, Su Lang retrieved a bottle of cola. Unscrewing the cap, the chilled liquid quenched his thirst, alleviating a hint of fatigue as he quietly awaited the restoration of his strength. Amidst the soft patter of rain, he discerned an unusual sound nearby. The splashing grew clearer and closer. A man with short hair emerged into view, his hands stirring the water as he swam through the sea of garbage. Beside him floated a large, empty plastic barrel, tethered to him by a rope. While he searched meticulously for something, he caught sight of Su Lang, who was half submerged in the flood, one hand resting on the floating wood and the other clutching the cola. The carefree demeanor momentarily rendered the man speechless. Cola? In the midst of a flood? Is that appropriate? The two exchanged silent glances across the debris. I'm Ban Yu. I live in Building 13. The man finally broke the silence. Su Lang, Building 11. Su Lang replied, tilting his head to take another swig of cola. Ban Yu's lips twitched. Are you here searching for debris too? Debris? Su Lang's pupils contracted, and his expression darkened. Sensing his tension, Ban Yu quickly added, Don't be alarmed. I'm merely here to find some plastic boards, or the like. He thought to himself, it's not food. Why is this person reacting so intensely? Su Lang remained silent, his gaze sweeping over the empty barrel that Ban Yu was dragging. Ordinary people were currently scouring for food. What could one possibly do with plastic and wood? They couldn't fabricate weapons, and without a system, it was improbable they could trade waste as he did. The only conceivable purpose was, Are you planning to build a raft? Su Lang inquired. Exactly, Ban Yu nodded. I believe it's only a matter of time before the flood submerges the city. We should prepare in advance. Su Lang understood, internally agreeing with his assessment. The rising floodwaters had accelerated in recent days, and it was merely a matter of time before they inundated the 33-story buildings. That makes sense, Su Lang acknowledged slightly, then shifted the conversation. How is the situation in Building 13? To demonstrate his sincerity in exchanging information, he added, Building 11 is already in chaos. In this apocalyptic landscape, trust was scarce. Yet, this was an opportunity for information exchange that Su Lang did not wish to squander. Upon hearing this, Ban Yu's expression dimmed as he murmured, Several people in my building have died over food and women. As Su Lang had anticipated, civilization had crumbled, devolving into a primal struggle for survival. I must take my leave. Take care, Su Lang called out as he paddled away. In front of others, he could not continue to gather resources and needed to hurry to another location. Take care, Ban Yu observed Su Lang's retreating figure with a lingering gaze. The young man swam remarkably fast. Once out of sight, Su Lang resumed his mechanical paddling, extending his arms to collect the floating refuse along the way. Rainwater trickled down his forehead, and the notion of building a raft lingered in his mind. If the flood was destined to consume everything, should he not also prepare an escape route? Where would a raft take him? Shaking his head to dispel the heavy thoughts, Su Lang concentrated on collecting waste. The monotonous, repetitive actions kept his mind from wandering. As time passed, the sky began to darken. Su Lang looked up and realized he had unknowingly drifted far from the high-rise community. He activated his system. Host, Su Lang, attributes, 40, abilities, accelerated recovery, accelerated swimming. Points, 7633, with over 2,000 points remaining to reach 10,000. It seemed unlikely he would achieve that today. He pulled out a piece of chocolate and tossed it into his mouth, then changed direction, swimming back home while collecting debris along the way. Upon reaching the corridor window, the water level was nearly even with the sill. Concerned that Lu Yaohua might have sent someone to guard the water's surface, Su Lang quietly paddled past, striving to make no noise. He withdrew his tang knife, grasping it in one hand, and then retrieved a flying spear from his space with the other. After listening intently for a moment and hearing nothing, he cautiously peered over the windowsill. There was no one. With his right arm pushing against the windowsill, Su Lang leaped from the water and landed inside. This was the 12th floor, and as he ascended the stairs, he encountered familiar faces in the corridor. People eyed Su Lang warily, but no one spoke. By the time he reached the 14th floor, he noticed a few more people in the corridor, likely residents from the 12th floor. Strangely, he did not see Li Tai and his companion. Treading lightly on the stairs, Su Lang remained alert. Ahead was room 1501, Lu Yaohua's residence. The door was closed, and there was no one in the hallway. Su Lang quickened his pace, taking 3 steps at a time. Just as he reached the corner of the 15th floor, the door to room 1501 was violently thrown open, and a group of people surged out, shouting, Kill him. I want revenge for a Yong. It's him, get him. He has a beautiful girl at home. Let us capture her for Brother Hua. Chapter 8. As the door swung open, Su Lang swiftly turned and hurled the flying spear from his left hand. At such a close distance, precision was unnecessary. With a thud, the spear pierced through flesh, erupting a spray of warm blood. The immense force, amplified by his attributes, sent the man hurtling backward, colliding with 2 companions, momentarily halting the crowd. However, the accompanying screams did little to deter the onslaught of enraged assailants. With bloodshot eyes, they charged at Su Lang, yelling, Kill him. He is alone. We can overwhelm him. Su Lang's gaze turned icy as he leaped up 2 steps, retrieving a second spear from his space. He pivoted, unleashing it with all his might. From his elevated position, the spear plunged into a skull, the force nearly exploding the head apart, splattering red and white matter everywhere, drenching the thugs behind him. The man instinctively wiped his hand across his face, his palm coated in warm, viscous blood, unleashing a primal scream of terror. The corpse slumped backward, granting Su Lang the opportunity to sprint upward. "Useless fools. You're all worthless." A furious voice boomed amidst the chaos. "He can throw, can't you? Get him. I'll skin him alive." Su Lang's heart sank, but gritting his teeth, he quickened his pace, leaping up 4 steps at a time. Just as he reached the halfway point of the 16th floor, a sudden whoosh pierced the air, sending chills down his spine. Without hesitation, Su Lang agilely sidestepped, pressing against the wall. A kitchen knife whizzed past him, clanging against the wall. Without pausing, Su Lang dashed around the corner, quickly ascending to the 17th floor. Turning his body, he gripped a flying spear in his right hand, his arm muscles taut, his gaze fixed intently on the corner. The moment a henchman's figure flickered into view, the spear shot forth with explosive speed, far surpassing the henchman's ability to react. Crack! A scream accompanied the sound of bones shattering as the spear pierced the henchman's shoulder like tofu. The horizontal bar of the spear carved a horrifying gash, nearly severing his arm, blood gushing forth. The gruesome scene silenced the cacophony of curses from below, instilling a palpable sense of fear among the crowd, who began to retreat slowly, no longer daring to expose themselves. "Damn it! You're all useless. What are you afraid of? Get in there!" A face shouted angrily, pushing aside those who blocked his path. He pressed himself against the wall, cautiously peering around the corner. The floor of the 17th floor was already deserted. The heavy security door closed and locked behind him as Su Lang returned home. "Su Lang, you're back?" A sweet voice rang out. Su Lang barely had time to respond, leaning against the door, gasping for breath as his tense mind gradually relaxed. "What's wrong? Are you hurt?" Tang Yao sprang up from the sofa, rushing towards Su Lang, her tone laced with deep concern. A thought of "please don't let anything happen" uncontrollably surfaced in her mind. "I'm fine, just ran into a bit of trouble," Su Lang replied slowly, his breathing steady. "That's good to hear. You were silent for a moment. You scared me to death," Tang Yao said, her words trailing off. "I'll go change." Su Lang interrupted, eager to shed his soaked clothing after being drenched in the rain for the entire day. After soaking in the water and changing into clean clothes, he let out a sigh of relief. The living room was illuminated by candlelight, and under the warm glow, 2 bowls of white rice sat forlornly on the table. He casually asked, "Is this all we're having?" Facing Su Lang's gaze, a wave of anxiety washed over Tang Yao as she began to explain. "I thought we'd save some food. What would you like to eat? I can make something now. Just stir-fry a couple of dishes." "Did you have white rice for lunch as well?" Su Lang pulled out a cigarette and lit it, finally able to smoke after being drenched all day. I added sugar to the rice," Tang Yao replied softly. Her silly demeanor made Su Lang chuckle, and he stepped forward to gently embrace her. "Don't worry about the food. Just eat whatever is available. Your health is the most important thing," he said, naturally patting a certain rounded area. With a soft gasp, Tang Yao's face flushed crimson, and she turned to dash into the kitchen. Su Lang settled onto the sofa and called forth the system. System, 10 consecutive draws. Acquired, 1 barrel of cooking oil, 10 potatoes, 10 flying spears, 10 tomatoes, 10 bowls of rice, 1 barrel of purified water, 1 long gun, 10 eggs. 1 barrel of cooking oil, 1 box of spicy strips. Too much cooking oil, and a long gun as a weapon? Su Lang mused. System. Is there truly no hot weapon in the 2nd level prize pool? None. The food collected was now sufficient, yet the greatest threat remained the group, led by Lu Yaohua. The necessary weapons were still not forthcoming, leaving Su Lang feeling uncertain. With 10,000 points, he should be able to access the 3rd level prize pool. But he needed to venture out for another collection. "Su Lang, dinner is ready." Tang Yao's voice pulled him back from his thoughts. At the dining table, a platter of glistening shredded pork with dried tofu and a plate of vibrant stir-fried cabbage exuded a sweet aroma that boldly awakened his long-dormant hunger. Su Lang swallowed hard. It had been nearly 20 days of white rice, bread, and crispy noodles, and he had almost forgotten the taste of oil and fish. He picked up his chopsticks and eagerly began to eat, while Tang Yao across from him moved with slightly more grace, though her eyes glistened with unshed tears. The meal was consumed with near reverence, the only sound being the gentle clinking of bowls and chopsticks. After satisfying their hunger, Su Lang took a drag from his cigarette, watching as Tang Yao finished her last bite of rice. He swept her up in his arms and carried her toward the bedroom. "Wait, the dishes aren't washed yet," she protested, In this apocalypse, who cares about washing dishes? Su Lang replied nonchalantly, thinking only of hastening their progress. Despite his efforts, it was still Tang Yao who yielded first, and concerned for her well-being, he had to wrap things up hastily. With a body possessing 40 attributes, it was a source of both joy and concern. The joy stemmed from his combat prowess, while the concern arose from the fact that even Tang Yao struggled to keep up with him. This attribute would only continue to rise, and his physical capabilities would become increasingly absurd. How would he manage? Su Lang exhaled a puff of smoke, a hint of melancholy lingering in his eyes. Knock, knock. A sound at the door jolted Su Lang upright from the bed. Who could possibly be looking for him at such a late hour? First, he ruled out Lu Yaohua. That group wouldn't know which floor he was on, and even if they did, they wouldn't bother to knock politely. Peering through the peephole, he recognized the graceful silhouette outside. It was Zhou Hui, the doctor from the 32nd floor. He instantly recognized that delicate, cool face, with short hair and light makeup. She wore an appropriately comfortable outfit, but the ample fabric couldn't conceal her alluring curves. Beautiful and kind-hearted. Su Lang recalled the incident in the elevator when she knelt on the ground, performing CPR on an elderly man who had suddenly fallen ill. He had assisted her at that time, and thus, they had become acquainted. "Zhou doctor? Is something the matter?" Outside, Zhou Hui looked around anxiously, seemingly relieved to hear Su Lang's voice. "Do you have any food left at home?" Zhou Hui asked, her expression somewhat frantic. "I can trade you some medicine for it. I don't have much food left at home either," Su Lang casually replied. To ordinary people, medicine was indeed crucial, but having just drawn a medical kit from the system, he found little motivation to barter for it. "I saw you swimming out to gather supplies today." Zhou Hui spoke rapidly, pulling 2 small medicine boxes from her pocket. "These are 2 types of special medicine for preventing colds. They will surely be useful to you." Su Lang felt indifferent. Tang Yao was genuinely anxious as she had run out of food for 2 days. Yesterday, she had considered using their stored medicine to trade for food, but after seeking help from 2 kind-hearted neighbors, all she received were sympathetic sighs. Today, she had unexpectedly spotted the familiar college student braving the rain to swim out for supplies, which had almost become her last hope. "No need. I still have medicine at home," Su Lang said, growing somewhat impatient. Hearing that she had witnessed his movements, a flicker of surprise crossed his mind. But it was merely a fleeting thought. So what if she had seen him? "Su Lang, please, I've been starving for 2 days. How about this? You give me food, and I will provide you with medical assistance in return," Zhou Hui pleaded desperately after her 2 refusals. Medical assistance? The 2 words struck a chord deep within Su Lang's heart. Though he had the system, illness and injury could still lead to death. In such times, the timely aid of a professional doctor was more valuable than any special medicine. He had ample food in his storage, and with just a bit of it, he could establish a good rapport with the doctor. This was a worthwhile exchange. Without further ado, he retrieved 2 packets of instant noodles, gently opening the door to hand them over. An overwhelming sense of happiness seemed to descend from the heavens as Zhou Hui looked at the 2 packets of noodles. Her eyes sparkling with joy, she practically lunged forward, clutching them tightly to her chest. "Thank you so much. I live in 3102. Feel free to come find me if you need anything," she exclaimed excitedly. "Okay, I'll remember that," Su Lang replied, locking the door once more. As dawn broke, Su Lang rose early. Standing by the window, he lit a cigarette, confirming that the rain outside had intensified. The murky waters have risen to the 14th floor, indicating a 2-story increase in just 1 day. Tang Yao has prepared breakfast, a plate of stir-fried potato shreds and 2 bowls of plain congee. Before the flood, this would have been an ordinary meal, but in this apocalyptic world where starvation looms, it has become a luxury. Outside, torrential rain and flooding rage, while the flickering candlelight dances within the room. Su Lang and Tang Yao relished this rare moment of tranquility. Suddenly, a knock echoes at the door. Su Lang silently approaches the security door and inquires, "Who is it?" A robust voice replies from outside, "Hello, I am Li Tai. I represent Professor Wang to invite you to join our alliance." Su Lang peers through the peephole and recognizes Li Tai, the man he encountered in the hallway yesterday. Li Tai is strong, accompanied by 4 or 5 others, among whom Su Lang spots their neighbor, Zhou. They wield steel bars or kitchen knives as makeshift weapons. Without opening the door, Su Lang presses against it and raises his voice. "What alliance?" Li Tai explains, "Joining our alliance means mutual assistance, sharing joys and hardships. If we encounter Lu Yaohua and his gang, strength in numbers will prevent us from being easily slaughtered." Intrigued, Su Lang instinctively asks, "What about Lu Yaohua?" His involvement in his first murder is tied to Lu Yaohua, yet he lacks information about him. Li Tai responds, "Lu Yaohua and his men raided 2 more floors yesterday." Pausing, Li Tai's expression darkens with anger as he continues. That man is a beast. Not only did he seize food, but he also abducted women for his pleasure. Anyone who resists is killed on the spot. Now, everything below the 15th floor belongs to Lu Yaohua. Taking a breath, he speaks with grave sincerity. Friend, we genuinely invite you. In our alliance, everyone is equal. We share both fortune and misfortune. As long as there is food, no one will be abandoned. Su Lang remains silent. Equality? Mutual aid? Such slogans sound both naive and ironic in a world devoid of sustenance. What good is solidarity without a source of food? It merely accelerates the depletion of limited resources, leading to utter despair. I appreciate the goodwill. Su Lang's voice filters through the iron door, but for now, I am not interested in joining any alliance. Surprisingly, Li Tai does not exhibit clear disappointment. After a brief silence, he reminds Su Lang, take care of yourself. Lu Yaohua's gang will be scavenging soon. I heard a locksmith has joined him. An ordinary security door 1T hold them back. After speaking, Li Tai turns and knocks on the door across from Su Lang's. Muffled conversations echo in the hallway as Li Tai speaks for a long time. Yet that door remains unyielding. Ignoring them, Su Lang returns to the living room to continue his meal. What is happening outside? Tang Yao inquires with curiosity. Su Lang picks up his chopsticks and, after a moment's thought, replies, people have died. Alliances are forming outside. They wanted to invite me to join. He believes that the harsh realities of life can foster growth, and there is no need to conceal the truth. Tang Yao's eyes widen with concern. Did you agree? No. Su Lang waves his hand, his focus still on his meal. Tang Yao gazes at Su Lang with a mixture of worry and resignation, ultimately choosing silence. Meanwhile, in room 1501, a loud voice booms. Get up, all of you. It's time to work. Fei, Lu Yaohua's most trusted lieutenant, relishes a perverse sense of rebirth in these chaotic times. Indeed, as Brother Hua has said, order is being rewritten. With a knife in hand and followers at his back, acquiring food or women has become effortless. The wealthy elites who once looked down on him now seem like mere dogs under his control. Yet, even this thrill begins to wear thin. What's the plan for today? A lackey asks, tugging at his sagging trousers. No rush. Gather first and follow Brother Hua's orders. Fei replies impatiently as he lights a cigarette. From within the room, faint groans can be heard, weak and hoarse. Once the lackeys have indulged, they lazily gather around Fei. At that moment, the master bedroom door swings open, and Lu Yaohua steps out, a look of satisfaction on his face. Scanning the crowd, he approaches one man, clapping him on the shoulder. Luo Hui, did you enjoy yourself last night? Chapter 10. The Clash. Lu Yaohua is in high spirits. Early yesterday morning, 3 of his brothers were killed, forcing him to recruit more men. However, only 2 joined him from the hallway, the rest being weak and elderly. He distinctly remembers a few strong men, but upon inquiry, he learns they have all fled upstairs. Frustrated, he takes his men and heads to raid the 13th floor. An even more embarrassing situation arises. Their makeshift weapons seem like mere sticks against the modern security door. They spend the entire morning banging ineffectually against the door, leaving only superficial damage. Cursing, Lu Yaohua returns home to gather more supplies, vowing to wait at the 13th floor's entrance. Surely, the flood will force them to open the door eventually. Just then, Luo Hui from the 14th floor steps out of his room. With Luo Hui's addition, the door to room 1301 is opened within seconds. A woman is inside, and while there are some supplies, they are scant. The process continues, and both the 13th and 14th floors are stripped bare, yielding substantial rewards. What delights Lu Yaohua most is having Luo Hui as a key to the doors, which means the entire building will soon belong to him. Thank you, Brother Hua. Luo Hui grins, his face slightly swollen. Luo Hui, in his 30s, unmarried and childless, owns a small hardware store outside the community, where he also makes keys and picks locks. Having gone 3 days without food, he has been starving at home. He contemplated venturing out for supplies, but could not swim. He witnessed the atrocities outside, even opening his door to better hear the cries of a woman being assaulted by 3 security guards. At the time, he felt no fear. Instead, it was thrilling and exciting. Thus, when he heard Lu Yaohua and his men banging on doors downstairs, he willingly stepped outside. We still need you today, as always. Everyone shares food and drink, and you can choose the women first. Lu Yaohua laughs heartily. No problem, Brother Hua. Wherever you point, I shall strike. Luo Hui responds earnestly. The night's indulgence has left him craving more. To further enhance his value, he suggests, Brother Hua, I know of a household that surely has many supplies. Oh, Lu Yaohua raises an eyebrow. Jia Yong lives on the 19th floor. He owns the largest supermarket in the community. Lu Yaohua pauses, then slowly processes the information, eventually erupting into laughter. Having finished his meal, Su Lang dons a tracksuit and steps outside. He hopes to scavenge once more. Today, he could accumulate enough points to reach 10,000. As for Lu Yaohua, Su Lang feels no immediate concern, given his current physical condition. As long as he does not encounter someone wielding a gun, he is largely safe, with a tang knife in his left hand and a flying spear in his right. Su Lang remains vigilant as he carefully descends the stairs. Upon reaching the 20th floor, the sound of voices collided with Su Lang's ears. "We sincerely invite you to join our alliance." The voices appeared to belong to Li Tai and his companions, who had audaciously extended their invitation all the way to the 20th floor. It had been clearly stated that no one was to be added, yet they persisted. The hurried sound of footsteps echoed, signaling their arrival. How could there be so many? A cacophony of chaotic noise erupted, followed by a brief silence in the hallway. "What do you intend to do?" It was Lu Yaohua. How did they make it to this floor? Su Lang cautiously approached the corner of the 20th floor, aware that this apartment had caught his interest, and urged them to vanish. "Vanish, did you hear me? If you don't leave, I'll have no choice but to eliminate you." "Lu Yaohua, I am not afraid of you." Su Lang stealthily peered around the wall. Li Tai and his group were cornered at the entrance of room 2002. Apart from Li Tai, the others displayed expressions of fear. Given that Jia Yong would not be joining, should we leave? Indeed, these individuals are mad. We cannot afford to engage with them foolishly. Right? They are not part of our alliance. Let us depart. Ha. Lu Yaohua laughed maniacally, declaring that if they left now, he would not make things difficult for them. "Li Tai, I will join." A thunderous shout erupted from within the room, halting Li Tai and his companions in their tracks. Ah Fei, sensing the shift in the atmosphere, barked, "Don't be foolish. Hurry and leave. Do you hear me? I will join the alliance. I have supplies in my room. You must protect me. I am part of the alliance now." The owner of the voice screamed with desperation, grasping at this lifeline. "Eliminate them." Lu Yaohua's voice was resolute, a testament to his ruthless nature as he issued the order. Initially, they had the advantage, but with the mention of supplies, it became uncertain what would transpire next. He decided to act preemptively, determined to take control of this grocery owner. "Kill. Eliminate them." A chorus of chaotic shouts and the clattering of metal rang out. Su Lang stood quietly against the wall, unwilling to engage in such tumultuous conflict. He had a system, and he too could be wounded or face death. "Ah!" A scream echoed through the hallway. Blood had been shed, and the ensuing scene grew even more intense. More screams, wails, and roars reverberated throughout the corridor. After 2 minutes, "Li Tai, run. They outnumber us." 2 shouts were followed by the sound of hurried footsteps. Su Lang turned and leaped 3 steps up to the 21st floor. Swiftly hiding behind the fire door, 3 figures rushed past, failing to notice Su Lang. "Do not pursue." The footsteps trailing behind ceased. "Fool, is there anything to gain by chasing?" Victory had not clouded Lu Yaohua's judgment. He understood precisely what needed to be done. "Open the door. First, unlock this lock. With these supplies, I will have dominion over this building. Ha! And that university student, I will eventually extract him." Su Lang, concealed behind the fire door, pursed his lips. He had caught Lu Yaohua's attention. He emerged from the door, slowly making his way down the stairs. At the entrance of room 2002, Luo Hui produced a dining utensil. Crouching as he approached, the floor was strewn with bodies, moaning incessantly. Ah Fei leaned against the wall, gasping for breath, blood splattered across his face and body. While Lu Yaohua appeared exhilarated, cursing continuously. "So, the little beauty you mentioned has moved into the university student's room? With these supplies, I will recruit more followers. I refuse to believe I cannot eliminate him." Uft! A flying spear pierced Luo Hui's head, silencing him before he could utter a sound as he collapsed to the ground. The air fell into a deathly silence. Lu Yaohua's words were stifled. It was him. Recognizing the familiar spear, dread surged within the remaining lackeys, and they involuntarily retreated. "What are you afraid of? Attack him." Ah Fei seized one of the lackeys, thrusting him forward. Just as they reached the corridor, the familiar sound of slicing air rang out. A spear impaled the lackey's left cheek and exited through the right, the sharp point severing half his head. Warm liquid splattered onto Ah Fei's face. He pushed the corpse aside and charged forward with a cleaver, shouting, "Kill." Chapter 11. Underwater breathing, only the truly valiant dare to confront bloodshed. Ah Fei was undoubtedly one such warrior. At this moment, his face contorted in rage. He led the charge. The 4 remaining lackeys, still standing, followed behind Ah Fei, roaring as they advanced. One of them hurled a spear with great effort. Su Lang nimbly sidestepped, using the corner wall to evade. The steel pipe spear crashed against the wall. It was that security chief. Su Lang darted out. flipping his hands as two dark spears appeared. With a swift motion, he launched them forth. The lackey who had thrown the spear was caught off guard as the spears pierced his skull like bursting balloons. Upon witnessing Su Lang wielding spears, Ah Fei's pupils dilated in shock. His reflexes were astonishing. In the instant Su Lang raised his hand, he yanked his companion, positioning the security chief's body as a shield. The spear, meant to penetrate Ah Fei's heart, embedded itself deep within the meat shield's chest. Ugh! The security chief wailed, collapsing to the ground. Su Lang's gaze turned icy as he drew a gleaming tang knife from his waist. At that moment, a kitchen knife whirled toward him. To Su Lang, it appeared to be moving in slow motion. With a flick of his wrist, he cleaved the incoming knife in half. Using his footwork, he leaped down 2 steps, swinging the knife toward the last lackey. The ferocity on the lackey's face vanished in an instant. Without a kitchen knife to block, the blade flashed past. The head, bearing an expression of disbelief, flew off, and blood gushed forth. Ah Fei, taking advantage of the meat shield to evade danger, now seized the opportunity as Su Lang sheathed his knife, swinging his cleaver with all his might. With tremendous force, he aimed directly at Su Lang's face, adopting a desperate, street-fighting approach. Clang! The sharp clash of metal echoed, sparks flying. Su Lang, having acted more swiftly, precisely deflected the cleaver. Ah Fei felt a tremendous recoil, his hand torn, causing the cleaver to slip from his grasp. Su Lang's wrist flicked again, and the tang knife sliced horizontally. An instinctive ferocity overwhelmed all opposition. In the instant Ah Fei lost his grip, he jerked backward. The tang knife tore through Ah Fei's chest, leaving a crimson line. Flee! Ah Fei turned without hesitation, frantically escaping down the stairs. Su Lang, clutching his knife, descended to the 20th floor, where the ground was littered with moans, yet Lu Yaohua was nowhere to be found. Pursue! Since the confrontation had begun, he intended to eradicate the threat entirely. Su Lang moved swiftly, darting down the stairs to the 19th floor. Run home. He has no way to deal with the security door. Below, Lu Yaohua's voice urged them on. Su Lang said nothing. Only the sound of hurried footsteps echoed in the stairwell, heralding the approach of death. No, it's too late. Hua Ge, jump. Another voice shouted. Halfway down the 18th floor, the bloodstains had vanished. Su Lang jumped to the window for a look. The murky water at the 14th floor window was littered with debris. He saw no sign of the 2 individuals. Jumping from such a height, one would be lucky to escape with their life. Without food or medicine, injury leads only to inevitable death. Su Lang shook his head, dispelling the thought of jumping down to pursue. Ascending the stairs to the 15th floor, he found it peculiar that there were no familiar figures huddled in the corridor. Where could they have gone? At 1501, Lu Yaohua's stronghold, Su Lang pressed his hand against the security door. Recycling. The door emitted an excruciating metallic screech, and in the blink of an eye, the heavy security barrier vanished. As Su Lang had anticipated, he was able to recycle 5 categories of items merely by touching them, and the points accrued were quite substantial. The sole drawback was the time required for recycling. Scrap paper and plastic were recycled in a second, whereas this sturdy metal door took 3 seconds. Upon entering the room, a pungent odor assaulted his senses. A sliver of daylight seeped through the curtain, allowing Su Lang to discern the scene within. The floor was littered with discarded clothing, pants, stockings, and undergarments. Hearing a sound, he noticed a pale thigh shift on the sofa, followed by the emergence of a completely naked woman who, after glancing at him, averted her gaze, sitting there in a stupor. Su Lang paid her no mind and began to search the room. Apart from a few women in the living room, there were no guards to be found. At the entrance lay several steel pipes, spears, and kitchen knives, all of which were of no use to him. So he recycled them. Pushing open the master bedroom door, he discovered 2 women on the bed, their figures and skin tone markedly superior to those of the women in the living room. He meticulously rummaged through the bedroom, but only found a powerful headlamp. The kitchen still contained a fair amount of food and drink, but after some contemplation, he chose not to take any. On the balcony, he stumbled upon a fishing net, which he thought might be useful in the future, and promptly stored it away. After completing his search, Su Lang returned to the staircase and continued downward to the 14th floor. Li Tai had mentioned that the area below the 15th floor had been thoroughly scavenged by Lu Yaohua, indicating that the 14th floor was currently unoccupied. Su Lang recycled the security door of 1401 and began a comprehensive touch and recycle process. Every item falling within the 5 categories was collected without exception. As the space would soon be deserted, likely to be submerged by nightfall, and he aimed to earn points in the meantime. After 10 minutes, the recycling concluded, but he had found nothing of value. Scavenger points. 8226. He proceeded to apply the same method to 1402, where he discovered a fishing tackle bag, which he promptly collected. Scavenger points. 8872. He was now close to reaching 10,000 points. The glass from the windows had been recycled, leaving the room empty. Approaching the window, he steadied himself and leaped into the floodwaters. The rain fell heavily, drenching him, and the current was even swifter than the previous day. He oriented himself and began to swim towards the outskirts of the community, continually recycling debris along the way. Before long, he encountered others scavenging for supplies. Not wishing to expose his secret, Su Lang ceased his recycling efforts and accelerated towards the distance. The scattered refuse on the water's surface made recycling inefficient. He swam tirelessly to the recycling station, but his points had barely increased. Stopping to survey the area, he noted the sea of garbage he had seen the previous day had vanished. The debris on the water's surface was indistinguishable from that in other locations. His hopes of rapidly surpassing 10,000 points were dashed, leaving him with a faint sense of disappointment. At this juncture, he could only collect items one by one at a slow pace. After a brief rest, Su Lang composed himself and embarked on the monotonous, emotionless task of recycling refuse for a full 3 hours. Total scavenger points reached 10,000. Reward. Attribute 30. Ability. Underwater breathing. Level 3 lottery pool activated. Su Lang exhaled a sigh of relief, finally completing his task. Hard work yields rewards. The system had not deceived him. A rush of warmth coursed through him, further enhancing his physical capabilities. He gazed at his new ability, underwater breathing, which allowed the host to absorb oxygen directly through the skin, a power evolved from the scavenger's years of submerged work. Chapter 12. Strange fish absorbing oxygen through the skin? Su Lang's jaw dropped in astonishment. The previous 2 acceleration skills were merely enhancements, which he could accept. However, this underwater breathing ability seemed utterly ludicrous. Far beyond his comprehension. Did it mean he could dive indefinitely? Not for a minute, not for an hour, but potentially for as long as he wished. Moreover, he could now freely rummage through underwater debris. Long live the system. Su Lang pulled out a piece of bread to replenish his energy. The rain was so heavy that by the time he had taken a few bites, it was completely soaked, compelling him to switch to a piece of chocolate instead. Feeling his strength restored, he glanced around, ensuring no one else was nearby, before gradually submerging himself. He closed his eyes, savoring the experience. 10 seconds passed without any noticeable change. 20 seconds, still nothing. 30 seconds, where was the oxygen? 40 seconds, and he was nearly out of breath. 1 minute. He surfaced. Gasping for air, his mind filled with questions. Where was the promised oxygen? Revisiting the ability's description, he recalled that the host could absorb oxygen directly through the skin. Skin? Did that mean he needed to be unclothed? Su Lang had always donned clothing while underwater to prevent hypothermia. Now, with his attributes at 70, equivalent to 7 times that of a normal person, he could stay submerged for an extended period without issue. He extended his right hand, brushing over his clothes, and with a thought, stored them in the system space, making sure to retain a pair of cartoonish shorts for modesty. Submerging himself once more, he was immediately enveloped by a subtle tingling sensation, as if every pore in his body was expanding. Su Lang closed his eyes, silently experiencing the indescribable and unique sensation. A minute passed, and instinctively, he mimicked the act of breathing. His chest rose and fell, yet his mouth and nose remained sealed, allowing oxygen to permeate through his skin into his lungs. Su Lang's eyes widened as he scrutinized his body, continuously breathing through his pores, much like a child discovering an extraordinary toy, lost in delight. After amusing himself for a good while, Su Lang finally set aside his playful thoughts and began to descend further. The water was pitch black. He recalled the headlamp he had found in Liu Yaohuai's home. With a swift motion of his right hand, he retrieved it from the system space. Once fitted upon his head and activated, a brilliant beam of light pierced through the murkiness, illuminating countless tiny particles suspended in the floodwaters. Although the light's reach was limited, it granted Su Lang a rough idea of his surroundings. Before him lay an abyss of unknown depths, shrouded in an eerie silence that enveloped him in a sense of dread. Su Lang could not help but feel apprehensive, swallowing hard as he cautiously descended. His goal was the recycling station, which surely retained a wealth of metallic refuse. The water level of the 14th floor was calculated to be around 40 meters deep. The only issue was the lack of reference points on the water's surface, leaving him uncertain of his precise location. He hoped the margin of error would not be too great. Su Lang began to mentally count. 1, 2, 3. Occasionally, objects brushed against him, their nature indistinguishable. But he instinctively retrieved them. In the enveloping darkness and silence, time stretched out interminably. As structures obstructed the bright light above, Su Lang reached the count of 100, feeling as though a century had passed. Approaching the ground, He steeled himself, accelerating his descent. A blue ceiling, white walls. As Su Lang drew closer, a security kiosk emerged before him. Furrowing his brow, he compared it with his memories. Was this the Lian Street, 800 meters from the community? After circling the security kiosk, Su Lang confirmed his suspicions. The recycling station was on another street. He pressed his hand against the white metal wall, and 5 seconds later, the metallic surface was completely reclaimed. Inside, the furnishings were starkly minimal: a table, a chair, and an air conditioner. Su Lang swiftly reclaimed everything. Swimming along the underwater street, he made his way toward the recycling station. With his sevenfold physical prowess combined with swimming acceleration, Su Lang glided through the water like a fish, moving faster than an average person could run. Minutes later, he located the long-desired recycling station. A strong beam of light illuminated the scene, casting an eerie glow on the rusted sign beneath the water. The large iron gate was tightly shut, wrapped in thick chains and secured with a heavy lock. Rather than swimming directly inside, Su Lang took a few seconds to reclaim the gate. Every point counts. Nothing should go to waste. Inside lay a spacious courtyard, half filled with scrap metal. Su Lang moved forward, methodically touching each piece. Scavenging points, 25,685. Delight surged through him as the pile of scrap metal added over 10,000 points. He continued his search, his headlamp illuminating the area. In a nearby corner, stacks of cardboard lay compressed against the ground, explaining why they hadn't floated to the surface. Seizing the moment, Su Lang swam over and reclaimed all the cardboard. Scavenging points, 29867. Compared to metal, the points for scrap paper were significantly lower. Su Lang conducted a thorough search once more, but found nothing of value. Having achieved his minor goal, Su Lang felt a sense of satisfaction. Dreaming of the lottery at home, he ascended more swiftly than usual. Yet gradually, he sensed something amiss. The water current was peculiar. While descending, the flow had felt different, far less forceful. He distinctly remembered the first day out, when the floodwaters reached the 9th floor, the murky surface resembling a stagnant pool. From the second day onward, the current began to flow, gradually becoming swifter. At that moment, Su Lang felt a pang of alarm, a primal instinct warning him of danger. He directed his headlamp to the left, observing debris swirling with the current, yet nothing else was apparent. Upon turning back, a row of sharp teeth emerged in his line of sight, lunging rapidly towards his face. A monster? Su Lang's pupils constricted. Despite the panic, he remained composed. With a flick of his wrist, he felt the familiar weight of his dagger. The slender tang knife lunged towards the target. Even underwater, Su Lang's strength was remarkable. The blade pierced through the creature's mouth and emerged from its back. Vivid red blood clouded his vision, and before he could fully discern the creature's appearance, the knife's sensation indicated it weighed at least 20 pounds. Extracting the tang knife, he ascended without hesitation. Was this mere coincidence? The higher he swam, the more turbulent the current became, and Su Lang exerted himself to maintain his course. Suddenly, a prickling sensation coursed through him once more. Without a moment's thought, he gripped his dagger tightly and retrieved a red tassel spear from his spatial pocket. As the headlamp slowly scanned the area, a strange fish appeared in the light, its tail thrashing violently, propelling it towards Su Lang. With steady aim, he thrust the spear forward, and, aided by the creature's own momentum, easily skewered it upon the long shaft. Su Lang accelerated again, finally breaking through the water's surface and basking in sunlight once more. Chapter 13. Are you sleeping? The sky was overcast, torrential rain pounding the water's surface and sending countless murky splashes skyward. Su Lang raised the red tassel spear, the strange fish thrashing wildly. Surprised by the creature's tenacious vitality, he scrutinized it closely. Long, twisting antennae adorned its head, while its gaping mouth revealed sparse, elongated, sharp teeth. A catfish. It bore some resemblance, yet its size was extraordinary. With a flick of his arm, he hurled the creature several meters away. He was not in need of food and had never contemplated consuming such an oddity. Orienting himself towards the distant high-rise, he swam at full speed. Upon leaping through a window back into the hallway, he discovered he was on the 15th floor. Both apartment doors were reclaimed, revealing an empty interior. He continued upward, finding no sign of those who had once slept on the floor. On the 18th floor, he faintly heard voices above. Su Lang reined in his footsteps, quietly approaching the corner. "Brother Tai, we went down to check ourselves. Not only the security door, but many things inside are missing." "Indeed, Brother Tai, this is quite strange. If it were the residents of other floors, they could have easily taken food, so why dismantle those items?" "All right, I understand." Upon hearing this, Su Lang leaned against the wall, instinctively touching his nose. "Boss Luo, have you considered it? Though Lu Yaohua and his gang are gone, The flood crisis persists. We must band together to survive. Exactly, Boss Luo. You have supplies at home that you cannot possibly consume all. What will you do when the flood rises? I'm still contemplating. I'll seek out Professor Wong when the time comes. In that case, we shall take our leave. I hope you decide quickly. The flood is rising rapidly. It will reach this level in no more than 2 days. Understood. Footsteps echoed as they faded away, leaving the upper floors silent once more. Su Lang peered cautiously, confirming no one was present before ascending the stairs. Brother Tai, why should we seek his consent? He is alone, hoarding so much food. Why not just take it? A thin, hushed voice drifted down. Perhaps due to his enhanced physique, Su Lang heard every word distinctly. Be silent. That would be no different from Lu Yaohua. Li Tai's reprimand silenced the conversation above. Su Lang quietly followed, returning to the 23rd floor. Su Lang, you're back? As he entered and secured the door, Tang Yao's gentle voice rang out. Having spent 2 days here without worrying about food, she often thought of Su Lang. Eagerly awaiting his return. Su Lang replied, then noticed he was clad only in his underwear. I'll take a shower first. With that, he headed to the bathroom. Only then did Tang Yao realize, stealing glances downward, her cheeks flushed. I'll go make dinner. With that, she hurried into the kitchen. After a swift shower, Su Lang eagerly shut himself in the bedroom. Initiating lottery. Level 3 lottery consumes 100 points. Confirm? 10 consecutive draws. Congratulations, you have obtained a high-grade medical kit. Not bad, a fortuitous beginning. After a long wait, Su Lang finally obtained a few valuable items. 100 units of mutton, 10 pieces of cordyceps, and a desert eagle. At last, he had acquired a firearm. He also received 100 units of Tibetan pig meat, 10 pink cakes, 10 boxes of Sprite, a waterproof windbreaker, 100 units of chicken breast, and 500 rounds of universal rifle ammunition. The cold, metallic feel of the gun in his right hand was both thrilling and reassuring. Its white body heavy in his grasp. Upon examining the magazine, he noticed it was devoid of bullets. He decided to try for a 10-draw lottery again, which yielded another waterproof windbreaker, a high-grade diving mask, 500 rounds of handgun ammunition, 10 butter crabs, 100 units of rice, 10 boxes of charcoal, 10 boxes of Australian grade, 9 steak, a case of Fingio liquor, and a barrel of gasoline. The third-tier prize pool indeed proved advantageous. The food he received appeared to be of exceptional quality, far superior to anything he had encountered even in normal times. Su Lang carefully loaded the golden bullets into the magazine, each one being pressed in with meticulous attention until he heard the satisfying click of the magazine closing. He was tempted to fire a round immediately but held back, knowing that the noise would attract unwanted attention. Instead, he put the gun away and left the bedroom. The lottery was inherently a gamble, and he had no intention of exhausting his luck all at once. He would save it for future draws. On the table were 2 simple home-cooked dishes, 1 meat and 1 vegetable, a testament to Tang Yao having taken his words to heart. Are you tired? She asked, bringing over 2 bowls of white rice. She was unaware of Su Lang's daily endeavors, often returning empty-handed, but she refrained from questioning him. Let us eat, Su Lang replied, picking up his chopsticks with earnestness. Tang Yao ate slowly, casting glances at his youthful face, unable to resist asking, Su Lang, what will we do when the flood comes? Do not worry about it. I will find a way, he answered casually. Do you have a plan? Is there anything I can do to help? Su Lang looked up in surprise, meeting her clear and determined gaze. He had assumed the school beauty to be merely ornamental, yet here she was, displaying remarkable courage. After a moment's contemplation, he recounted the events of the past few days in the building, omitting any mention of his system or abilities, only stating that he had swum out to gather supplies. When he spoke of taking lives, his tone was as calm as if discussing the weather. Tang Yao's eyes widened in shock, and she covered her mouth in disbelief. Su Lang continued eating, no longer speaking. After a long pause, she finally processed the harrowing tale, her complex expression softening. So, the worst-case scenario is to build a raft and escape? Su Lang nodded. If the flood continues to rise, we shall have no choice but to leave on a raft. What can I do? She asked, her hopeful gaze fixed on him. Su Lang pondered before responding. You need to eat well and exercise adequately. If the day comes when we must drift away, you must ensure you have the stamina to keep up. I cannot afford to carry any burdens. Tang Yao nodded vigorously. Rest assured, I will not be a hindrance to you. Her adaptability was evident. Otherwise, she would not have bravely opened the door that day. The days spent waiting for Su Lang's return had almost made her forget the harshness of the apocalypse. It was only after hearing his account that she grasped the true state of the world outside. She felt fortunate for her choice that day, grateful to have met Su Lang, eager to contribute and prove her worth. Shall we sleep? Su Lang set down his bowl. His casual remark caught her off guard, causing her to feel a rush of warmth. All the serious thoughts she had just entertained were instantly cast aside. Chapter 14. Now we have food right now? Su Lang looked at Tang Yao's rosy face, feeling a surge of affection. He swept her into his arms and headed straight for the bedroom. The soft, ample sensation was invigorating, revealing how much she had filled out over just 2 days. The night passed in silence, save for the rhythmic patter of rain against the window. In a daze, Su Lang awoke to the sound of footsteps in the corridor. As dawn broke, he rolled out of bed and peered through the peephole, observing figures hurriedly descending the stairs. What is happening? He wondered, glancing outside at the torrential downpour that showed no signs of abating. Looking down, he saw numerous silhouettes moving about in the water. Some were bare, occasionally diving beneath the surface. Others wielded makeshift spears, prodding at the water, and a few brandished fishing nets, with one even carrying a large basin. A cacophony of laughter and cries of dismay erupted from below. What are they doing? Tang Yao asked softly beside him. Fishing, Su Lang replied. Are there fish in the flood? Before he could respond, a scream pierced the air. Ah, strange fish. Strange fish are biting. Run. Make way. Su Lang's gaze sharpened as he saw someone thrashing about in the water, seemingly pulled under by some unseen force. A burst of crimson stained the murky water as the crowd scattered in terror. The once jubilant fishers were now consumed by fear, frantically paddling towards the lone window in the staircase. The struggling individual gradually lost strength, being dragged further into the depths. The brutal scene made Tang Yao gasp, her face paling. Su Lang turned away, no longer interested. He had encountered that monstrous fish before. Its size and ferocity were unforgettable. He placed 2 boxes of steak on the table and told Tang Yao to wait, retreating to the restroom to wash up. In the dim corridor, those who had been fishing gathered in small groups on the stairs, their clothes soaked and shivering, yet they endured, unwilling to return home. Their attention was fixated on 2 fortunate individuals who had caught fish. One of them was Li Tai, who cleared his throat to break the silence. This fish is quite peculiar. I plan to consult Professor Wang. The second man clutched his catch tightly, nervously hiding behind Li Tai. What is there to consult? We're all starving. Someone in the crowd interjected. The man holding the fish shrank back, clutching it even closer. Li Tai, maintaining a serious demeanor, replied, If the fish is safe, I promise to share it with everyone immediately. Is this really the time for such deliberation? It's still just fish. If you're afraid to eat it, let me have it. A man with a sharp face shouted. Exactly. I'd rather take my chances with poison than starve to death. Give us a lifeline, Iron Brother. The crowd erupted in fervent agreement. Li Tai glared at the faces twisted by hunger, his annoyance rising. I must ensure the safety of our alliance members. We need to consult Professor Wang first. Then let us make it simple. The sharp-faced man countered. Here are 2 fish. Take 1 fish back to Professor Wang, and leave another for us. Yes. Those who are afraid can go hungry. Those who are unafraid may partake. Indeed, we all voluntarily wish to eat. Should anything go awry, it is not your concern. Li Tai, typically not very articulate, found himself at a loss for words. Observing the ravenous gazes of the crowd, he let out a heavy sigh. He cast aside the fish in his hands and, accompanied by the timid man behind him, ascended the stairs. Some hesitated momentarily, but eventually followed Li Tai out, while the remaining individuals, like hungry wolves, set about their tasks, some igniting fires, others preparing the fish, all bustling about with great urgency. Room 2301 was infused with the enticing aroma of steak. Su Lang, are you going out today? Tang Yao inquired, slicing a small piece of steak to savor. Not today. I'll rest at home and assess the situation later, Su Lang replied, shaking his head. The number of strange fish in the flood remained uncertain, and even he felt a twinge of apprehension. With an abundance of food and the presence of firearms, there was no pressing need for points at the moment. After finishing their meal, Tang Yao busied herself with tidying up the dishes, as well as laundry waiting for her attention. Su Lang lit a cigarette, reclining on the sofa. System Dad, 10 consecutive draws. Beef 100, potatoes 100, gold 47 pieces, 10 boxes of toilet paper, rice 100, 10 barrels of purified drinking water, pork 100. 1 barrel of gasoline, 10 sets of Victoria's Secret lingerie, chili 100 Victoria's Secret. Su Lang's eyes brightened. This is splendid. Tang Yao's lingerie is all cotton. It's time for a change of taste. At that moment, gold seemed pale and powerless in his eyes, posing no immediate threat. With this thought igniting within him, he could no longer contain himself. He sprang up, hurriedly finding Tang Yao and presenting her with a set of alluring, lightweight fabric. Shall we try it on? Tang Yao glanced down, her ears instantly flushing crimson, twisting the hem of her clothing as she stammered. I still need to work out later. Without hesitation, Su Lang took her hand and led her towards the bedroom. This is part of the workout. In the corridor of the 16th floor, the fire crackled, consuming dismantled wooden furniture. A large fish weighing over 10 kilograms was cut into smaller pieces and skewered over the flames, sizzling to a perfect golden brown. 7 or 8 individuals sat around, their eyes fixed intently on the roasted fish, occasionally accompanied by the sound of gulping. It's ready, we can eat. A call echoed like a starting gun. Instantly, everyone grabbed the fish and began to devour it voraciously. 10 minutes later, an eerie silence enveloped the fire pit. No one spoke, exchanging glances and scrutinizing each other's expressions. Is everything all right? A hesitant voice broke the silence. I feel fine, what about you? I have no issues. Several voices chimed in, confirming everyone was unharmed. Soon, uproarious laughter erupted. Haha, we're saved. Now we have food. Quickly, find tools. We need to catch more fish. It won't work with bare hands. These fish are fierce. We need nets. Yes, hurry. After so many days of hunger, we can finally have a hearty meal. Amidst the jubilant atmosphere, an ill-timed question arose. So, are we supposed to give the fish to Professor Wong? The air momentarily thickened, and a sharp-faced man interjected. To hell with that. Now that we have fish to eat, whoever catches it gets to eat it. Why should we share? Right? Whoever can catch fish is the boss. Why should we listen to him? To eat fish, can't they catch it themselves? Chapter 15. Do you have any food left at home? In room 2301, a scene reminiscent of spring's awakening unfolded. Su Lang pushed aside the delicate, long legs resting upon him and rolled out of bed. There was no denying that Victoria's Secret truly understood men. Tang Yao, typically exuding a sweet demeanor, transformed into an enchanting vision clad in the delicate fabric, her skin, as white as jade, a flat abdomen, and graceful curves created a captivating allure that starkly contrasted with her fresh, sweet face. The experience was indescribably delightful. Lingering in the mind, Su Lang approached the window, instinctively surveying the outside. The heavy rain continued to pour, and no figures were visible on the water's surface. Unintentionally, he spotted an individual standing on the balcony below, rod in hand. Fishing? A glance around revealed several others in similar predicaments. On multiple balconies, figures were present, and he even noticed someone on the 17th floor casting a fishing net. Su Lang gently tapped on the windowsill. These individuals were all devising ways to catch fish. Did they already know that the strange fish were edible? He silently stood by the window, observing the efforts of those below. Occasionally, frustrated shouts could be heard, likely due to fishing lines snagging on debris floating in the floodwaters. Occasionally, someone would hook a fish, but the strange fish were too large, ultimately breaking free after a prolonged struggle. A few fortunate individuals managed to catch smaller fish, holding them triumphantly while laughing. Su Lang's gaze shifted downwards to the only person utilizing a fishing net. At that moment, he was pulling in the net, straining to haul it upwards. The net emerged from the water, filled with debris, and Su Lang's eyes sparkled. This catch must be worth at least 200 points. What a waste. The others casting their lines also paused, their gazes fixed on the net as it neared the surface. With a splash, the net was pulled from the water, revealing at least a dozen fish. The largest strange fish within thrashed violently, its sharp teeth savagely tearing at the net. The person pulling the net, seeing this, redoubled their efforts. Just as the net was about to be dragged onto the balcony, the large fish bit through the net and fell back into the water. The onlookers collectively expressed their disappointment. However, the man from the 17th floor remained unfazed, laughing as he pulled the fish from the net into his home. The others, feeling dejected, returned to their fishing. Su Lang also turned back inside, calling for Tang Yao to prepare their meal. In a room on the 33rd floor, several figures also shifted from their vantage points by the window, gathering in the living room. Professor Wong, are we really not going to eat this fish? Li Tai stood in the center, holding a pair of binoculars, looking perplexed. The others directed their gazes towards an elderly man seated on the sofa. He appeared to be in his 60s, his hair and beard white, yet his eyes sparkled with vitality. Dr. Zhou, what is your opinion? The elderly man turned to a woman beside him. With a charming appearance and an alluring demeanor, she resembled a perfectly ripened peach, and was none other than Zhou Hui from the 32nd floor. In my assessment, this fish has undoubtedly undergone some form of mutation, resulting in its colossal size and ferocious nature. However, we currently lack the necessary equipment for detailed analysis and cannot ascertain whether the mutated fish meat poses any harm to humans. After a brief pause, Zhou Hui softly suggested, I recommend we refrain from consuming it for now. Professor Wong slowly nodded, contemplating for a moment before solemnly stating, I concur with Dr. Zhou's suggestion. Let us hold off on eating the fish and observe for a while. After finishing his meal, Su Lang changed his clothes in preparation to head out. Didn't you say you weren't going out today? Tang Yao followed closely behind, her eyes filled with concern. I'm just going downstairs to take a look. I want to be getting into the water today. Don't worry. Su Lang gently embraced her, offering reassurance before stepping out the door. He could not remain idle at home. He needed to step outside to observe the situation. Securing the door, he descended the stairs. Upon reaching the 17th floor, he was greeted by a cacophony of voices. Get lost. If you want fish, go catch it yourself. A booming voice pierced through the clamor, resonating clearly in Su Lang's ears. As he approached the 17th floor, he noticed a crowd gathered around the door of room 1701, clamoring noisily. Brother Yang, please, share some fish with us. We are all allies here. An elderly woman in the crowd implored. Allies? I'm no ally of yours. So don't try to curry favor with me. Like I said, if you want fish, go catch it yourself. From within the door came a roar. Brother Yang, can you let me in? I can help catch fish. Who are you? I don't know you. Brother Yang, my child is starving. Could you show a little compassion and give us a fish for the child? A child? That is none of my concern. No matter how desperately the outsiders pleaded, those within remained unyielding. Gradually, the crowd began to disperse. Brother Yang, will you sell me a fish? I can pay. A woman in her 30s, with willow-like brows and large, glistening eyes, stood out, especially with her plump red lips that seemed irresistible. Su Lang recognized her as his neighbor, Zhao Yuman. The couple living across from him appeared affluent. The husband seemed to be a corporate executive, while Zhao Yuman worked at a bank. Miss Zhao, do you think money still holds value in this world? Someone inside mocked, then added, I suppose I could spare you one. Really? Zhao Yuman's fleeting despair was instantly replaced by hope. Of course, as long as you spend the night with me, I will give you a fish. The man inside spoke with a light chuckle. Zhao Yuman froze for a moment, then erupted in a sharp scream. Shameless. She felt deeply insulted. Her face flushed as she turned to leave. As she passed Su Lang, she shot him a glance, but did not pause. With the crowd thinning, Su Lang continued his descent. The floodwaters had reached the corner, where a few figures stood hesitantly on the stairs, armed with spears. Kid, you think you can catch fish empty-handed? A scruffy man noticed Su Lang. I'll just take a look, Su Lang replied casually. Don't bother. We've already lost 2 brothers. This stretch of water is ours. The man waved him off, urging him to leave. If you want to catch fish, go somewhere else. Su Lang ignored him and surveyed the water. It flowed even more fiercely than the previous day. He spotted bloodstains on the stairs and, with a final glance at 2 peculiar fish in the corner, turned to leave. He had no intention of fishing. He merely sought to assess the water and the strange fish. With no opportunity to venture out for more points, he resolved to contemplate the matter of the raft instead. Frowning, Su Lang made his way back to the 23rd floor. Su, do you have any food at home? Chapter 16. Where did he get the eggs? The security door of room 2302 opened slightly, revealing Zhao Yuman. She wore light makeup and a dress resembling a nightgown, leaning slightly out. Su Lang turned to look. His gaze fixated on her. The air fell silent for a moment as Zhao Yuman noticed his stare and hastily straightened up, covering her chest. Clearing his throat, Su Lang asked, What did you say? With no choice but to repeat herself, Zhao Yuman inquired, Do you have any food at home? Yes, why? Su Lang nodded lightly. His straightforward response caught her off guard, prompting her to quickly add, Can I borrow some food? Or I can buy it. No, Su Lang replied, not allowing her a moment to respond before shutting the door. This notion was rather naive. How could she expect him to give her anything? Staring at the closed door, Zhao Yuman felt bewildered. Isn't there any? She was unwilling to accept this and glanced around, ensuring the hallway was empty. She approached and knocked on Su Lang's door. Su, please help me. Su Lang, I already said no, he replied, cracking the door open just enough to see her. Please, I'll pay any amount. My husband has money. What good is money now? Su Lang scoffed. Besides, my food supply is dwindling too. Don't, Su. Please help. You're young and strong. You can find a way to catch fish. Zhao Yuman pleaded desperately. Su Lang, growing weary of the conversation, retorted, Go catch fish yourself. He locked the door. Su, help me. Su Lang. He ignored her, retreating inside to light a cigarette and lean back on the sofa. You're back, Tang Yao said, emerging from the bedroom upon hearing the commotion. Su Lang looked up and noticed her pallor. You don't look well, are you sick? She leaned against him on the sofa, softly saying, I have a stomachache, my period might be coming. Gently, Su Lang embraced her, Then you should rest. I'll cook dinner. Tang Yao felt warmth in her heart as she gazed at his sturdy figure. In room 2302, Zhao Yuman returned home, where her husband, Li Feng, eagerly approached her. How did it go? Did he give you anything? Zhao Yuman glanced at him and replied, No, He said he doesn't have much food left. With that, she headed straight for the sofa. Why not? Did you not offer him money? Li Feng pursued her. Leaning on the sofa, Zhao Yumin sighed. I told you. He doesn't want money. Just look outside. Even if you have a fortune, you can't buy a piece of bread now. Li Feng fell silent, overwhelmed by the suddenness of the flood and the rapid changes in their circumstances. It shouldn't be this way. Just a few days ago, I saw him give Dr. Zhou upstairs 2 packs of instant noodles. He must have food. In Li Feng's eyes, people were inherently selfish. If they had extra food, they would not share. I don't know. He simply refuses to give. Zhao Yumin had been hungry for nearly 2 days and was too exhausted to argue. You're utterly useless. You couldn't even buy fish this morning, and now you can't even borrow food from Su. Li Feng, equally hungry and frustrated, lashed out. Then you go. You go ask. Zhao Yumin nearly snapped at his words. Once, she believed her husband was perfect. Good job, high income, car, and house. Now, in this situation, he did nothing but stay home, failing to consider how to navigate their crisis. You want me to go? I'm a leader. You want me to beg for food? Li Feng was taken aback by her uncharacteristic assertiveness and stood up, exasperated. If you want to ask, then let us go catch fish together. You catch, and I'll help you. Zhao Yumin's frustration boiled over. Her husband still clung to his sense of leadership. In this dire time, the very existence of their survival was in question. Catch fish? How do you expect me to do that? Li Feng shouted. Didn't you see those fish are eating people? You want me to go catch fish? You want me to die? The last sentence was shouted in front of Zhao Yumin, splattering her face with spittle. Startled by his appearance, Zhao Yumin was taken aback. Her usually gentle husband now bore a fierce countenance. What do you suggest we do? If we don't catch any fish, what will we eat? Li Feng, still simmering with anger, barked, what else can we do? You need to find a way to borrow some. Upon hearing this, tears streamed down Zhao Yumin's face. Her shoulders trembled, and her fingers clutched at the hem of her clothing. Su Lang prepared 2 servings of steak. Suddenly noticing that Tang Yao had been in the restroom for quite some time, he stood outside the door and asked, Are you all right? After a few seconds, Tang Yao's voice came from within. Aunt Flo has arrived, and I didn't bring anything. Su Lang pondered briefly, retrieved a pack of sanitary pads, opened the door, and handed them in. Ah, Tang Yao gasped softly. How do you have this? Su Lang remained silent and went back to his meal. Surely, he couldn't admit it was a prize from a lottery, could he? Halfway through the steak, Tang Yao emerged, her face flushed. The atmosphere grew awkward as they ate in silence. Su Lang leaned back on the sofa, lighting a cigarette. Father Tong, 10 consecutive draws. Prizes included 10 buckets of purified drinking water, 100 eggs, a waterproof jacket, a waterproof flashlight, 10 boxes of bird's nest, 10 hot pot bases, 100 grams of lamb, 100 meters of thick hemp rope, a barrel of gasoline, and 10 pounds of brown sugar. Eggs, brown sugar? This was clearly aimed at Tang Yao's aunt. Glancing up, he saw her in the kitchen washing dishes. 3 times now, he had achieved 10 consecutive draws. The prize pool seemed to contain only some high-quality food and equipment, none of which were complete items like hovercraft or motorboats. Initially, he hoped to draw something like a diesel engine or a propeller, but it appeared those hopes were dashed. Based on his previous experiences, he speculated that the next level of the prize pool would require 100,000 points to unlock. With so many strange fish in the water, accumulating 70,000 points in the short term was unrealistic. He would have to devise a means to construct a raft for escape. Su Lang closed the lottery interface and went to the kitchen, only to find Tang Yao missing. He took out the eggs and brown sugar and began to prepare a bowl of sweet water. After searching around, he assumed she had returned to the bedroom to rest. But when he found her, she was still on the balcony doing laundry. If you're not feeling well, rest. The clothes can wait, he advised. Tang Yao, feeling somewhat guilty, lowered her head, acknowledging his words. The clothes in the basin were stained from the night before, and she felt embarrassed, thus she hurried to wash them. There was a bowl of sweet water on the table, which she went to drink, leaving the bowl there. After saying this, Su Lang entered the bedroom. Tang Yao dropped the clothes she was holding and came to the living room. Where did he get the eggs from? Chapter 17. You're not going home today. Tang Yao clearly remembered what food was available in the kitchen, and she was certain she had never seen a single egg. Coupled with the sanitary pads Su Lang had given her, her confusion deepened. While the instant noodles and steak could be interpreted as him being well prepared and stocked, the eggs and pads were entirely unexpected. He must be hiding something. Outside, the heavy rain continued to pour relentlessly. When Su Lang opened his eyes, he felt a surreal disconnection between dreams and reality. He dreamt of a flood, monsters surging toward him. Then he dreamt of fishing in serene waters, surrounded by the laughter of women and children. He could not discern which was the dream. Turning his head, he saw Tang Yao sleeping soundly. Her skin as soft as an infant's, long eyelashes fluttering slightly, and the gentle sound of her breathing brought him some comfort. Su Lang closed his eyes, hoping to sleep a little longer. Knock, knock. Amidst the heavy rain, the sound was nearly inaudible. Given his heightened senses, Su Lang could hear it clearly. Someone was gently knocking at the door. Irritated, he approached the anti-theft door. Peering through the peephole, he saw Zhao Yumin standing outside, still dressed in the same strap dress as yesterday. Su Lang cracked the door open slightly and asked, "What is it?" Zhao Yumin appeared to have had a poor night's sleep, looking haggard. She bit her lip. "Su, please help me. As a neighbor, could you spare me some food?" Her sincere plea, combined with her pitiful appearance, tugged at his heartstrings. "None," Su Lang replied curtly, shutting the door and locking it. "Everyone expects me to help. Do they think I'm a miracle worker?" He entered the kitchen, kindling the charcoal to prepare breakfast. Scanning his inventory, he found a plethora of food items. Yet the more he looked, the more his frown deepened. Preparing a meal seemed cumbersome. He casually shut down the interface and pulled out 2 boxes of steak. Zhao Yumin closed the door, and Li Feng hurriedly approached. "Well, did little Su give anything?" Upon seeing her shake her head, Li Feng's anger flared, and he shouted, "What good are you? You can't even manage this." After venting his frustration, he kicked the door with a loud thud. Startled, Zhao Yumin jumped, afraid to speak. Turning back, Li Feng's face twisted with malice as he approached her step by step. "Didn't you say yesterday that the person on the 17th floor wanted you to sleep with him in exchange for a fish? Why not do this? Go ask little Su if he is willing to trade. As long as he offers enough food, you can make the exchange." Suddenly, a resounding slap echoed as Zhao Yumin struck Li Feng's face forcefully. "Li Feng, do you even hear what you're saying?" With trembling hands, she pointed at him. Tears streaming down her face, her disappointment evident in her gaze. "I am your wife. You would trade me for food? Do you still consider yourself human?" Zhao Yumin, overwhelmed with emotion, wept profusely. She could not comprehend how, after years of marriage and shared life, he would suggest that she sleep with another for the sake of a mere meal. Was this even something a human could say? Another louder slap rang out, striking Zhao Yumin's face with such force that it knocked her off balance, causing her to fall to the ground. "What are you pretending for?" Li Feng's face twisted in rage as he leaned down, glaring at Zhao Yumin. "You think that handsome college student isn't appealing? You've been sneaking glances at him. Do you think I'm unaware? What is the harm in sleeping with him? It's not as if you're going to die. Haven't you slept with other men? You weren't a virgin when you married me." With each shout, Zhao Yumin trembled, until he finally grasped her hair, dictating, "Find little Su, or trade for fish. The choice is yours." After frying the steak, Su Lang went to the bedroom to wake Tang Yao. She was sleeping restlessly, lying on her side with one leg raised high, a thin blanket twisted beneath her. Her smooth back revealed a captivating curve, her long legs elegant and full of vitality. Su Lang felt a rush of blood, but with Aunt Flo present, he could not indulge his desires. Stifling his dry throat, he gently patted her rounded form. "Time to eat." Tang Yao lazily opened her sleepy eyes, responding with a muffled acknowledgement. Knock, knock. The knocking resumed. Su Lang stepped forward to check, and once again, it was Zhao Yumin. He pushed open the door and, with a hint of exasperation, inquired, "Why are you still here?" Zhao Yumin had changed into a new outfit. Her well-tailored top accentuated her alluring curves flawlessly. The form-fitting pencil skirt clung tightly to her rounded figure, revealing her shape in all its authenticity. A light touch of makeup concealed her weary complexion, though the redness around her eyes betrayed that she had recently wept. "Su Xiaodi, I beg you. Give me something to eat." Su Lang sighed. "I've told you twice already. Please, just a little food, and you can do anything you want with me." The latter part of her plea was uttered through gritted teeth as she steeled herself. At that moment, Tang Yao, rubbing her eyes, emerged from the bedroom and fortuitously overheard Zhao Yumin's words. Both women paused, momentarily taken aback, their gazes locked. The courage Zhao Yumin had mustered began to dissipate upon seeing Tang Yao. No wonder her previous refusals had been so decisive. Tang Yao was young and beautiful. Bowing her head, she turned to knock on her own door, contemplating surrender. "If you don't get food, don't even think about going home today." A thunderous shout reverberated through the security door, clear enough for all three to hear. Li Feng had been monitoring the situation from behind the door, and upon Zhao Yumin's first knock, he could no longer contain his outburst. Startled, Zhao Yumin jumped and turned to Su Lang, pleading once more, "Su Xiaodi, I beg you, give me something to eat." At this juncture, a painful memory seemed to wash over her, and tears rolled down her cheeks. "Otherwise, Li Feng will make me go down and sleep with him in exchange for a fish. Woe is me." Her words left both Su Lang and Tang Yao momentarily speechless. Su Lang opened his mouth but found himself at a loss for words. He had no desire to comment on others' domestic affairs. Just then, a blood-curdling scream echoed from downstairs, followed by a flurry of hurried footsteps in the corridor. Monster! Run! Help! The sudden turn of events shifted the focus of the trio. Zhao Yuman reacted swiftly, knowing the recent happenings outside had filled her with trepidation. Thus, upon hearing the first scream, she instinctively rushed to knock on her own door. Su Lang, however, remained calm. He could discern from the footsteps that they were still far from the 23rd floor. Instead, a flicker of curiosity about the monster stirred within him. Yet, despite Zhao Yuman's desperate cries and pleas, the door across the hall remained steadfastly shut, offering only a cold, unyielding response. If you don't get food, don't even think about going home today. The chilling words pushed Zhao Yuman to the brink of despair, and she pounded weakly on her door. The footsteps drew closer, accompanied by frantic shouts. Su Lang merely cast a glance at the despondent Zhao Yuman, intending to close the door. Although he recognized the imminent danger awaiting the woman outside, the fates of others held no significance for him. Suddenly, a slender arm reached out, propping against the security door. You need to come in quickly. Su Lang was momentarily taken aback and turned to face the owner of the arm, a surge of irritation swelling within him. Tang Yao, suppressing her urge to meet Su Lang's gaze, fixed her eyes resolutely on the woman outside. Zhao Yuman, driven by an instinct for survival, seized the moment. While Su Lang was momentarily distracted, she dashed to the door. At that moment, chaos erupted in the corridor again. A man sprinted around the corner of the staircase, only to let out a heart-wrenching scream. Another man, seemingly colliding with something, was violently thrown out, crashing to the ground, lifeless. Su Lang swiftly pulled both women into the room and locked the door. Through the peephole, he observed as the frantic man took a couple of hasty steps before being overtaken by the monster. The creature, humanoid in form, landed a brutal punch on the man's back, sending him crashing into the wall, lifeless. The monster approached the corpse methodically, tilting its head from side to side. Su Lang held his breath, scrutinizing the creature. Its arms bore jagged appendages resembling fish fins, while its face and chest were covered in pale blue scales. Faint traces of its former human appearance still discernible. Su Lang's pupils constricted. He recognized the monster as the man he had seen in the corridor the previous day, the one who had been fishing with a net. The monster, having found no other prey, threw back its head and emitted a guttural roar. It opened its gaping maw and lunged at the lifeless body below. A gruesome scene unfolded as it tore and gnawed, blood splattering everywhere, accompanied by the horrifying sound of chewing. The brutality of the scene caused Su Lang to involuntarily recoil. Should I open the door and kill this beast? The thought was immediately quelled. What benefit would that bring? None that he could perceive. What if he killed one, only to have several more emerge? He gestured silently for the two women behind him to remain quiet. Their faces paled, and they huddled together, trembling. Su Lang, though unafraid, was primarily concerned with whether the monster possessed the ability to breach the security door. Time seemed to stretch unnaturally until heavy footsteps echoed outside. Su Lang lifted his head to peer out. The monster, clutching a mangled corpse, gradually retreated down the staircase. He turned and sank into the sofa, pulling out a cigarette to light. How could that man have transformed into a monster? The scales and fins made it seem both human and fish-like. Additionally, the man had just caught a net full of fish yesterday, suggesting a connection between the events and the monstrous fish in the water. Had he been bitten by one? Or had consuming it caused this transformation? If that were the case, the sudden appearance of such monstrous fish in the waters would be terrifying. Su Lang exhaled a plume of smoke, furrowing his brow in contemplation, completely unaware that the two women stood before him, staring intently. Seeing Su Lang lost in thought, Tang Yao grew increasingly anxious and ventured, "Su Lang, are you upset?" At her words, he snapped back to reality, glancing at the two of them. "I recall telling you not to meddle in others' affairs." He fixed his gaze on Tang Yao, emphasizing his point. "This is the apocalypse. I'm sorry. I simply couldn't bear it," Tang Yao quickly admitted, intimidated by Su Lang's sudden seriousness. "Kindness is the most perilous trait in this apocalypse. You managed to restrain yourself last time, so why not this time?" Su Lang flicked the ash from his cigarette and resolved to have a serious discussion with her. "Last time, the multitude outside could have endangered us." Tang Yao, stealing a glance at Su Lang, continued to explain, "This time, I only wanted her to come in and take shelter. I couldn't bring myself to turn her away." Su Lang extinguished his cigarette, sighed, and replied, "Any act of compassion can lead to trouble, even endangering our lives." He paused, fixing his gaze on Tang Yao, enunciating each word. "You must obey me. There cannot be another occasion." When Su Lang delivered this admonition bluntly, Tang Yao's heart raced, and she hastily assured him, "There won't be another time, Su Lang. Please forgive my capriciousness this once. I will listen to you from now on." After her words, she stepped forward and gently grasped Su Lang's arm. Having sufficiently scolded her, Su Lang turned his attention to Zhao Yuman, who stood quietly to the side. He is not considered a good person. The reason he has never developed feelings for Zhao Yuman is merely because she is married. Even if he sought other women, he would only choose those with clear minds and unblemished identities. Su Lang gazed at Zhao Yuman and said, "I will bring you some food shortly. Wait until it is safer outside before you return." After speaking, he took Tang Yao's hand and rose, making their way to the dining table. The two steaks on the table had grown cold from being neglected for so long, prompting Tang Yao to take them to the kitchen for reheating. Meanwhile, Su Lang slipped into the adjacent bedroom and emerged with a bag of rice in hand. He gently placed the bag in front of Zhao Yuman and turned to leave. Zhao Yuman stared at the rice in front of her, momentarily struck dumb, forgetting even to express her gratitude. Should she go back? Was that house still her home? They had forced her out, exchanging her body for food, threatening that if she couldn't procure any, she would not be allowed to return. Even in the face of impending crisis, they had never opened the door. The ghastly sounds of a creature feasting on corpses in the hallway echoed in her ears. Taking a deep breath, Zhao Yuman refrained from touching the rice bag. She steadied herself and walked step by step toward the dining table. Su Lang and Tang Yao sat across from each other, enjoying their steaks. Upon noticing Zhao Yuman's approach, Tang Yao observed her vacant expression and pallid complexion. She instinctively glanced at Su Lang, who was engrossed in his meal, remaining silent. "Can I stay here?" Zhao Yuman paused beside Su Lang. He furrowed his brow and asked, "Aren't you going back?" "Back?" Zhao Yuman forced a bitter smile. That door had been locked against her. As she uttered these words, tears uncontrollably spilled from her eyes, and she hastily wiped them away. "Su, I beg you, just a little food is all I ask. I am willing to do anything." The desperation and helplessness in Zhao Yuman's plea tightened Tang Yao's heart. Being a kind-hearted person, she knew she could never utter a refusal in such circumstances. She held her tongue, quietly awaiting Su Lang's decision. After a moment's contemplation, Su Lang responded, "Then stay, but don't cause me any trouble." With that, he stood and made his way toward the balcony. The floodwaters were about to rise, and he needed to expedite the process of securing a boat. Outside the balcony, the sky was leaden. The torrential rain had persisted for over a month, intensifying in the past few days to an absurd degree. The flood had already submerged the 17th floor, and it would reach Su Lang's floor in no more than 3 days. Before that, he had to find a way to acquire a boat. Otherwise, he would have to retreat to higher ground like the others in the hallway. The system currently offered ample supplies and equipment, but lacked a boat. Su Lang had discussed the notion of a raft with Banyu, but he had no experience in crafting one. Reluctantly, he steeled himself to attempt it. He entered another bedroom, disassembled the bed frame, but found no empty plastic barrels. He then retrieved several large containers of purified water from his storage, emptying them entirely. If anyone had been present, they would have surely protested vehemently. Next, he took out some rope he had just acquired and began experimenting with constructing the raft. At the dining table, Tang Yao and Zhao Yuman exchanged silent gazes. Lost in thought, Zhao Yuman gradually composed herself and softly said, "Thank you." Tang Yao waved her hand dismissively, suggesting that any gratitude should be directed towards Su Lang. "There's food in the kitchen. You can prepare it yourself. I'm feeling a bit unwell and will rest for a while." She then rose and retreated to her bedroom. Zhao Yuman slowly stood up, her vision spinning. She had gone too long without food, feeling dizzy and lightheaded, and had to steady herself against the table for a moment before she could regain her composure. She stumbled into the kitchen and was astonished to see a large pile of food on the floor, her eyes widening in disbelief. How could there be so much food? She was aware that most residents in the building had run out of supplies, often hearing cries for help in the stairwell, with robbery and murder occurring for a morsel of food. In stark contrast to the chaos outside, Su Lang's kitchen, overflowing with provisions, felt like paradise. After some time spent in astonishment, she quelled her confusion. Hesitating for a while, she ultimately took only a pack of instant noodles. Meanwhile, Su Lang tirelessly tied knots on the balcony, continuously testing his work. After an hour of struggle, no matter how he bound the materials, they remained loose and unsteady. Whether the raft would float once placed in water was uncertain. He decisively abandoned the effort, leaving the items on the floor as he made his way to the living room. Zhao Yuman sat alone on the sofa, staring blankly into space. Su Lang called out to her, "Come with me." Hearing the commotion, Tang Yao emerged from the bedroom, her face etched with concern. "Su Lang, are you going out?" Su Lang nodded. "I'm going upstairs to look for allies. I'll be back shortly." The need for an escape boat was urgent. and he planned to seek assistance from others. Turning his attention to Zhao Yuman, he added, I can't leave you here. It makes me uneasy. You need to come with me. Zhao Yuman nodded vigorously, asking no questions. Su Lang then entered the bedroom, pretending to gather belongings, but instead discreetly retrieved his tang knife. Peering through the peephole, he noted the hallway was quiet. Carefully opening the door, he stepped forward, nodding for Zhao Yuman to follow. Upon seeing the long tang knife in Su Lang's hand, Zhao Yuman trembled slightly. Taking a deep breath, she followed closely behind him. Su Lang led the way. Cautious of any sounds in the hallway, particularly wary of the creature from the previous day, they ascended the stairs without incident, encountering no one else along the way. At room 3201, Su Lang gently knocked on the door before stepping back to wait in silence. He did not know the occupants above, but he decided to consult Dr. Zhou first. Who is it? A gentle voice called from within. It's me, Su Lang, he replied in a low tone. With a creak, the security door opened slightly, revealing Zhou Hui's face. Upon seeing the tang knife in Su Lang's hand, she was taken aback. Quickly averting her gaze, she inquired, Are you sick or injured? She remembered her promise from the last time he borrowed food. Neither. I've come to ask you about something, Su Lang stated directly. Zhou Hui's gaze lingered on Zhao Yuman for a brief moment before she nodded and stepped aside. Come in. Su Lang placed his weapon against the wall by the door and sat on the sofa as Zhao Yuman followed suit quietly. Dr. Zhou, are you familiar with the Alliance? Su Lang broached the subject. Zhou Hui sat across from him, nodding without hesitation. I know. I've joined as well. Su Lang felt a surge of relief at this news, as it would simplify matters considerably. He then inquired in detail about the Alliance's basic information. Zhou Hui shared everything without reservation, as there were no secrets to hide. It turned out that the Alliance, as Su Lang had heard from Li Tai, was initiated by Professor Wang from the 33rd floor. Initially, its purpose was to counter the group led by Lu Yaohua. Later, when Lu Yaohua and his cohorts disappeared, the others continued to follow Professor Wang's lead, sharing resources and seeking warmth and unity, until the day the monstrous fish appeared. There were those who consumed it without consequence, leading many to believe that a new source of sustenance had emerged. Consequently, a significant portion of the populace took to fishing, no longer recognizing their allegiance to the Alliance. Now, only a few remained within the Alliance, adhering to Dr. Zhou's counsel, resolutely refraining from fishing. The current situation was dire, with food supplies dwindling to a critical level. After contemplating for a moment, Su Lang inquired in a low voice, Does your Alliance possess any plans for escape vessels? Dr. Zhou paused before responding, her gaze shifting to Su Lang, revealing an air of caution. The directness of his question caught her off guard, leaving her uncertain of his intentions. Leaning forward, Su Lang insisted, You need only tell me whether or not you have such vessels, Dr. Zhou. Do not forget that you owe me a favor. Dr. Zhou. Her expression conflicted, ultimately nodded in affirmation. She then questioned, What exactly do you intend to do? Su Lang cleared his throat and replied candidly, It is quite simple. I wish to ascertain whether there is a vessel for escape in this building. Alternatively, are there individuals capable of constructing a raft? Dr. Zhou enlightened him, saying, Professor Wang had long plotted the acquisition of an escape vessel, reportedly a life raft. However, due to the scarcity of food, no one is willing to depart. Su Lang felt a surge of excitement and blurted out, Where is the vessel? With a resolute demeanor, Dr. Zhou stated, I do not know where the vessel is. And even if I did, I would not divulge that information. It belongs to Professor Wang and his associates. The atmosphere grew tense, and Zhao Yuman felt as though she were invisible, while Su Lang pondered rapidly. If Dr. Zhou was unaware, could he perhaps approach Professor Wang directly to negotiate a trade of food for the vessel? Dr. Zhou observed Su Lang silently, taking note of his expression. As the floodwaters continued to rise, many had contemplated fleeing, yet food remained the most urgent scarcity. Even if one found a vessel, what difference would it make if they were on the brink of starvation? Chapter 20. What do you wish to trade? Upon hearing the word food, the atmosphere fell silent. Su Lang snapped back to attention, raising an eyebrow as he reevaluated Dr. Zhou before him. To his surprise, the woman exhibited remarkable quickness of thought. After a brief moment of contemplation, Su Lang feigned nonchalance as he reached into his inner pocket, retrieving 2 packets of instant noodles. He raised them towards Dr. Zhou, asking, Which unit does Professor Wang reside in? Dr. Zhou did not reach for the noodles, her gaze fixed intently on Su Lang's face as she softly replied, You wish to acquire that life raft? That is impossible. Su Lang retorted, Impossible or not, one must attempt to ascertain the truth. He calmly stated that with the abundance of food he possessed, he was confident that a trade for a vessel could be arranged. Dr. Zhou, perplexed by his audacity. Pouted and supplied, 3302 on the third floor. Thank you, Su Lang said as he rose to leave, with Zhao Yuman trailing closely behind, leaving the 2 packets of noodles on the sofa. In the stairwell of the 19th floor, Li Tai and his companions stood outside Unit 1902. Have you considered our offer? Mr. Luo's voice echoed from within, astonishment evident in his tone. Indeed, do you still not trust Professor Wang? I have made it abundantly clear that the alliance is dwindling. Should you bring supplies and join us, we shall depart together by boat. Mr. Luo, you must make a swift decision. The flood will reach us by morning, urged one of the others. Without a boat, all your supplies will be of no use. Mr. Luo, feeling the urgency as the floodwaters rose to the 17th floor and having witnessed the creature below, found himself tempted. Without the courage to venture out alone, he finally conceded. All right, I agree. I trust Professor Wang. Allow me a moment to gather my things, and we shall transport them upstairs together. Li Tai and his companions exchanged smiles at this affirmation. Just then, a deep, ominous growl resonated from around the staircase corner, freezing their smiles in place. The neighbor, Mr. Zhou, visibly trembled at the sound. Heavy footsteps echoed from below, drawing nearer. The creature? Mr. Luo had previously mentioned the entity lurking downstairs. Li Tai's pupils dilated as he reacted swiftly, raising his right hand and signaling with a distinct gesture to retreat. The Zhou neighbor understood immediately, lowering his steps and quietly moving upward. However, another individual, in a state of panic, accidentally struck a steel pipe against the wall, producing a sharp clang that echoed unnaturally in the stillness of the stairwell. Roar! A beastly bellow erupted in the corridor. Run! Li Tai shouted, making a decisive leap towards the staircase. Su Lang and Zhao Yuman exited Unit 3201, hastening upstairs. Upon reaching Professor Wang's door and confirming the number 3302, Su Lang knocked thrice. Who is it? A voice inquired, raspy and aged. Su Lang took a step back, entreating, Hello, I am looking for Professor Wang. Young man, I do not recognize you. What is your business? I intend to negotiate a trade with the professor. Well, what do you seek? Su Lang smiled and replied. The echoes in the corridor are too loud. May I come in to discuss this matter? Surprised by the directness of the elderly figure, Su Lang realized that the topics of vessels and food were hardly suited for loud proclamations. I am but an old relic. Let us converse here. The elderly man chuckled. Su Lang was taken aback, and at that moment, he felt a gentle tug at the hem of his clothing. Turning in confusion, he saw Zhao Yuman pointing to the tang knife in his possession. An awkward tension enveloped the atmosphere. Suddenly, a loud shout reverberated from the stairwell. Run! Followed by the sound of hurried footsteps, growing clearer with each moment. Zhao Yuman trembled, the horrifying scene from earlier lingering in her mind. She instinctively drew closer to Su Lang, gripping his sleeve tightly, her legs feeling weak. Su Lang gently patted her hand, reassuring her, do not be afraid. He then advanced a couple of steps towards the staircase, positioning himself at the corner. Shifting the tang knife to his other hand, he grasped the flying spear tightly, his arm muscles tensing. Gazing at the rather unassuming figure approaching from the corner, Zhao Yuman felt an unprecedented sense of security wash over her, as if the creature were no longer so fearsome. This sensation of being protected was something she had never experienced with her previous husband. A man burst forth from the corner, followed by another. Su Lang recognized the Zhou neighbor, who gasped, Li Tai? As he attempted to assist, but hesitated. Li Tai, clutching his injured shoulder, struggled to rise. At that moment, a towering figure emerged from the corner, glowing with a blue hue. With a swift motion, the scaled head of the creature came into Su Lang's view, prompting him to hurl the flying spear with all his might. The sound of the spear slicing through the air coincided with the creature's rapid reaction. It twisted and sidestepped. The spear, which should have penetrated the creature's heart, grazed past, leaving a deep gash across its chest, exposing bone. The creature howled in pain, charging towards Su Lang, and the deafening crack of a gunshot echoed through the stairwell. Su Lang raised his right hand, pointing forward, and unbeknownst to him, a white handgun appeared in his grasp, smoke curling from its muzzle. This creature evidently possessed enhanced physical attributes, exhibiting tremendous speed and strength. Su Lang, unwilling to take any risks, decisively drew his Desert Eagle and fired a shot. The creature gazed in disbelief at the gaping wound that had erupted in its chest, its steps gradually faltering until it knelt upon the ground. Su Lang exhaled in relief. After all, it was still a corporeal being. The stairwell was enveloped in an eerie silence. Li Tai lay on the ground, clutching his shoulder, motionless. The neighbor, Mr. Zhou, stared wide-eyed, mouth agape, rooted in place as the creature collapsed at his feet. Su Lang cleared his throat, nonchalantly stowing his handgun away. He then turned to Li Tai and inquired, "Are you all right?" "Huh. Oh, I'm fine," Li Tai responded mechanically. Perhaps the only one unfazed was Zhao Yuman, who gazed at the man before her in a daze. His bravery, strength, and decisive actions struck her heart with a powerful intensity. Mr. Zhou, regaining his composure, studied Su Lang's features and remarked, "You're that university student? Thank you for earlier." "I am Su Lang," he replied with a smile, nodding. "I came to find Professor Wang." At that moment, Li Tai struggled to rise, offering his gratitude. "Su Lang, thank you for saving my life." Suddenly recalling something, he shouted towards the closed security door, "It's safe now, Professor Wang." The elderly man inside peered out for a moment before slowly opening the door. "Come in and speak." Su Lang stepped forward to assist Li Tai, and together with Mr. Zhou, they all entered Professor Wang's home. "Someone go summon Dr. Zhou," the elder commanded, settling himself on the sofa. One person immediately turned to leave, and the elder's gaze shifted to Su Lang. "Young man, what did you say you wished to trade with me?" Chapter 21. I am a carpenter, young man. What did you say you wished to trade with me? This question drew the attention of everyone present to Su Lang. He opened his mouth, yet the words caught in his throat. Initially, he had intended to privately discuss matters regarding a boat with Professor Wang. He had ample food reserves and was willing to pay any price. However, surveying the room filled with Li Tai, Mr. Zhou, Professor Wang, and an elderly woman, he steeled himself to proceed with the conversation. After a moment of contemplation, Su Lang looked up at Professor Wang and asked, "I've heard that your alliance possesses a boat?" Upon hearing the word boat, Professor Wang's brow furrowed, and Li Tai instinctively straightened his posture beside him. They had just witnessed Su Lang's formidable strength. He had fired a gun without hesitation, leaving them puzzled as to why this fierce individual would inquire about a boat, which was their alliance's last means of escape. "To be frank, we do have a boat. What do you intend to do with it?" Professor Wang scanned Li Tai before continuing, speaking slowly, for after all, the young man had just saved two of their own, and it would be unreasonable to turn hostile immediately. Su Lang replied solemnly, "If possible, I would like to exchange for a boat." The air grew tense with silence. Professor Wang furrowed his brow in contemplation, while Li Tai's expression turned anxious, beads of sweat forming on his forehead. The proposition of exchanging boats was one they would unanimously reject. Yet, how could they refuse in the face of such a fierce individual? Would he draw his weapon at the slightest provocation? Professor Wang sighed, regretting the decision to allow this young man into their midst. Breaking the silence, he spoke. "Our alliance has indeed prepared a boat, intended for a last-minute escape." The elder fixed his gaze on Su Lang, adding, "However, this boat is not available for exchange under any circumstances." Despite the anticipation, Su Lang felt a sense of heaviness in his heart. What if I offered food in exchange? Upon hearing the mention of food, Professor Wang's weary eyes brightened slightly, and Li Tai and the others began to breathe heavily. Their alliance was currently in dire straits, with rations barely sufficient to stave off starvation. Even so, they were quickly approaching a point of no return. Professor Wang suddenly recalled something and turned to Li Tai. Li Tai immediately understood, rising to say, "Boss Luo has already agreed to board the boat." Professor Wang nodded, visibly relieved, and slowly remarked, "Young man, we certainly cannot exchange our boat, even with ample food. Once the flood arrives, we cannot survive without a vessel." Li Tai, anxious to speak, was silenced by a glance from Professor Wang. The elder continued, "In truth, if exchanging for a boat is not feasible, you have another option." Su Lang's interest piqued. "What option?" "Join our alliance." The elder smiled at Su Lang. Li Tai quickly added, "Yes, if you join us, you will naturally be able to leave with us when we set sail." Having just witnessed Su Lang's prowess, Li Tai recognized that adding him to their ranks would significantly bolster the alliance's strength, enhancing their chances of survival in this apocalyptic world. Su Lang fell silent. He was reluctant to join any alliance. Setting aside the risk of exposure, joining this so-called alliance offered him no benefits. He had no shortage of food and did not require their support. As for combat prowess, the individuals before him were all weaker than he. Yet, if he did not join, how would he acquire a boat? These individuals were resolute in their stance. Would he resort to forcibly seizing a boat? Su Lang's gaze inadvertently swept over the room. The hairs on the back of Li Tai's neck stood on end, and the elderly man suddenly felt a chill run down his spine. They exchanged a glance, both sensing the impending doom. Su Lang, however, averted his gaze, sighed, and prepared to leave. These individuals bore him no grudge. He could not bring himself to harm them for the sake of a boat. "If you truly do not wish to join," a gentle voice interrupted, as Zhou Hui strolled into the room with measured grace. She wore a tailored blouse, its buttons fastened to the collar, accentuating her figure with an air of professionalism. The pencil skirt hugged her curves, swaying with her movements, evoking thoughts of desire. Zhou Hui approached Su Lang, her piercing gaze fixed upon him. There is a second choice. Su Lang's face registered surprise as he asked, "What do you mean?" Zhou Hui parted her crimson lips. Our alliance initially consisted of more than just these individuals. A single hovercraft cannot accommodate everyone. Therefore, when Professor Wang first planned the boat, there was a contingency in place. Su Lang's eyes began to glimmer with hope as he blurted out, "Is there a second boat?" Before Zhou Hui could respond, Professor Wang sighed, taking over the conversation. "There is no second boat. We originally intended to construct a wooden raft. However, after only 2 days of work, with food supplies dwindling, the workers lacked the strength to continue. The so-called backup raft never progressed beyond the initial stages." The elder then cast a puzzled glance at Zhou Hui. "Dr. Zhou, is this your proposed second option?" Zhou Hui nodded, saying, "Indeed." She then turned to Su Lang. "If you are willing to provide food in exchange, our alliance can assist you in constructing a raft. Of course, you will need to supply the materials yourself." Hope for a vessel flickered once more in Su Lang's heart. He barely registered the mention of food, focusing instead on the crucial point. "You have someone who can build a raft?" Professor Wang's gaze fell upon the taciturn man standing beside Li Tai. Old Zhou grinned and said, "I am a carpenter. As long as there are materials, not just a raft, but a boat can be crafted." His tone implied that constructing a raft was a simple task, merely requiring hands to do the work. Su Lang took a deep breath, suppressing the elation within him, and said earnestly, "I find this proposal quite commendable. Now, let us discuss the food compensation for constructing the raft." Old Zhou, devoid of any ideas, turned his gaze towards Professor Wang. After a moment of contemplation, the elderly man replied, "Our workers will require 5 kilograms of rice per day. It is not excessive for a laborer to consume 1 gene of rice daily, despite the apocalypse making food scarce. However, without sufficient nourishment, how can one muster the strength to work?" Su Lang nodded, acknowledging that food was not an issue. They could commence today. Professor Wang nodded in agreement. "Old Zhou, please take Su Lang to the rooftop for a look." Su Lang wasted no time, pulling Zhao Yuman along as they headed outside. Behind them, Professor Wang's voice resonated, "Dr. Zhou, please check on Li Tai's injuries." Su Lang followed Old Zhou as they ascended the stairs, inquiring about the raft. Once in familiar territory, Old Zhou opened up, enthusiastically sharing his knowledge. The simplest raft could be constructed using nothing more than logs and ropes. Given the floods surrounding the city, finding wood was impossible, so they would have to improvise with planks. If they intended to navigate the flood for an extended period, they would also need to incorporate plastic barrels beneath to enhance buoyancy. As they conversed, the trio arrived at the rooftop. Chapter 22. Do not become a monster. Stepping out of the door, Su Lang immediately spotted the corpse of a monster on the staircase. He approached it thoughtfully, scrutinizing its grotesque form. The creature's limbs were extraordinarily robust, nearly twice the size of a human's, adorned with pale blue scales that covered its entire head, devoid of any hair. Gazing into the gaping wound in its chest revealed that its muscles and bones were no different from those of an ordinary person. With an impassive expression, Su Lang grasped the creature's leg, hoisting it towards the window of the stairwell and casually tossing it out. After dusting off his hands, he turned and ascended the steps leading to the rooftop. The building boasted a total of 33 floors, with Professor Wang residing at the top. One more flight up would lead to the rooftop. The three of them stood at the stairway entrance, gazing out at the expansive rooftop. The relentless rain had created a pool of water on the ground. Not far away lay a pile of timber, evidently dismantled from furniture. "I have hammers and saws," Old Zhou remarked, peering through the rain. "You just need to gather enough wood and plastic barrels." Su Lang nodded affirmatively, assuring him that he would procure the materials. Then he produced a cigarette, offering one to Old Zhou. "Brother Zhou, I will bring you the rice shortly. Let's have a hearty meal first, and in the afternoon, we shall commence our work." Upon seeing the cigarette offered, Old Zhou's eyes nearly bulged out of his head. It had been over 20 days since he had seen a cigarette, let alone a single butt. As a veteran smoker, he almost thought he had been forced into quitting. Thus, the sight of the cigarette before him felt like discovering a rare treasure. Trembling, he extended his hands to accept it, not rushing to place it in his mouth, but instead holding it by the filter, savoring its aroma from tip to end. "Ah," he exhaled deeply, "how delightful." Upon realizing it was a Huazi brand, he turned to Su Lang. "What did you just say?" Su Lang reiterated, "I said, let us have a hearty meal first, and we will start working in the afternoon." "Excellent, excellent." Old Zhou nodded vigorously. Su Lang returned to the 23rd floor with Zhao Yuman. The living room was filled with enticing aromas. Tang Yao had prepared a meal. with simple home-cooked dishes laid out on the dining table. Su Lang seated himself and immediately began eating with chopsticks, while Zhao Yumin stood by the table, her expression slightly anxious. The 2 plates of stir-fried dishes made her feel as though she were in a dream. Had everything that had transpired during this time been but an illusion? She gazed blankly out the window, where torrential rain fell, announcing that the floods still persisted. Indeed, the apocalypse had truly arrived. Sit down and eat. What are you standing there for? Su Lang shot a glance at Zhao Yumin. As if awakening from a dream, she hurriedly took a seat, eating her rice in small bites. They finished their meal in silence, and Su Lang took out a cigarette and lit it, briefly explaining the raft plans to Tang Yao. I will be heading out shortly to gather some wood. With that, he led Zhao Yumin to another bedroom. The room was empty, as he had previously cleared out all the unnecessary items. The only bed had been dismantled, with the bedboard stacked on the balcony. You will stay here this afternoon. Do not go anywhere, Su Lang instructed before leaving, locking the door behind him. He first went to the balcony, collecting the bedboards, empty plastic barrels, and ropes into his space. Then, he pulled out a bag containing 10 kilograms of rice, carrying it with him as he exited, heading to the 33rd floor. Old Zhou and the others were all gathered in Professor Wang's room. Su Lang handed the rice to Professor Wang and called Old Zhou to ascend the stairs. Following Su Lang to the rooftop were 3 individuals, Old Zhou, Li Tai, and Yang Chong. Brother Zhou, let us focus on these materials first. I will bring up the supplies shortly. Su Lang took out his cigarette box, distributing 1 to each. When Li Tai saw the huazi, his mouth dropped open in shock, not unlike Old Zhou's reaction. Yang Chong, who did not smoke, received a chocolate bar from Su Lang instead. The 3 accepted their items, promptly assuring him, we will make sure the raft is sturdy. Su Lang patted Old Zhou's shoulder and turned to descend the stairs. He intended to check the 2 lowest floors, where he could collect the wood without encountering anyone. Upon reaching the 19th floor, he encountered no one. Concerned that there might still be monsters like those from earlier in the day, Su Lang retrieved his weapon from the system. He gripped his tang knife and flying spear tightly, keeping his footsteps silent as he descended the stairs step by step. On the 18th floor, around the corner, a large pool of dark red blood stained the ground, with torn clothing scattered on the stairs. Moving further down, Su Lang found no corpses, arriving at the 18th floor. The security door of room 1801 was slightly ajar. He felt a stir of curiosity and cautiously pulled it open. The sight that met him was a shocking amount of blood on the floor. The room was dim, and Su Lang held his breath, listening intently to his surroundings. But there was not a sound to be heard. He decided to strike the floor with his tang knife, producing a metallic clanging sound. Making his way to the bedroom, he directly collected the bed and cabinet into his space, proceeding without pause to the other bedroom. The occupants had likely encountered a monster, as the bodies had been dragged away. Once he finished gathering materials, Su Lang paid no attention to anything else and exited the door. Gazing at the closed door of room 1802 across the way, Su Lang pondered for a moment before raising his hand to knock. He wanted to ascertain whether anyone was inside. If not, he planned to enter and take what he could. Who is it? A voice called from the other side. Su Lang remained silent, preparing to leave. Wait a moment. The voice called again, causing Su Lang to halt. Did you see any monsters outside? The tone sounded particularly anxious, as if uttering those words might summon something dreadful. Su Lang replied, the monsters are dead. Dead? The person inside sounded incredulous. How did they die? Su Lang thought for a moment before responding. They were killed by someone and thrown into the flood. After a brief pause, the voice inside remained silent. Su Lang chose not to linger and descended to the corner of the 17th floor, where a dismembered corpse came into view. Its limbs had all been torn off, and its chest and abdomen were gnawed away, presenting a ghastly sight. Su Lang suppressed his discomfort and walked past the corner. Bloodstains and shredded fabric littered the stairs, and as he carefully navigated the filth beneath his feet, he continued his descent. On the 17th floor, 2 doors stood ajar, and Su Lang made a beeline for 1701. The abode of the man who had transformed into a monster. The scene within was akin to hell, with severed limbs and entrails strewn across the floor. It was abundantly clear that the creature had dragged the corpses back here to indulge in its gruesome feast. Abandoning his intention to search for wood inside, Su Lang felt a wave of nausea wash over him. He retreated to 1702, where the atmosphere was surprisingly clean and orderly. It remained uncertain whether the occupant had fled to the upper floors or had been dragged away to meet a grisly fate. Su Lang hastily stored the bed and cabinets into his spatial compartment. After a thorough search yielded nothing, he retraced his steps back upstairs. Upon returning to the 18th floor, a faint creak resonated as the door to 1801 gently opened. A gaunt man, with a sharp face and sunken eyes, peered out. Are there still living souls below? Su Lang shook his head. The man's demeanor crumbled as despair overtook him. He clutched his hair and muttered in anguish, "No, no. I do not wish to become a monster." His voice was hoarse, and his body trembled uncontrollably. Su Lang furrowed his brow and urged, "Calm down. There are no monsters here." The man seemed oblivious to his words, mechanically repeating, "No, no." His trembling intensified, and his legs weakened, threatening to collapse. Su Lang swiftly stepped forward, firmly grasping the man's arms to prevent him from sinking to the ground. Locking eyes with the man's vacant stare, Su Lang shouted, "Snap out of it. You have not become a monster." Gradually, the man's hollow eyes began to focus on Su Lang's face. "They are all dead. I am the only one left." He stammered, repeating the phrase in fragments as his mental state frayed once more. Su Lang inquired in a low voice, "Do not be afraid. Tell me, who are they?" "They were the ones who ate fish with me. They are all dead." The man's body seemed to lose all strength, hanging limply in Su Lang's grip. "Do not panic. It is over now," Su Lang soothed, then pressed further, "How did they die?" At this, the man appeared to recall a horrific event, his eyes widening in terror as he fixed his gaze on Su Lang. "One of them was about to transform into a monster. We killed him. But then a more fearsome creature emerged from the 17th floor, and I escaped." As he spoke, the man's mental state shattered completely, his limbs convulsing as he could utter no more. Su Lang urgently asked, "What about the others? Did they become monsters?" The man buried his head in despair, his body racked with violent spasms, offering no further response. Su Lang sighed and supported the man against the wall. A profound question arose in his mind. Among those who had dined on fish together, some had transformed into monsters while others remained unharmed. How could this be? Was it a matter of consumption? Some ate more while others ate less? Shaking his head to dismiss errant thoughts, Su Lang ascended the staircase with purpose. He had gathered 4 bedboards and 4 sets of cabinets, and needed to transport them promptly. On the rooftop, old Zhou and his companions, clad in makeshift raincoats, were industriously at work. Who would have thought young Su would still have cigarettes? Old Zhou exclaimed, a broad grin illuminating his face. "It's been ages since our supplies ran out." Li Tai, assisting nearby, chuckled, "Indeed. I was stunned to see the cigarettes. I only dared to take a puff before extinguishing it. I must savor it slowly." "Huh. No need to poke fun. I did the same. Only took 2 puffs before stowing it away." Old Zhou laughed, then shifted the conversation. "It's a pity young Su isn't joining us." Li Tai sighed at that. "Yes, especially since he has a gun. In this world, without force, even food can be taken from your hands." In the corridor, Su Lang quietly absorbed their conversation before retrieving 4 bedboards from his spatial compartment, hoisting them onto his shoulder as he made his way to the rooftop. "Wow. Who knew young Su had such strength?" Old Zhou remarked with a smile as Su Lang deposited the bedboards onto the ground. "Thank you for your hard work." "Zhou Gu," Su Lang replied. Old Zhou waved his hand dismissively. "One cannot bite the hand that feeds them. Ha." Returning to the corridor, out of sight from the rooftop, Su Lang retrieved the cabinets from his spatial compartment, making multiple trips to transport them upstairs. He undertook this laborious task primarily to avoid drawing attention. Once the final cabinet was set on the rooftop, Su Lang approached Old Zhou. "Zhou Gu, is this wood sufficient?" Old Zhou appraised the pile of timber, pondering for a moment before responding. "It should be enough to construct a 10-square-meter raft. It depends on whether you have any additional requirements." Su Lang contemplated briefly before replying. "It mainly needs to be sturdy and provide shelter from the rain." Old Zhou nodded in agreement. "You are quite right, young Su." He gazed up at the incessant downpour, his tone turning grave. "The flood came unexpectedly. The materials and tools we have are rudimentary. If we attempt to build a larger raft, it may not hold." Su Lang inclined his head slightly, refraining from further discussion as he joined in the labor. With his involvement, the group fell silent, focusing intently on their tasks. Time passed, and as dusk enveloped the sky, Su Lang called out, "Zhou Gu, let us call it a day. Everyone should return and rest." Old Zhou and the others halted their work. Entering the corridor, Old Zhou turned to Su Lang. "The foundation should be ready by tomorrow. I suggest we add something to increase buoyancy." Su Lang replied, "No problem. I will seek out some plastic barrels tomorrow." He then retrieved some cigarettes and chocolate from his pocket to share with the 3 men as a small gesture of appreciation. Upon seeing the cigarettes, Old Zhou's weariness dissipated, and he gratefully accepted them. Su Lang cautioned, "Let us resume after breakfast tomorrow." The 3 men nodded in agreement, and Su Lang took his leave down the stairs. Returning to his home on the 23rd floor, he was drenched from the rain. Glancing at Tang Yao, who was sleeping in the bedroom, he remained silent and went straight to the balcony to collect rainwater. Afterward, he washed up in the bathroom and changed into dry clothes. "What as for dinner tonight?" "I'll cook," Tang Yao inquired, having waited at the door unbeknownst to Su Lang. He pondered for a moment before responding. Let us have something special to celebrate. Please ask Zhao Yuman for assistance with the meal. He then entered the kitchen and retrieved the hidden delicacies, preserved fragrant pork, butter crab, and Australian Wagyu steak. With the raft issue finally resolved, he felt a weight lift from his heart, knowing that when the flood arrived, an escape route would be available. His spirits brightened considerably. At that moment, Tang Yao entered the kitchen with Zhao Yuman. Tang Yao's eyes widened at the sight of the luxurious ingredients. Su Lang, where did all this come from? Her astonishment was mirrored by Zhao Yuman, who, accustomed to a comfortable lifestyle due to her husband's substantial income, had dined in upscale restaurants before. Seeing the high-grade Australian Wagyu steak, she was taken aback, as such delicacies were scarce even in normal times, let alone now amidst the apocalypse. Rest assured, there is plenty of food, Su Lang assured them. Su Lang, regardless of their astonishment, offered no explanation and turned to leave the kitchen. Leaning against the sofa, he leisurely lit a cigarette. The unexpected success of the raft project prompted him to indulge in a little luck. Good fortune must be seized while it is ripe. Host, Su Lang, attribute, 70, scavenging points, 25865, level 3 prize pool, 10 consecutive draws. Rewards, 100 kilograms of rice, a box of tea, 10 barrels of purified drinking water, 10 boxes of charcoal, 10 boxes of milk, a bulletproof vest, a waterproof jacket, a box of salt, a box of lotus flowers, a bulletproof vest. Chapter 24. Can I give it to him? A surge of inspiration struck Su Lang, and he felt an immediate constriction around his upper body. A sleeveless bulletproof vest materialized upon him, instilling an inexplicable sense of security within his heart. After thoroughly inspecting it, he reabsorbed the vest into his space. The prize pool remained filled with food and equipment, rendering further draws rather futile. Closing the draw page, Su Lang relaxed and unknowingly drifted into slumber. Su Lang, dinner's ready. Tang Yao's melodious voice resonated by his ear. Su Lang gently opened his eyes, greeted by the sight of a charming face, her skin as fair as snow. Concern filled Tang Yao's eyes as she inquired why he had fallen asleep on the sofa. Was he unwell? Unbeknownst to him, Su Lang had become her sole pillar of support. Amidst the chaos of the floods, she had survived and even thrived better than many. Fully aware that it was all due to Su Lang's efforts. It's nothing. Su Lang reached out to ruffle Tang Yao's hair. Come on, let us eat. At the dining table, dishes of fragrant pork stir-fried with green peppers, a plate of steamed butter crab, and 3 portions of perfectly cooked Australian steak adorned the table. Complemented by a serving of sot et bok choy, the fusion of Western and Chinese cuisines created an intriguing tableau. Nonetheless, it mattered little. Even in the apocalypse, Su Lang, a mere university student, would not have had the privilege to enjoy such a feast. Bending down to feign picking up chopsticks, he discreetly retrieved a bottle of Fungio from his space. Today brings good news. The raft issue has been resolved. Su Lang smiled at Tang Yao as he uncapped the bottle. Really? Then we can set sail on the raft? Tang Yao exclaimed, her excitement palpable as she grasped Su Lang's arm. Meeting her hopeful gaze, he nodded with a smile. Ah! A shrill cry escaped her lips as she joyfully leaped up. As a woman, she understood the chaos outside and dared not step out of the door. The thought of what to do when the flood arrived was unimaginable. All her hopes rested firmly on Su Lang, and his affirming words illuminated her path to survival. She flung herself into his embrace, clinging to him like an octopus. Completely oblivious to Zhao Yuman's presence nearby, Su Lang instinctively cradled her curves, his hands wandering slightly, a rush of warmth enveloping him. With the soft warmth of her body against him, he could not resist reciprocating her fervent kiss. Suddenly, Tang Yao gently pushed him away, her cheeks flushed. I still have to wait a couple of days. Her voice trailed off, barely audible. As their eyes met, a silence enveloped the room. At that moment, both became aware of Zhao Yuman's awkward demeanor nearby. Su Lang felt a surge of urgency. He gently set Tang Yao down. You eat first. Then, taking Zhao Yuman's hand, he swiftly made his way to the bedroom. Zhao Yuman allowed him to lead her, her head bowed in silence, fully aware of what was to unfold. In this apocalyptic backdrop, it seemed that women could offer little but their bodies. Cast aside by her husband for food, she had resigned herself to her fate when her own door was shut tight in a time of crisis. An hour later, the bedroom door swung open, and Su Lang emerged, rejuvenated. The vehicle was excellent, equipped with high-end features, and most importantly, it could withstand a good deal of wear and tear. At that moment, Su Lang experienced a flicker of understanding towards Lao Chao. Zhao Yuman followed him into the living room, her face still bearing a delightful flush. Let us eat. Tang Yao endeavored to appear composed. The earlier madness had been overwhelming, The sounds from the bedroom had been loud enough to be heard beyond the door. She practically fled to the kitchen, using the heat of the dishes to distract herself from her thoughts. Su Lang settled down with an air of confidence. Tang Yao and Zhao Yumin took their seats beside him. He poured 3 glasses of wine and raised his glass. Now, you are both my women. Tang Yao and Zhao Yumin exchanged glances before silently lifting their glasses. I will do my utmost to ensure your survival. I will never abandon you. Su Lang's steady declaration resonated with conviction as he downed his drink. The straightforwardness of his words, in these dire times, provided more comfort than any sweet nothings could. Upon hearing this, both women felt their eyes well up with tears, mimicking his actions as they drained their glasses. Su Lang was pleased with their reactions. Yet he concealed his smile. If he were to solemnly declare, "You have betrayed me," the unspoken words would linger in the air. The mere utterance sent a shiver down their spines. Tang Yao recalled Su Lang's cold gaze when he had silenced her, urging her not to meddle. Su Lang, rest assured. I will listen to you from now on. I will never act willfully again, Tang Yao hastily assured him. Zhao Yumin chimed in. Su Lang, I feel the same way. I will follow you without any second thoughts. The memory of Su Lang, emotionless as he wielded a gun to eliminate the monsters, flashed in her mind. Let us eat. Su Lang's smile returned. Today we celebrate, so let us indulge. Regaining his focus, he gazed at the sumptuous feast before them. The sounds of eager swallowing filled the air. Without further ado, the trio picked up their chopsticks and feasted joyously. Once satiated, Su Lang reclined on the sofa, indulging in a cigarette. Suddenly, noises emanated from outside the door. He approached the door to peer out, discovering Li Tai and a few others, each carrying supplies as they ascended the stairs. Su Lang's eyes darted around, remaining silent. It seemed that, with the rising floodwaters, Boss Luo from the 19th floor had begun moving his belongings. At that moment, behind the door opposite Su Lang, Li Feng, like a startled mouse, peered through the peephole at the commotion in the hallway. After the morning's debacle, fear gripped him, preventing him from opening the door for Zhao Yumin. Witnessing the gruesome scene of monsters devouring humans had left him trembling in his sheets, hiding under the covers all day. Eventually, hunger triumphed over fear, and Li Feng crawled out of bed. It dawned on him that Zhao Yumin had been out for food all day without a word. She wouldn't dare not come back, would she? That wretched woman. Li Feng hesitated, debating whether to open the door and inquire. But his fear of the monsters in the hallway prevailed. Finally, after witnessing Li Tai and the others ascend the stairs unscathed, he mustered the courage to crack the door open slightly. Zhao Yumin, where did you go to exchange food? You don't plan on coming back, do you? Li Feng hesitated to step outside, merely poking his head out to shout loudly. Zhao Yumin, come out here. Su Lang, upon seeing Li Feng's demeanor, remained silent. He turned to look at Zhao Yumin, who approached with an expression of indifference on her face. Su Lang, she spoke calmly. Can I give him that bag of rice on the table? Chapter 25, still hoping to hitch a ride on the Alliance's ship? Su Lang nodded slightly. Zhao Yumin picked up the bag, pushed the door open, and with a swift motion, tossed the bag of rice at Li Feng's doorstep with a thud. From now on, we have nothing to do with each other. Take care of yourself. Her voice was frigid. Li Feng hurriedly picked up the bag from the ground and, upon seeing it was indeed rice, clutched it tightly to his chest before questioning her. Zhao Yumin, you crawled into another man's bed for just this little bit of food? The man did not inquire whether she would return. He merely doubted the quantity of food. Zhao Yumin was momentarily at a loss for words, intending to close the door and dismiss him entirely. After years of marital affection dissipating, she felt she had been more than generous. Li Feng, Su Lang interjected, pulling Zhao Yumin back inside and holding a larger bag of rice. Did you hear that? Zhao Yumin has no further ties with you. After saying this, he tossed the bag towards Li Feng, adding, take care of yourself. The 20-pound bag ignited a glimmer of greed in Li Feng's eyes. He cheerfully grabbed the bag and dragged it into the house, repeatedly waving his hands. All right, I understand. With a click, Li Feng locked the door. At that moment, Zhao Yumin severed the final thread of her emotional attachment, feeling a profound sense of relief. Su Lang cleared his throat and retreated to the bedroom, intending to rest early. Tang Yao naturally followed him in, leaving Zhao Yumin alone in the living room. She glanced towards the bedroom, feeling conflicted and hesitant, before ultimately turning to walk towards another room. However, it was not long before she returned, standing at Su Lang's door and whispering, there's no bed in there. Su Lang, nearly asleep, waved his hand dismissively, muttering, sleep together, just squeeze in. The room had been completely stripped bare, and he paid little mind to such matters. Upon hearing this, Zhao Yumin quietly climbed into bed. Outside, the heavy rain continued to pound incessantly against the world. In a daze, Su Lang sensed something amiss. He opened his eyes to find the blanket piled high before him. Turning his head, he saw Tang Yao sleeping soundly like a baby. In an instant, Su Lang understood the situation. He sighed. Mingda, why do you have such a fondness for married women? I think I have come to grasp a bit of it. Concerned about waking Tang Yao, he reluctantly patted the blanket. Zhao Yuman peeked her head out, her cheeks flushed, and her gaze slightly dazed. Su Lang gestured towards the door and got out of bed, with Zhao Yuman shyly following him. After her conversation with Li Feng the previous day, she felt unburdened and wholly devoted herself to Su Lang. Tang Yao was awakened, indeed due to the commotion in the living room, covered by her blanket. She listened to the sounds outside that made her blush and her heart race, unable to fall back asleep. She could not comprehend why someone as graceful as Zhao Yuman could shout so loudly. After enduring the noise for a while, she finally got out of bed and opened the bedroom door. The three of them sat around the table, tacitly avoiding any mention of the morning's incident. After finishing his meal, Su Lang reminded them, I need to keep an eye on the raft construction today. You two should engage in some exercise at home to maintain your physical condition. Seeing the two women nod earnestly, he rose and left. At the table, Zhao Yuman stared at Tang Yao, her expression somewhat awkward. Tang Yao, without you, I might not have survived. This immense gratitude will forever be etched in my heart. Tang Yao quickly waved her hand. Sister Zhao, don't say that. Although I am older than you, I will follow your lead in matters at home from now on. Without waiting for her reaction, Zhao Yuman shifted her chair closer and continued, You are still young and may not fully grasp what this apocalypse entails. I have seen much and come to understand a few things. From now on, the notion of gender equality will no longer hold. Women may only survive by relying on men. Tang Yao nodded in agreement, stating, Even so, we must do what we can. After a pause, she emphasized, Su Lang wants us to exercise. We should go soon and not hold him back. Su Lang stepped out of the room, not hurrying to the rooftop, but rather heading downstairs. He intended to check on that sharp-featured man from yesterday and to search for supplies on the lower 2 floors. Ideally, he hoped to find something useful. If not, he would settle for gathering some points. Descending the stairs, Su Lang reached the 19th floor, where the flood had just reached the ground, forming a shallow layer of murky water. Throughout the corridor, Su Lang saw not a single soul. Evidently, the man from the 18th floor had fled to higher ground. His gaze fell on room 1902, and he recalled that the owner, Boss Luo, had moved out everything in the morning. Placing his hand on the cold security door, he activated the retrieval mechanism. The metallic creak echoed, and 3 seconds later, the door vanished. Upon entering the room, Su Lang was taken aback by the lavish decor. A massive television wall greeted him, and the nearby sofa looked quite expensive. Are supermarket owners really this wealthy? Su Lang mused inwardly. Upon closer inspection, he noted that the television was the latest model from Xiaobai, a 75-inch screen. Su Lang pursed his lips and stored the television in his space, keeping it as a precaution. It was easy to imagine how dull life would be floating on the floodwaters. Once he acquired a generator, it would certainly come in handy. With this thought, he decided to scour the rest of the room, collecting the sofa, solid wood tea table, washing machine, and refrigerator, all of which he stored in his space. The room instantly felt emptier. He contemplated for a moment, then entered the bedroom, retrieving the bed and wardrobe as well. Old Joe had mentioned that the materials for the raft were sufficient, but being adrift, there was no guarantee against damage. These could serve as backups. After thoroughly searching the room, he gathered the remaining odds and ends, exchanging them for several hundred points. Su Lang exited and made his way to the opposite room, 1901. In room 3302, Professor Wang's quarters, the members of the Alliance turned their attention towards a sharp-featured man. Pan Yong, you have withdrawn from the Alliance. Do you still have the audacity to return? Li Tai, with a grim expression, was the first to speak up. Wasn't your house flooded? And I know you must have a way to escape. Pan Yong replied with a grin, completely disregarding his emotional breakdown from that night. Impossible, Li Tai retorted firmly. Anyone can join our alliance to help each other, but it doesn't mean you can come and go as you please. Li Tai then continued bluntly, moreover, you are empty-handed and cannot offer any food. Do you still wish to hitch a ride on the Alliance's ship? No chance. Pan Yong maintained his smile, waiting for Li Tai to finish before slowly speaking. Li Tai, I truly have no supplies. He paused, enunciating each word carefully. However, I possess a piece of extremely important information. Pan Yong surveyed the crowd, his voice low. This information is sufficient for me to join and for you to take me aboard. Chapter 26, Boss Luo. Pan Yong's words plunged the room into a sudden hush. Professor Wang. Pan Yong glanced at the frowning crowd, finally turning to Professor Wang. You are in charge, please say something. Professor Wang furrowed his brow. Pondering for a moment before speaking slowly, If your information holds sufficient value for the Alliance, I will agree to let you join. Pan Yong immediately replied. A word once spoken is hard to retract. Professor Wang nodded, of course. Pan Yong cleared his throat and stated deliberately, the fish in the flood can be consumed. What? The crowd erupted in disbelief. Impossible. Li Tai shouted hoarsely, the veins in his neck bulging. He had witnessed that creature firsthand, twice. If it weren't for Su Lang drawing his gun, he would have been lost yesterday. Everyone present knew that the monster was the mutated fish catcher from the 18th floor. It was evident that it had mutated after consuming fish. Nothing is impossible. I also ate fish, and I am fine now, Pan Yong shrugged. The air fell silent for a moment. You claim you consumed fish and are unharmed? Professor Wang frowned, staring intently at Pan Yong. Pan Yong nodded affirmatively. There were 8 of us in total, and we shared one fish. Only one person mutated, and we killed him. Li Tai snapped back to reality and interrupted. Are you saying only one person mutated while the other 7 were fine? Pan Yong replied, yes, and I discovered the key point. The only person who mutated had eaten the fish head. The crowd gasped. So, if we avoid the fish head, we are safe? If this information proved true, it would be a tremendous boon. The Alliance's supplies were running low. The last replenishment had come from Boss Luo's generous aid, and now they were nearing depletion again. This was also why the Alliance hesitated to escape to the waters. If fish were edible, then food would no longer be a scarcity amidst the flood. Countless thoughts raced through Li Tai's mind. How can you prove this? Professor Wang's steady, aged voice pulled everyone's thoughts back to reality. Pan Yong pressed his lips together. I can eat again in front of you. As he spoke, his voice trembled slightly. After all, this was merely speculation. Though he felt confident, he had no better choice. He was alone, and with the flood rising, there was no escape. Unable to fight back, he sought a way to join. Professor Wang decisively stated, very well. If you eat and remain unharmed, you shall join us. Su Lang had finished searching room 1901. The bed and cabinet were stored away, and all other items were collected in exchange for points. Their only find was a large carbon grill, an outdoor barbecue grill with table-height legs, and most importantly, it was spacious. The grilling surface was as large as a 1.20 meter desk. Having completed the search, Su Lang did not linger, ascending the stairs. In the corridor, he donned a waterproof jacket from his space. Upon reaching the 33rd floor, he was about to knock when the security door was opened from inside. Li Tai emerged, accompanied by a man with a sharp face. He glanced at Su Lang, nodded in acknowledgement, and proceeded down the stairs. Su Lang called out to old Zhou, who stepped out with Yang Chong. Both were clad in raincoats, fully prepared. Meeting old Zhou's expectant gaze, Su Lang smiled and offered a cigarette. They headed straight to the rooftop, where a large wooden raft base was near completion. Old Zhou smiled and said, Su Lang, we should have the base ready by noon. Su Lang nodded in satisfaction. Thank you, Brother Zhou. Old Zhou waved his hand, bending down to continue working. Did you find the plastic barrels? If not, start on the upper part. I'll bring some this afternoon. He lacked many plastic barrels in his space. In the first 2 days of scavenging, there were plenty floating in the water, with one fetching 2 points. If worse came to worst, he would have to pour out some of the purified water he had collected. Su Lang assisted, lifting and hammering, while simultaneously learning how to secure the base for future repairs. Unbeknownst to them, an hour had passed when a voice suddenly broke through the rain. Wow, you're building such a large raft? Su Lang turned to see a middle-aged, plump man at the stairway. Boss Luo, what brings you here? Old Zhou greeted him. His breath was slightly labored, perhaps from the exertion. He set down his tools and walked toward the stairway to take a break. Su Lang quietly followed, pulling out a cigarette to smoke. Old Zhou, is this our boat? Luo Tao was not paying attention to Su Lang and the others. His eyes fixed on the wooden raft below. Old Zhou took a deep breath, exhaling smoke. Yang Chong chimed in. This raft belongs to Su Lang. Oh. Luo Tao was surprised. It looks so large, I thought it was for our use. Our boat has long been hidden. Old Zhou waved his hand, reassuring him. Don't worry. Luo Tao remained silent, his gaze shifting back and forth on the raft. After taking a couple of puffs, Old Zhou crushed the cigarette, lowering his head as he stepped into the rain. Seeing this, Su Lang followed suit. His physical condition did not require rest. He merely accompanied Old Zhou. After all, they would be navigating the flood on this raft, and caution was imperative, especially since Old Zhou was the only knowledgeable mentor. Luo Tao stood in the corridor, watching the three laboring diligently in the rain, lost in thought. After a long while, he turned and descended the stairs. Su Lang, keenly perceptive, waited until Luo Tao left before broaching the topic. Brother Zhou, has Boss Luo moved in? Yes, when the flood came last night, we helped him move. Old Zhou replied nonchalantly. Are there still empty rooms on the upper floors? Su Lang asked, puzzled. Old Zhou seemed to open up, He lives on the 32nd floor, across from Dr. Zhou. The previous occupant had joined the alliance, but went down to fish and never returned. There are quite a few such rooms, but the doors are locked. By the way, old Zhou recalled, looking at Su Lang, with the flood rising, you will have to move too, won't you? Su Lang furrowed his brows. We'll see when the time comes. After 2 more hours of work, the base of the raft was finally completed. The three planned to go down for lunch and continue in the afternoon. Su Lang headed straight home, while old Zhou and Yang Chong went to Professor Wang's house to wait for the communal meal. Upon seeing old Zhou enter, Luo Tao immediately called out, Old Zhou, I was just about to look for you. Come here. Old Zhou, confused, sat down beside the sofa. Luo Tao eagerly began, Old Zhou, I heard Professor Wang say we only have one hovercraft. Can all of us fit on it? Why not build a large wooden raft? Old Zhou shook his head, realizing, it's not that we don't want to build one. The Alliance's food supplies are running low. If we can't even have enough to eat, how can we muster the energy to work? In the past, there was none, but now there is. Luo Tao quickly responded, then turned to Professor Wang. I suggest that the Alliance construct an additional raft. It would facilitate both the transport of supplies and provide a place to rest. Professor Wang's murky eyes brightened. Boss Luo, would you be willing to contribute some more food to support this initiative? Of course. Building another raft benefits everyone in the Alliance, and I shall certainly lend my support. Luo Tao declared with fervor. Professor Wang pondered for a moment and said, in that case, Old Zhou, I believe it is necessary to build another raft. The current situation has us all packed into a hovercraft, which is hardly sustainable for rest. With the floodwaters rising, everything is uncertain. Having an additional raft would allow us to prepare more supplies. Old Zhou nodded in agreement and replied, very well. I will expedite the completion of Su Lang's raft and then commence work on our own. That won't do, Old Zhou. Since everyone agrees, shouldn't we start immediately? Luo Tao urged, gesturing emphatically towards Old Zhou and then directing his gaze back to Professor Wang. I have heard that Su Lang is not one of our alliance members. How can we delay crucial matters for the sake of an outsider? With the floodwaters rising so swiftly, we must act without delay to ensure our rafts are ready in advance. Old Zhou furrowed his brow and remarked, the raft for Su Lang was a prior arrangement. It is a transaction between our alliance and him, and I believe it is best not to renege on promises made. He shifted his tone, adding, moreover, with the flood currently at the 19th floor, we certainly have ample time to construct another raft. However, Luo Tao was prepared to continue persuading him when the sound of the door opening interrupted. It was Li Tai returning with Pan Yong. Li Tai held a makeshift spear fashioned from a steel pipe, adorned with a peculiar fish. The others in the room turned their gazes toward him, but he remained silent. Glancing at Pan Yong, taking a deep breath, Pan Yong stepped forward to take the strange fish, stating, as long as we remove the head and clean the belly, it will be safe to eat. I'll demonstrate. He then proceeded to the kitchen, with Li Tai hastily following him. A large question mark hovered over Luo Tao's head. What does this mean? Are we eating fish? Professor Wang chuckled as he explained the situation, leaving Luo Tao visibly perplexed. He had witnessed the monstrous fish wreaking havoc and knew everyone claimed they were mutated due to the floodwaters. Now, someone was suggesting that these fish were edible? If so, wouldn't that mean an endless supply of food from the floodwaters? This diversion completely overshadowed the earlier discussion about the rafts. Thus, during lunch, an unusual scene unfolded. A few individuals sat with bowls of white rice, staring blankly at a man in the center, whose features were sharp and monkey-like. Before him lay a headless grilled fish, with Li Tai standing beside him, wielding a watermelon knife. If anything unusual happens, I won't hesitate. In room 2301, yes, just like that. Lie down with your abdomen pressed against your thighs, and stretch your arms forward. Excellent, Zhao Yuman instructed while demonstrating the movements. Tang Yao listened intently, adjusting her posture incrementally. As Su Lang opened the door, he was met with a rather provocative scene. The two women were side by side in a cat stretch pose, with Zhao Yuman clad in a fitted skirt that left little to the imagination. Upon hearing the door, they turned to face him, their cheeks flushed, instantly halting their movements. Tang Yao was glistening with perspiration, her ears a bright crimson, and she remained silent. Zhao Yuman was similarly affected, beads of sweat trailing down her neck into the deep valley of her neckline. Are you two practicing yoga? Su Lang chuckled. Yes, Tang Yao replied, nodding. We started with a set of aerobics. Then, here, she hesitated, shyly avoiding Su Lang's gaze. Sister Man said she would teach me yoga to help stretch. Very good. Very good, Su Lang said with a sly smile. Zhao Yuman rolled her eyes dramatically and asked, Su Lang, how is the raft coming along? Su Lang nodded. The base of the raft is completed. I will continue working on it this afternoon. Tang Yao suggested, Then you should take a break while we prepare lunch. With that, the two women headed to the kitchen. Su Lang retrieved a cigarette, lighting it as he settled comfortably on the sofa. System, let us try a tenfold draw. Received 10 fishing nets, 100 kilograms of rice, 10 barrels of purified drinking water, 1 bulletproof vest, 1 barrel of diesel, 10 sets of women's sportswear, 100 kilograms of green vegetables, 1 Glock pistol, 10 grenades. Grenades. Quite splendid, enhancing our long-range lethality. Excellent items indeed. He closed the system panel, saving the rest for future draws. At the dining table, Tang Yao noticed Zhao Yuman's outfit and suddenly remembered that she had brought nothing with her. She inquired, Yuman, you came without any clothes. Do you want to go and fetch some? Turning to Su Lang, she added, if you don't want to see that person, you could ask Su Lang to go for you. Su Lang raised his head, having never considered such matters. Zhao Yuman pursed her lips and said, it's no trouble. Let everything remain in that room forever. Tang Yao nodded in understanding and refrained from further comments. After lunch, Su Lang entered the bedroom and retrieved 2 sets of the recently acquired women's sportswear. Briefly informing Tang Yao, he stepped outside. As usual, he descended to search for supplies. With the floodwaters reaching the corner on the 19th floor, after knocking on the doors of 2 apartments on the 20th floor with no response, Su Lang spent half an hour scavenging. He collected bedboards and cabinets for space, recovering over 700 points. Yet, the plastic barrels he desperately needed were only found in 3s on the balcony of room 2001. Reluctantly, Su Lang took out 10 barrels of purified water from his storage, emptying them to clear space. He then ascended to the rooftop. In room 3302, it seems nothing is amiss? Old Zhou's voice carried a hint of uncertainty. Let us not rush to conclusions, Dr. Zhou Hui advised, furrowing her brows as she turned to Professor Wang. I suggest he eat again tonight, and we will assess the situation tomorrow. Professor Wang nodded slightly, agreeing to continue the observation. We still have food, so there's no rush. Old Zhou, when you go to work this afternoon, take Pan Yong with you, in case anything occurs. Old Zhou and Li Tai both nodded in agreement. Upon hearing this, Luo Tao's mind sparked with renewed vigor. He quickly interjected, haven't we discussed this before? I believe we should set Su Lang's raft aside for now and focus on constructing our own. Chapter 28. Leave it to fate. Luo Tao's statement elicited varied reactions from those present. Old Zhou seemed unconvinced. As an old craftsman, he held simple, earnest thoughts. He believed that since Su Lang had offered food in exchange, they should diligently complete the task at hand. Li Tai, unclear about the reasons, was shocked to hear they needed to build another raft. Dr. Zhou appeared perplexed, uncertain of Luo Tao's intentions. Meanwhile, Professor Wang felt a stirring within. If Boss Luo were to support additional food, another raft would undoubtedly enhance the alliance's chances of survival. However, adhering to agreements was something he valued greatly. After a prolonged silence, he offered a non-committal response. Old Zhou, finish up with Su Lang as quickly as possible, but don't complicate matters. Then, let us immediately begin constructing our own raft. Without lingering on the 33rd floor, Su Lang proceeded directly to the rooftop. After confirming that no one was around, I retrieved all the empty plastic barrels from the space. I then descended the stairs and knocked on the door of room 3302. Upon seeing Su Lang, Old Zhou stepped out with a beaming smile. He found Su Lang to be quite a likable young man, courteous and generous with cigarettes. As soon as he stepped out, a cigarette was offered to him. Brother Zhou, I collected some empty plastic barrels. Please take a look and see if they are sufficient. Old Zhou accepted the cigarette and replied, great, I'll head up now. To enhance the buoyancy of the raft, durability also needed to be considered. Yang Chong emerged, and Su Lang, as per usual, handed him a piece of chocolate. Shortly after, Li Tai appeared with Pan Yong. Su Lang was surprised to see Pan Yong and asked, what are you doing here? Are you all right? Pan Yong recognized Su Lang and replied, I've joined the alliance. What about the others you mentioned last time? Upon seeing this sharp-featured man, Su Lang immediately recalled the incident with the strange fish. Pan Yong responded, they are all dead. Su Lang pressed on, did the others turn into monsters? At this question, Pan Yong felt a tightening in his chest, as this was the bargaining chip he had to board the boat. He turned to Li Tai, torn about whether to answer. Observing this, Old Zhou patted Su Lang on the shoulder and said, let me explain. They all gathered on the rooftop, where Su Lang learned about Pan Yong's situation. He was indifferent to whether the strange fish were edible or how to consume them, as he had no shortage of food and did not plan to eat the fish from the water. However, he felt it necessary to gather basic information. Is there really this many barrels? Old Zhou exclaimed as he inspected them, noting their new condition. Su Lang, where did you find these? Su Lang casually replied, I had some at home and picked up a few more outside. Brother Zhou, Do you think this is enough? If not, I can find more. Ensuring the raft was sturdy was the top priority. If we need more barrels, we can continue the lottery. Enough, completely sufficient, old Joe stated, but added. The fixing part is a bit tricky. We can only tie them one by one with ropes. If the flood rises quickly, even a slight wind can cause them to fall. Su Lang furrowed his brows and suggested, what if we add a layer of netting on the outside to cover everything and secure it to the base? Good idea. Old Joe's eyes lit up. If we use netting, we won't have to worry about the barrels being washed away. They immediately set to work, with old Joe explaining how to tie the barrels. Li Tai and Yang Chong promptly began their tasks. Su Lang pretended to fetch something and slipped into the stairwell. Once out of sight, he retrieved a fishing net from the space. Returning to the rooftop, he tossed the net aside and joined the work crew. After about 2 hours, the sky began to darken. All right, this net is secure enough now. Old Joe clapped his hands, slightly out of breath. Next, we need to build a shelter on top to shield from the rain. We can finish that tomorrow. Su Lang was quite satisfied with the raft and nodded. Let us finish it tomorrow. Thank you, Brother Joe, and everyone for your hard work. He then produced a cigarette as was customary and handed it out. Accepting the cigarette with a cheerful grin, old Joe's fatigue seemed to lighten. It's my pleasure. The group exchanged pleasantries as they descended the stairs, and Su Lang followed them into room 3302. The raft was nearly complete. The next concern was where to go. He intended to speak with Professor Wang. Noticing Su Lang entering behind him, old Joe paused momentarily, but then disregarded it. After spending 2 days together, old Joe had become the person closest to Su Lang. Perhaps even Su Lang himself was unaware that this was all merely due to those cigarettes shared upon their first meeting. Glancing around the living room, Dr. Zhou was absent, while Luo Tao and Professor Wang were engaged in casual conversation on the sofa. Su Lang sat next to them and asked, Professor Wang, have you all made plans on where to go during the flood? Ah, young man, since you Haven Tea joined our alliance, it's not easy to disclose our plans. The elder had been eating well these past 2 days, his complexion noticeably brighter, and he was in a playful mood. The flood keeps rising. We'll simply escape to higher ground. Su Lang smirked and guessed, I suppose your plan is to head to the nearby mountains. Indeed, the old man nodded slightly. This is common knowledge, and many understand it. Thus, escaping to the mountains not only allows for encounters with other survivors, but perhaps also government rescue efforts. Su Lang eagerly inquired, which mountain is closest? Having rarely ventured beyond 10 kilometers from the school, he was entirely unaware of the mountains nearby or their directions. Taosan. The elder responded succinctly, surprising Su Lang. Taosan rises over 1,000 meters. It should remain unsubmerged for the time being. However, the elder continued, his tone shifting with concern. Even if I tell you the name, you won't be able to reach it. Phones are useless now. There's no signal, no navigation, nothing. He paused, a deep frown settling on his face. Can you find your way? At those words, Su Lang felt a weight in his heart. The elder's words were entirely reasonable. What use was knowing the name Taosan? Adrift on the floodwaters, without navigation, reference points, or even a map. How could he possibly get there? Do you have a way to reach Taosan? Su Lang pressed on, unwilling to give up. Perhaps anticipating this question, the elder smiled, albeit with a hint of bitterness. If we had a way, we would have already risked the waters to escape. Why wait until now? From what I remember, Taosan is about 200 kilometers from this city. His voice grew somber, as if calculating meticulously. In an ideal scenario of paddling tirelessly without rest and maintaining direction, it would take 3 days. We must also consider water currents and the challenges of navigating upstream and downstream. This time could be indefinitely extended, and food remains the most pressing challenge. Thus, no one can confidently claim they can reach Taosan. The elder sighed deeply. When it truly comes down to it, if we must flee for our lives, we can only leave it to fate. Chapter 29. Now to go and kill him? As the elder's words lingered, the atmosphere in the room suddenly grew tense. Old Zhou and the other alliance members had been in better spirits over the past 2 days. Not only had Su Lang's provision of food alleviated their dire situation, but also Luo's arrival with supplies had eased their minds as the floodwaters rose. They simply had to follow their plans, and everything seemed to be improving. However, Professor Wang had thrown out another despairing dilemma. Sensing the shift in the mood, Su Lang decided not to linger any longer and rose to leave. In Professor Wang's words, despite the myriad challenges posed by the flood, he felt no fear. The food in his space was ample, and even if he could not find Taosan, drifting on the water for an extended period was not a significant concern for him. After some contemplation, he found himself back at his doorstep. Su Lang collected his thoughts and pushed the door open. Zhao Yuman had already changed into new athletic wear. The snug short sleeves accentuated her ample figure, while her waist was slender, and she wore loose-fitting athletic pants that concealed her legs, presenting a classic hourglass silhouette. Her vibrant attire could not hide her youthful allure. Upon seeing Su Lang return home, Tang Yao came out to greet him. Su Lang simply mentioned that everything had gone smoothly and encouraged them to prepare dinner, suggesting they rest early after eating. Not expressing Professor Wang's thoughts stemmed from his belief that voicing them would serve no purpose, merely heightening the worries of the two women. Leaning against the sofa, he gazed vacantly out the window. After dinner, Su Lang embraced the two women, suggesting they retire early. Tang Yao's cheeks flushed slightly, secretly relieved that her aunt had another day left. Otherwise, it would have been too embarrassing. Zhao Yuman, however, looked at him with affectionate eyes, even leaning closer to him. Outside, a torrential downpour raged, while within the walls, a tempest of emotions unfolded. As dawn broke, the sound of the storm echoed outside, accompanied by the rhythmic breathing of the person beside him. Su Lang gently opened his eyes, staring at the ceiling, still caught in the surreal sensation of dreams colliding with reality. Shaking his head, he pushed aside the two delicate legs resting on him and rose to the window. The deluge, the flood, and the leaden sky painted a picture of impending doom that rendered him somewhat numb. He turned and walked to the bathroom, quickly freshening up before lighting a cigarette and leaning back on the sofa. Hearing movement, Tang Yao emerged from the bedroom, glancing at the still sleeping Zhao Yuman. Yesterday, the two had been utterly uninhibited, paying no heed to Tang Yao, who had curled up beside them, desperately covering her ears, yet still feeling weak all over. "What should we eat? I'll prepare something," she said, heading toward the bathroom. Su Lang replied gently that a simple meal would suffice. Moments later, Zhao Yuman also arose, casting a playful glare at the man on the sofa, exhaling smoke. She couldn't fathom why his body was so robust, and it was infuriating that he lacked tenderness. At that moment, Tang Yao announced that breakfast was ready. She had prepared sandwiches of beef and eggs nestled between slices of bread, laying 3 portions on the table. Su Lang took a bite, remarking that the flood had reached the 21st floor, and we must prepare to ascend. He looked at Tang Yao and the other woman, speaking with a steady tone. "In a while, gather your things, and wait for my return to organize our next steps." The two women nodded earnestly, not asking further questions. Just then, a commotion erupted in the hallway. Su Lang abandoned his sandwich and approached the security door. "Is anyone there?" "We are allies," a knock echoed. And through the peephole, he saw Li Tai and Pan Yong standing in front of Li Feng's door. The door remained shut, and Li Feng's hoarse voice came from behind it, laced with caution. "What is it?" Li Tai, invigorated, quickly replied, "The flood is about to submerge us. If you wish to survive, go to the 33rd floor and find Professor Wang." "You think I'm going to fall for your trick to get me to open the door?" Li Feng dismissed Li Tai's words, continuing, "I have no food left either. You should go to someone else." Unfazed by this, Li Tai responded, "Our alliance is not short on provisions. We simply wish to assist more people. Believe it or not, when you come to your senses, find us on the 33rd floor." Leaving that statement, he turned and descended the stairs. Soon, another round of knocking and calls echoed from below. "Is anyone there?" "We are allies," Su Lang reassured Tang Yao with a glance before stepping outside. He descended the stairs to the 22nd floor, where he found Li Tai and his companions knocking on the doors of nearby apartments. "What are you doing?" Su Lang inquired. Li Tai turned, stating, "Professor Wang asked us to account for how many survivors remained downstairs." Su Lang raised an eyebrow. "You're not planning to take everyone with you, are you?" He was aware that Boss Luo from the supermarket had brought up some supplies, so their alliance wasn't currently lacking food. But who would ever complain about having too much? "Indeed, we have discussed it. The chance of survival is greater when everyone unites." Su Lang scoffed and turned back home. This old man seems a bit carried away. Or perhaps he simply couldn't grasp their consciousness. "Li Gu, it appears these two households are empty. Shall we leave?" Pan Yong spoke up only after Su Lang had departed. "No one has responded after all this knocking. Either they're uninhabited or deceased." He refrained from voicing the latter part. Li Tai snapped back to reality, nodding, "Let us go. We've notified every floor." In room 3302, Professor Wang sat in the center of the sofa, surrounded by 8 individuals in the living room. Besides Li Tai and a few others from the alliance, 2 new faces had joined, excluding the households of Li Feng and Su Lang on the 23rd floor. Everyone else was present. Li Tai broke the silence first, then turned to the newcomers. "Please introduce yourselves briefly. You are now part of our alliance." Upon hearing this, a man and a woman stood up in turn. "I am Wang Chao. I am Lu Qian." Their introductions were succinct, and the others nodded in acknowledgement. "Alas, I never imagined so many would perish." An elder lamented, his tone heavy. Li Tai wholeheartedly agreed, fully aware that among those who had died, few had truly starved. "Professor Wang, Now that everyone is gathered, may we hear your plan? Asked the newcomer Lu Qian. As the group's attention turned to him, Professor Wang cleared his throat. Speaking with composure, through our experiments, we have confirmed that the fish in the flood are edible. This statement elicited gasps from Lu Qian while the others remained unfazed. Already privy to this information, Professor Wang continued, food is no longer an issue. The ever-rising flood has become our greatest challenge. Therefore, I urge everyone to unite and construct rafts to weather this storm together. Simultaneously, in the adjacent Building 10, amidst the 21st floor corridor, two figures that should have been engulfed by the flood stood firm. Huagu, my strength has increased again. A Fei's eyes glowed with a hint of crimson, bare-chested. Wielding a bone knife in each hand, he turned slightly, a cruel smile curving his lips. I can hardly wait. Shall we go now and eliminate him? Chapter 30. Today, he must be stopped. A sliver of light streamed through the corridor window, faintly illuminating the scene, revealing a menacing scar across a Fei's chest. Patience. That fellow has a certain wickedness about him. Another figure emerged from the shadows, none other than Lu Yaohua, the rogue who had been pursued by Su Lang. You should eat more fish to continue enhancing your strength. Today, we will first resolve the raft issue. A Fei's eyes sparkled with excitement, gripping the bone knives tightly. Huagu, shall we ascend to the rooftop? Then, recalling something, he spat in disdain. Those turtles are holed up 2 floors above with their crossbows. And I heard they've already built 2 rafts. Crossbows? Humph. Lu Yaohua snorted, a smirk creeping across his face. A Fei, my abilities have strengthened since last night. The crossbows pose no threat to me. In room 2302, Su Lang returned home, meticulously finishing his sandwich. The month-long relentless rain had cultivated in him the habit of savoring each bite. Zhao Yumin came to collect the dishes, while Tang Yao busied herself in the bedroom, organizing their belongings. Pack anything you find useful. Wait for my return, Su Lang reminded her once more before stepping out. In the corridor, he first retrieved a 5-kilogram bag of rice from his storage before heading directly to the 33rd floor. Knocking on the door of 3302, Yang Chong answered. Su Lang handed him the bag of rice, and he noticed Lao Zhou stepping out with a cheerful demeanor. Inside, 2 new faces appeared, likely summoned by Li Tai earlier that morning. Without much contemplation, Su Lang produced a cigarette and handed it to Old Zhou. Brother Zhou, I appreciate your efforts today. Old Zhou accepted the smoke, leading the way up the stairs. What hardship is there? If thanks are to be given, it's your cigarette that has saved my life. Haha. Yang Chong set down the rice bag and, with Li Tai in tow, followed suit. As usual, Su Lang offered cigarettes and chocolates, and the group made their way to the rooftop. Inside room 3302, Luo Yong observed Old Zhou rushing to assist Su Lang with his tasks, feeling a twinge of anxiety. He promptly addressed Professor Wang. Look at Old Zhou, he's off helping others again. Didn't you say we ought to construct our own raft? Wang Chao and Lu Qian, having just arrived, were unclear about the situation and turned their gaze towards Professor Wang. The elder cleared his throat and slowly replied. Old Zhou claims he can finish Su Lang's raft today. He paused, scanning the faces of the others in the room. Tomorrow, we commence building our alliance's raft. Just as Luo Yong was about to continue persuading, a hand suddenly grasped his arm. He turned, puzzled, to find the sharp-faced man, Pan Yong. Pan gave him a meaningful glance and subtly nodded towards the exit. Luo Yong, understanding, rose to bid farewell to Professor Wang. Pan Yong and the others followed suit. In the corridor outside, Luo Yong wore a bewildered expression, his gaze fixed on Pan Yong. What do you mean by pulling me out here? Pan Yong smiled slightly. Boss Luo, how well do you truly know Professor Wang? He's a kind-hearted man. Once he makes a promise, he won't easily change it. Luo Yong, feeling a bit anxious, pressed. So what should we do? Pan Yong didn't answer directly, but shifted his gaze to Lu Qian and Wang Chao. Boss Luo, are you so eager to build a raft for the alliance? Or do you have other intentions? Luo Yong's brow furrowed with suspicion. What do you mean by that? Pan Yong raised his hands in a calming gesture. Don't be agitated, Boss Luo. You see, we forejoined later, and we're still unfamiliar with each other in the alliance. There's no camaraderie among us. But Old Zhou and Li Tai have formed a solid little circle within the alliance. Professor Wang is kind but easily swayed by his own. I wonder if we could band together? Otherwise, when good fortune arises or decisions need to be made, we might find ourselves sidelined. Luo Yong remained silent, deep in thought. Wang Chao spoke up first. That makes sense. Lu Qian quickly nodded in agreement. I think that's a splendid idea. The 4 of us could form a small team. Thus, the 3 turned their attention to Luo Yong, awaiting his response. After some reflection, Luo Yong found merit in Pan Yong's words and concurred. Very well. I agree to form a quartet. He then asked, and what comes next? Pan Yong breathed a sigh of relief and smiled. No need to rush. Since we're a team now, Boss Luo, you must share your intentions with us. Why pursue this? At this, Wang Chao and Lu Qian regarded him with curiosity. Luo Yong cleared his throat and recounted the arrangement with Su Lang regarding the food exchange for the raft, emphasizing Su Lang's refusal to join the alliance. Being merely a university student with some provisions, Wang Chao and Lu Qian had never met Su Lang, while Pan Yong had only seen him once and had little memory of him. Upon hearing Luo Yong's account, they all felt indignant. Why should we build a boat for an outsider? Luo Yong proposed. Should we not confront Professor Wang together? Pan Yong, however, chuckled slyly. This sharp-faced man had long held his own plans. Now that we're four, our strength is amplified. Why should we seek Professor Wang's decision? We can simply approach old Zhou. Even if it comes to a vote, we currently have the upper hand at 4 against 3. On the rooftop, the rain fell like a curtain. Su Lang bent down, steadying a sideboard of a bed, while old Zhou labored beside him, striking away, unable to find whole logs. Old Zhou intended to use the even-height bed sideboards for support, having chosen 2 of the sturdiest wooden beds. Su Lang assisted by holding them steady. All done. Old Zhou straightened up, breathing heavily. Noticing this, Su Lang suggested, Brother Zhou, perhaps you should take a break? Although the labor was exchanged for food, Old Zhou was straightforward and well-meaning, and Su Lang did not wish to overexert him. Old Zhou waved him off, insisting they should finish the 4th piece before resting. With a resigned nod, Su Lang moved aside to retrieve another sideboard. At that moment, Luo Yong and his group arrived at the rooftop entrance. Old Zhou. The shout pierced through the downpour. Su Lang and the others paused their tasks, turning towards the source of the voice. Hold on. Old Zhou. Professor Wang said we should first construct our own raft. The voice rang loud and clear, cutting through the rain. Old Zhou turned in confusion, exchanging a glance with Li Tai. Li Tai shrugged, indicating he was in the dark as well. This is absurd, Old Zhou muttered before bending down to continue his work. Failing to respond, at the stairwell, Pan Yong exchanged glances with the others. We must make him stop today. With that, Pan Yong took the lead, and they all stepped into the rain, striding towards Old Zhou. Chapter 31. Let us rise together. Pan Yong inadvertently caught sight of Boss Luo's supplies. He couldn't fathom why, when most people in the building were on the brink of starvation, Luo Tao still had heaps of rice. This discovery solidified his resolve to cling tightly to this advantageous ally. The group had not prepared raincoats, and by the time they reached Old Zhou, Pan Yong was completely soaked. Old Zhou, you need to stop for now, Pan Yong shouted. Old Zhou paused, looking up in confusion. Su Lang remained still, observing. At that moment, Luo Tao arrived, accompanied by Wang Chao and Lu Qian, the 4 of them standing together, exuding an unspoken pressure. Pan Yong fixed his gaze on Old Zhou and took the offensive. Have you lost your mind? Why are you so eager to assist an outsider when we should be focusing on our own raft? Su Lang hasn't even joined the alliance. Old Zhou's expression darkened as he furrowed his brow. This was a prearranged deal. Su Lang offered food, and we provide labor. What is wrong with that? Luo Tao stepped forward to advocate. In the past, our alliance lacked food, but now we have enough. That deal can be revoked. Old Zhou remained adamant. There's no reason to cancel. We'll finish this task today and start on our raft tomorrow. It won't cause delays. No. Lu Qian interjected urgently. The floodwaters are rising rapidly. Who can guarantee we have enough time? What if we fall short by just 1 day? Luo Tao added. Su Lang's raft is nearly complete. He can finish the rest at his own pace. Speaking lightly, he even smiled, scanning the group. At worst, I can offer some rice as compensation to Su Lang. He assumed a university student wouldn't have much food left, and a little rice would surely please him. What is there to compensate for? Wang Chao spoke coldly. He was not a member of the alliance and believed he should handle his own affairs. As a supermarket manager, he had stockpiled an abundance of supplies due to his proximity to the source. Having not ventured outside during the prolonged downpour, he was oblivious to the events transpiring beyond his door. He had never encountered Li Tai, Lao Zhou, or Su Lang, the university student. When his food supplies dwindled to critical levels, he reluctantly joined the alliance, feeling no obligation to consider outsiders. Lao Zhou sighed deeply and spoke softly. There is no need to rush. We can begin constructing our raft tomorrow. Absolutely necessary. Lu Qian exclaimed, her eyes wide with urgency. Every day we delay diminishes our chances of survival. Are you willing to disregard the rest of us in the alliance? Lu Qian, a small-time influencer, lived a relatively reclusive life, often stockpiling food and drink. When the storm hit, her anxiety prompted her to incessantly order supplies via delivery until her orders could no longer be placed, resulting in her household having more provisions than most. Like Wang Chao, She remained isolated from the chaos outside. Now, with her supplies nearly depleted, she had joined the Alliance upon hearing of their escape vessel. Having a background in live streaming, she adeptly manipulated emotions, subtly painting Lao Zhou as a traitor to their collective. Lao Zhou opened his mouth, intending to respond, but felt powerless and turned to Su Lang for assistance, his eyes betraying a hint of fear. Despite Su Lang's polite demeanor, Lao Zhou dared not confront him. Well aware of the chilling moment when Su Lang had nonchalantly dispatched a monster with a gun in the hallway. At that moment, Su Lang cleared his throat, and all eyes shifted to him. He spoke in a low voice. What if we must finish the raft today? Impossible. Lu Qian cried out, her voice filled with indignation. How can you be so selfish? If we delay for a day, the raft may never be completed. Can you take responsibility for that? Su Lang chuckled dismissively. That doesn't concern me. Listen to what he is saying, Wang Chao interjected, his face flushing with anger. We are all members of the Alliance. You are but an outsider. How dare you bully us? Luo Tao chimed in. Brother, let us reconsider. I can offer you some rice. You can finish the remaining work on the raft yourself. Su Lang laughed incredulously. Do I need your rice? What is there to discuss? Enough, Pan Yong said, reaching out to grab Lao Zhou. Su Lang, with a smirk, stepped forward and kicked. The sound of impact echoed as Pan Yong was sent sprawling 2 meters away. Su Lang had restrained his strength. Otherwise, Pan Yong might have faced dire consequences. Looking for death, Wang Chao shouted, rallying those nearby. Anyone who dares to strike a member of the Alliance, we will confront together. Only then did he realize that no one had moved, creating an awkward silence. Lu Qian was stunned by the sudden violence, while Luo Tao, already timid, lost all courage to fight back. All right, Li Tai interjected, stepping forward and waving his hand. Everyone, return to your posts. If you have any grievances, direct them toward Professor Wang. Su Lang's earlier kick had startled him. He was relieved that Su Lang had drawn a gun and quickly sought to prevent further escalation. Wang Chao and the others exchanged puzzled glances, unsure why Li Tai and Lao Zhou remained indifferent while an outsider had attacked a member of the Alliance. Luo Tao swallowed hard and silently turned to leave. Wang Chao hurried to help Pan Yong to his feet, and the group departed in haste. Everything is fine. Let us make the most of our time. Lao Zhou forced a smile, attempting to ease the tension. He feared Su Lang might be provoked enough to pursue them with a gun, which would lead to chaos. Indeed. Su Lang nodded. Without glancing at the departing individuals, he moved to lift the unfinished side panel. 2 hours later, Lao Zhou and his companions paused their work, deciding to take a break for food. The raft was nearing completion, with a shelter constructed to shield against the rain. With minor adjustments and waterproofing, their adequately built 10-square-meter raft would soon be finished. As everyone returned to their homes, Su Lang made his way back to room 2301. The living room was cluttered with boxes and packages. Upon Su Lang's return, Tang Yao inquired about the raft's status before she and Zhao Yuman retreated to the kitchen to prepare a meal. Lighting a cigarette, Su Lang leaned back on the sofa to rest. At that moment, he heard faint voices and splashing water outside. Startled, Su Lang sprang up and rushed to the window. Not far away, 3 rudimentary rafts floated on the water's surface. On the larger raft stood 7 or 8 individuals, while the 2 smaller rafts each held 2 people. Chapter 32. Are you going to abandon me? The floodwaters had risen to the 21st floor, and Su Lang suddenly realized how close the water was. The rain hammered against the surface, creating a cacophony that enveloped the world. The 3 rafts drifted slowly past the window, the occupants suppressing their voices to avoid making noise. Su Lang scrutinized them closely. There were no supplies or luggage aboard. Were they not escaping? Remaining vigilant, Su Lang retrieved a dagger from his space, slinging it across his back. As the rafts floated toward the hallway, he drew the dagger, holding his breath as he crouched behind the door. The sound of splashing accompanied the thud of heavy objects hitting the ground, clearly audible to Su Lang. Peering through the peephole, he saw several sturdy men racing up the staircase, wielding knives, axes, and various sharp weapons, their movements agile. The foremost man crouched before room 2302, swiftly producing tools to begin prying the lock. Who are you? What do you want? Came Li Feng's frightened shout from within. No response came. The man worked quickly, and with a click, he yanked the door open, followed by a swarm of others rushing into Li Feng's home. Shut up. Where's the food? If you don't want to die, hand it over. No women. Followed by Li Feng's agonized screams. Though separated by 2 security doors, Su Lang could hear the commotion clearly. His heart sank. These individuals were clearly up to no good. Moments later, the door swung open, and the man who had picked the lock strode directly towards Su Lang's door. A line of people trailed behind, standing ready. Su Lang, what is going on? A sweet, melodic voice inquired. Su Lang frowned and quickly gestured for silence. There's a woman. Haha, don't panic. I'll take the lead this time. Get a move on. You're killing me with suspense. Upon hearing a woman's voice, the men outside erupted in wild laughter, their excitement palpable. Tang Yao, having overheard, turned pale, while Zhao Yuman trembled at the sound. Steeling himself, Su Lang mimicked a scene from a film, pulling back the gun's slide to chamber around, gripping the handle with his right hand, while his left pressed down on the body of the gun, ready for the significant recoil. With a loud crash, the door was suddenly yanked open from the outside. Rat-a-tat-tat. Su Lang awaited this moment with bated breath, his finger firmly pressing the trigger, unleashing a relentless barrage of bullets. The man at the door had no time to react. He had barely glimpsed the interior before half of his face was obliterated by gunfire. The steel projectile struck flesh with brutal force, creating gaping wounds and splattering blood. The air was filled with anguished cries as figures in Su Lang's line of sight fell one after another. The last silhouette in the queue reacted swiftly, retreating into room 2302 at the sound of gunfire. Only when all adversaries lay motionless did Su Lang cease firing. With a swift motion, he drew his Desert Eagle, believing it more expedient to switch weapons than to reload. Without hesitation, he reached for the tightly shut door, and with a creak, it yielded. Before him stood a man, eyes wide with terror, frozen in shock. Su Lang raised his weapon and fired, bang. A fatal shot. Without pausing, he quickly exited, descending the staircase. At the corner of the 21st floor, the water's surface was deserted. He leapt to the window, spotting 3 figures on a large raft, frantically paddling away. They were not far off. Su Lang decisively raised his gun and fired, bang, bang. Despite not aiming for their heads, he managed to hit 3 of them after 5 shots. Quite the miss. He jumped onto the small raft outside the window, seizing a makeshift paddle and rowed towards the larger raft, confirming that the 3 were beyond saving. He refrained from firing again, instead tossing their lifeless bodies into the water. Glancing around, he noticed some hidden gazes peering in from the windows. There was no choice. The gunfire had been too loud. Nevertheless, he cared little. Survival was uncertain, and he was unwilling to dwell on it. He returned to the small raft, waved to stow the larger one into his space, thinking that if anyone saw, so be it. In this deluge, from such a distance, who would recognize him? Rowing back to the staircase, he retrieved both small rafts, converting them into points. Ascending the stairs, he first grabbed a corpse from the ground, tossing each into the flood one by one. It took 3 trips to clear the area. Upon opening his door, Tang Yao and Zhao Yuman rushed in from either side. Su Lang, are you all right? You scared me to death. With a playful pinch on each, eliciting twin squeals, he reassured them. I'm fine. It's all taken care of. Gradually, their panic subsided. It was then that Su Lang suddenly recalled Li Feng across the hall, uncertain of his fate. Releasing the 2 women, he opened his door. The entrance opposite was empty, with a body, its head blown apart, lying at the threshold. Nearby, a rice sack spilled its contents, half-eaten grains still remaining. Turning upon entering, he spotted Li Feng sprawled on the sofa, a bloodied hole in his chest, a pool of crimson spreading beneath him. Su Lang shook his head and returned home. Tang Yao and Zhao Yuman sat on the sofa, looking restless. Stop overthinking. Pull yourselves together. At his low admonition, both women jolted, straightening their posture at Su Lang's serious expression. Let us eat first. He softened his tone, sensing that their continued fragility was untenable and resolved to train them henceforth. Setting down his utensils, he initiated a conversation. The world has turned for the worse. Both women looked up attentively. Such events will recur. I cannot be by your side at all times. As his words hung in the air, Zhao Yuman abruptly stood. Su Lang, are you going to abandon me? Having been forsaken once before, her heart was exceedingly sensitive. She understood that this man before her had saved her life and provided sustenance. Her reliance on him was complete, both physically and emotionally. The thought of being abandoned again terrified her. If Su Lang were to leave her, she would rather perish. Su Lang hadn't anticipated such a fierce reaction from Zhao Yuman. He enveloped her in his arms, glancing at Tang Yao and drawing her close as well. With one woman on each knee, he gently said, I never intended to leave you. What I mean is, you must grow strong and adapt swiftly to this world. In the future, I can provide you with weapons, but when I'm not around, you must face danger independently. Tears streamed down Zhao Yuman's face as she nodded earnestly. Tang Yao, with reddened eyes, gazed at Su Lang. I will not be a burden to you. Chapter 33. The raft completed in room 3302. Upon entering, Old Zhou and his companions found Pan Yong impatiently launching into grievances. Professor Wang, shouldn't our alliance be united? Earlier on the rooftop, Su Lang shot at me, and no one stood up to help. Li Tai frowned and interjected. Professor, let me explain. He then recounted the rooftop incident in detail. Professor Wang nodded slightly. That raft was a prior agreement. We have no rightful claim to it. Just as he finished, Wang Chao, with a grim expression, stood up. Wait, I don't understand. Why must we reason with him? We are many. Why should we fear him alone? Exactly. Lu Qian chimed in, fanning the flames. He is just one person and refuses to join the alliance. Why should we accommodate him? That raft should belong to our alliance. Her blunt assertion startled old Zhou and the others, who were about to interject. Suddenly, a deafening noise echoed from the hallway. Rat-tat-tat. Li Tai was the first to react. Dashing out the door, Lu Qian trembled, instinctively grasping Wang Chao's arm. What is that sound? Professor Wang surveyed the pale faces around him, his voice grave. It's gunfire. What do we do? Lu Qian shrieked. Boss Luo turned ashen, cold sweat trickling down his forehead, lips trembling. Where did the guns come from? What do they want? Among the alliance, he possessed the most supplies, and in this moment, his mind spiraled towards the worst-case scenario. What if those outside came with guns to plunder supplies? The thought sent shivers through him. In the stifling atmosphere, time seemed to drag. In truth, how long could a volley of bullets last? After the gunfire ceased, Li Tai mustered his courage and approached the window, peering down. He happened to see Su Lang leaping onto a raft in pursuit. Returning indoors, he found everyone's faces pale, huddled together like quails. The intruders, Li Tai spoke tersely, were driven away by Su Lang. Su Lang? Which Su Lang? Pan Yong asked, straining his neck. Old Zhou shot him a glance. Who else could it be? The one who kicked you this morning. He has a gun? Luo Tao suddenly realized, turning to Li Tai. Why didn't you say so earlier? Professor Wang sighed. Even if Su Lang possesses a gun, there's no need for excessive concern. From our interactions over these past few days, he does not strike me as a mindless killer. Just avoid provoking him. At these words, Luo Tao was left utterly speechless. Avoiding his ire would have sufficed, yet the damage has already been done. It feels as if 1,000 horses have trampled upon my heart. Lu Qian and Wang Chao, too, belatedly grasped the gravity of the situation. A wave of intense dread washing over them. Only at this moment did they comprehend the perilous folly of their earlier actions. In room 2301, Su Lang sat with a cigarette, gazing vacantly out at the floodwaters. The band of marauders arriving on bamboo rafts undoubtedly hailed from a neighboring building. The chaos of the world is escalating. He felt an urgent need to bolster his strength, for only then would he possess the courage to continue living. The wooden raft on the rooftop was nearing completion, requiring merely the final touches, and it was ahead of his anticipated schedule by 2 days. Initially, he had intended to relocate upstairs, but now it seemed unnecessary. Since they would inevitably float upon the floodwaters, it was better to embrace the reality sooner rather than later. Above the flood, an infinite bounty of points awaited recovery. It was imperative to expedite the collection of points to unlock the 4th-tier prize pool at the 100,000 level. With this clarity, Su Lang made his decision. He retrieved the Desert Eagle and handed it to Tang Yao, instructing her to use it for protection and fire without hesitation should any situation arise. I shall arrive promptly upon hearing the commotion. Tang Yao accepted the handgun with a firm nod and inquired, Are we still moving upstairs? I will finish the raft first, and then return to discuss it. Su Lang replied before stepping out the door. He ascended directly to room 3302 and knocked. After a brief wait, Old Zhou answered. Su Lang produced a cigarette and handed it over, then pulled Old Zhou along as they prepared to ascend. Wait a moment, Su Lang. Old Zhou said cheerfully as he accepted the smoke. Professor Wang wishes to speak with you. Su Lang paused, raising an eyebrow before following Old Zhou inside. The alliance members were gathered in the living room. Upon Su Lang's entrance, their reactions varied. Wang Chao's expression shifted, eyes darting away, almost unable to meet Su Lang's gaze. Earlier that day, he had boisterously proclaimed his intent to confront Su Lang, rallying others to join him. Now, he merely hoped to remain unseen. Pan Yong and Luo Tao wore expressions of palpable fear. Their earlier bravado had become painfully awkward. In contrast, Lu Qian and Zhou Hui displayed no visible trepidation. Their gazes towards Su Lang tinged with an unusual intensity. The older employees, Li Tai and Old Zhou, maintained an air of calm. Su Lang, would you kindly enlighten us about the events that just transpired? Professor Wang inquired from his seat on the sofa, his tone gentle. A group of marauders arrived, but I didn't have the opportunity to ascertain their building. They are all gone now, Su Lang replied nonchalantly. His respect for the elder prevented him from withholding information, serving as a warning as well. Silence enveloped the room. Su Lang's concise words bore an overwhelming weight. Will they return? What should we do? Lu Qian and Wang Chao questioned almost in unison after processing the information. Professor Wong raised a hand to calm the group, allowing them to regain composure before speaking. The world has descended into chaos. Such events are unavoidable. We must unite and face these challenges with courage. His gaze turned to Su Lang. Su Lang, the floodwaters are rising swiftly. You are preparing to relocate, are you not? Indeed, Su Lang replied casually. I plan to move once the raft is complete today. He refrained from clarifying where he would relocate. Moving to the raft constituted a relocation of sorts. Even if you do not join the alliance, we are still neighbors in the same building. Coming together provides mutual support. Perhaps you could move into the vacant unit across from Dr. Zhou, Wang Professor suggested. Nodding without commitment, Su Lang replied, let's finish the raft first. Professor Wang nodded, choosing not to press further. Su Lang led old Zhou and Li Tai outside to the rooftop. The rain cover on the raft was already in place. They merely needed to find some plastic waterproof sheets for the final touches. An hour swiftly passed. Old Zhou, a token of appreciation. This raft owes much to your assistance, Su Lang said, pulling out an unopened pack of cigarettes and offering it sincerely. The significant matter that had lingered in his mind was finally resolved. He gazed at the somewhat rough yet sturdy raft before him. Despite its simplicity, it was filled with hope, and an indescribable sense of relief surged from deep within, spreading throughout his being. Chapter 34. Extracting that youngster, old Zhou chuckled as he accepted the cigarette, unusually pausing to admire the raft rather than inspecting the smoke immediately. Each piece of wood, every rope, had passed through his hands. For a craftsman, this was not merely a raft, but the culmination of his labor. Of course, old Zhou said with a smile, his wrinkles easing as he expressed hope that it would carry Su Lang through turbulent waters. Su Lang returned to room 2302, intending to seize the opportunity of nightfall to discreetly retrieve the raft. Ever since he contemplated leaving, he had been eager to depart. During the day, the sudden disappearance of such a large raft would attract too much attention. After assessing the flood's proximity, he estimated it would reach the 23rd floor by nightfall. Discarding his extinguished cigarette, Su Lang called for Tang Yao and Zhao Yuman. Leaning against the sofa, he pondered briefly before stating, the raft is complete, and I have decided to leave tonight as the flood rises. Tang Yao nodded slightly, always unconditionally supportive of Su Lang's decisions. However, Zhao Yuman raised a question. Isn't the raft on the rooftop? If the flood hasn't reached it, how will we move it? Tang Yao's eyes flickered. She harbored the same question internally but chose not to voice it, trusting Su Lang to share his plans when he deemed necessary. You needn't worry about that, Su Lang said, pursing his lips. I merely want you to be mentally prepared. The conditions above the flood will be quite harsh. Eating and sleeping will be inconvenient. As soon as he finished speaking, both women replied in unison, I don't mind. At that moment, they understood what truly mattered, compared to survival. The inconvenience of their surroundings was trivial. Then we shall wait for nightfall to set off, Su Lang declared, pleased with their responses. He rose and walked toward the bedroom. For now, let us rest for a while to regain our strength. The two women exchanged a silent glance. A blush crept onto Tang Yao's face as she playfully scolded. In broad daylight, and yet you speak so frivolously. Zhao Yuman stifled a smile, her eyes glistening. Come on, let's get some rest. With the raft completed and Tang Yao's aunt departed, Su Lang felt everything was falling into place. As dusk descended, he gathered his belongings and called out before climbing out of bed. He retrieved 2 sets of waterproof jackets from his storage and placed them on the sofa before stepping outside. The floodwaters had already reached the corner of the 22nd floor, and it wouldn't be long before they engulfed the 23rd. Listening intently, he noted the silence in the corridor, devoid of any sound. Su Lang treaded lightly as he made his way to the rooftop. Under the dim light, the raft loomed in the torrential rain, resembling a silent beast. Covering an area of approximately 10 square meters and standing less than 3 meters tall. Both the base and the rain cover were constructed from repurposed bedboards and wooden cabinets. At a glance, the intermingling browns and oak hues presented a primitive yet rugged appearance. In the desolate silence, the only sound was the gentle splashing of water. Su Lang hurriedly approached, retracting the wooden raft into his spatial dimension before turning to descend the stairs. Upon reaching the corner of the 22nd floor once more, he leaped towards the window, extending his hand towards the water's surface. With a mere thought, the raft materialized upon the murky waters. He secured it with a rope, fastening the other end to the water pipe in the corridor. Gently, he tapped on his door. Tang Yao and another had donned their tactical jackets, waiting in the living room. Hearing the knock, the two women proceeded with caution, leaning closer to the peephole to confirm it was indeed Su Lang before opening the door. The raft is outside the window. You should board first. I'll fetch the supplies, Su Lang whispered. The two women followed him. Wading through the water to the window's edge, where Su Lang carefully lifted them onto the raft. Once he ensured their safety, he returned inside. The floor was cluttered with numerous bags, primarily food, along with some clothing for the three of them and neatly packed bedding. With a wave of his hand, he stored everything in his spatial dimension, then proceeded to the kitchen to gather all the pots and pans. After a swift glance around the rest of the house to ensure nothing was overlooked, Su Lang quickly made a round, converting all recoverable items into points. Back in the corridor, he untied the rope before leaping onto the raft. It was sturdy, floating steadily on the water's surface. Numerous plastic barrels below kept the wooden base elevated, and even when small waves came, only a few droplets splashed onto the deck. What lay ahead was a prolonged journey adrift on the water. Su Lang took a deep breath and retrieved